Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to round 2 of the Drift Masters European Championship. The sun is shining, we're close to the Arctic Circle. We're here in Sweden at the Drivecenter Arena, a beautiful facility built just a couple of years ago, and it will be the stage for an amazing event this weekend. Today, our attention turning to qualifying. My name is Dave Egan. I'm going to be joined by my good friend and colleague Ian Waddington. We're going to be talking you through all the action, and boy, have we got some action coming up. One of the fastest tracks on the circuit, the championship fight heating up, and the drivers already feeling the pressure in practice. Ian, it's going to be very competitive.
It certainly is, Dave. As you say, the championship has already started just a few weeks ago back at Mondello Park, but now things start heating up. Now the pressure is on. All the points that matter every single round need to be collected, and this, potentially, one of the most difficult tracks on the calendar, well, technically and for the speed.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, this calendar is stacked right from the start. We've got an amazing calendar of events that are testing the drivers on different circuits, different layouts, and different challenges to set up the car and make sure things are going to work your way. We can see that the first round was dominated by our current champion, Peter Vjärnsek, took the win. Still top spot at the moment. We're here in Sweden. This weekend is all about qualifying. Tomorrow we head towards the battles. Then we head to an amazing event in Finland at the Power Park, where it's actually a theme park being turned into a drift arena. It doesn't have to make sense. That's what Drift Masters is all about. Then we head to the party city. It's Riga, baby, Latvia, 29th and 30th of July. We then head to the Iron Drift King, to that crazy island in Germany in Fällfors on the 17th and 19th of August. And then the final, the big one, 60,000 seats, 9 stories high, the biggest stadium in Poland for the final, the PGA Narodowe in Poland. And you know what, get up to speed, here's what went down at round 1. It was a wild event where we saw thrills, spills, door rubs, wall runs, and what we saw was our current champion take everybody down, but there was a lot of very competitive drivers on the grid. The Irish took first blood at the event, looked really strong, but they just couldn't make it all the way to the podium. We had a lot of guys dropping off the track, but again, Peter Vjärnsek showing why he's the man that can get it done every time. He didn't have the best of runs right throughout, but he was better than everyone else, and that's what it all matters, really. It's about getting that top step on the podium, and the local fans loving the action. Let's have a look at how our championship is stacking up right now as we head into round 2. And there it is, familiar sight at the top. Peter Vjärnsek, Poland representing 102 points from the first round, but Laurie Heinen was the big standout driver from round 2, looked very comfortable in that crazy sounding 180SX. And Dwayne McKeever, who was initially going to be a wild card at the first round, now jumping into the rest of the season, he's definitely going to be one to watch. You've got Connor Shanahan in 4th position, James Dean just a wild card at the first round, not here this weekend, and Jack Shannon. So Connor Shanahan, Jack Shannon sitting ready to pounce in the mid-pack of the top 10. And then, as I said, what I think now is this second round being very important to not fall out of touch with the top of the championship. And this is the format for the weekend. Today is all about qualifying. We've got about 50 drivers when we started off. Some of those having mechanical issues. We'll keep you up to date on that. Out of those, we'll pick 32, and they will go through to the main event tomorrow. And then all the way to the top 16, main event, main parade, and then right to the 3 podium positions at the end of the weekend. Pretty simple stuff, but it's anything from simple here at Drift Masters because it's a long way from here to there. This track is incredible. All about speed. Full throttle, big flicks, right to the edge of the circuit. And this is almost a GT track. It's not a custom circuit. You'll see some of those throughout the year, but we're going to break down this track animation to show you guys what the judges are looking for here in qualifying. This track is incredible because it only has 2 decel zones, but a lot of speed. 6 outer zones, 2 inner zones, and it is 640 meters long, which they get around pretty quick here in these cars. Off the start line, full throttle, throw a little weight transfer into that first corner, and it's a huge first corner. To keep your car on throttle and on angle here, you got to be very precise. Inner zone 2 tucks the front of the car in, and you push it as wide as possible, still on full throttle as you go through outer zone 3. As you come towards outer zone 4, this is the first decel zone of the track. Tuck the nose in to this inside corner. This is where you see a couple of guys missing that inner zone, carrying too much speed. And then the angle for the rest of this is all opposite of the racing line. So outer zone 7 on the outside of the track, and then another decel zone as you head back to this last section. You can see some drivers struggling to get the car planted for that last outer wall run and finish, but some drivers like Kalle Rovanperä, the current WRC champion, absolutely nailing it. He's going to be one to watch in this qualifying session. It looks simple, couple of corners, right, but it's a lot of speed, a lot of elevation change, and a lot of technicality. And from my perspective, these guys are going to be under big pressure to perform right now. Well, this is how qualifying works. If you're new to the sport, we're going to break it down for you. We're not going to go over your head. This is how it works. Each driver gets 2 runs of qualifying. They're non-consecutive, and the best score from their 2 runs counts. as our overall finishing score in qualifying. The top 32, as I mentioned, from 50 or so drivers will go through to battle action tomorrow. So this is pressure on for a lot of these guys. And some guys who didn't qualify at round 1 won't want to be making the same mistake again. But this is how it stacks up. We got a lot of wild cards in there, and you're going to see the Swedish flag beside a lot of those because they are the local heroes. Jim Olofsson returning, Alfred Greinberg, Dennis Hagblom, very cool S2000. You're going to see him on the track. Victor Whitemark, Ali Maksheed, all the way from the Middle East, from Kuwait, coming to compete in the championship. Amazing to see all these guys taking the trip here in a borrowed car. Linus Yunsu, and these are all guys that are going to really spark the championship alive again. One, you see there, 14th in qualifying, is Kalle Rovanperä, current WRC champion, fresh off a win in Japan in drifting, wanting to come here and make a big impact. Max Miller, we noticed he had an engine failure, has had no practice. They're trying to put another 800 horsepower engine in that car for qualifying. Henry Hampa, good to see him back in the mix. Diogo Correa, a little bit down the order along with Michael Reichardt. Those guys wanted to turn their championship around a little bit. Same with Adam Zalewski and Naoki Nakamura, who had an engine failure at round 1. Looks like he's flying in practice here. So we're going to see the Japanese champion take on the best of Europe, take on the best from the rally world. That's all happening on your screens today, which is going to be incredible. Oren Nielsen, a guy to watch out for there, hadn't the strongest of starts, but he was one to watch here last year. Had a bit of a somersault in the air and almost stopping his weekend. And we're going to finish up with our highest finisher from round 1, which is Peter Viansek. Laurie Heine and Dwayne McKeever hot on his heels, and they're all in the mix. So that's how it works. That's how qualifying works. But we are going to stop the talking and start the driving because we're heading to qualifying. So our drivers are ready, and they've been practicing, they've been setting up, they've been changing, but now is the time to get the job done. We start with Jim Olofsson, who was one of the first people ever to drive this circuit and to test it before last year. Ian, he's going to be interesting here because he's got some experience, he knows this car inside out, he's a local talent, he's got the local fans behind him, but it's always tough taking the first run of qualifying. Let's see how he gets on.
It certainly is, Dave, hard to take on the first run of qualifying, but what a better man to do it right now as Jim Olofsson comes through the gears down to that white line, denoting the start of the scoring zone through that first outside zone. Full throttle now for Jim Olofsson. You see that inside clip set off of the curb. Oh, but he does drop a wheel, which is too wide. Now having to gather his faults a little bit as he makes his way down. You can see using that elevation. You can't see it on screen, but there is an elevation there to slow the car down. Looks for the transition back now in front of the grandstand as he flicks the car into this long outside zone. Looks for the wall across the line. Nice, tidy job for Jim Olofsson. And as you said, a man that knows his track on the back of his hand. And no stranger to Drift Masters. We see him many moons ago at Drift Masters, competing in Riga in Latvia, and followed the whole season through. He was probably the first man, Dave, we ever had that put a car on its roof.
That's for sure, and he's had definitely thrills and spills in the past. Jim Olofsson, you can see pushing too wide, too fast, dropping wheel, shakes the car up a little bit. He's dropping wheels, you know, using that extra piece of tarmac that's beyond that white line. However, it does save your run. It is going to deduct your scores from the judges. So Jim doing a good job of getting around, but not perfect and not perfectly technical, and not taking any major risks with speed or angle. We want to see a good old weight transfer, a big opposite flick into that first corner to score super high here. But Jim, you know, first driver out, gives us a good starting point. Nice wall run here at the end. I love that camera angle. You can see the cars get so close to that concrete immovable wall, and it is immovable. And Jim doing a good job, but I think we're going to see people improve from that point on. And Jim, you know, he's coming in just as a wild card. They have nothing to lose. I think you'll start to see those guys push a little harder on the second run. 59 on the board for Jim Olofsson, the first Swedish driver to take to the track. And not a bad score, not a good score. Generally, we want to see these guys hit the high 70s, low 80s to guarantee a place in the top 32. We move on to our next driver.
Yeah, it's going to be Alfred Greinberg. And word has it, Dave, rumour has it around the pits when speaking to some of these wildcard drivers yesterday when we arrived, that he is an up-and-coming Swedish drift superstar. This young man apparently has a whole ton of talent. He has the skill. He has what it takes, and he's now proving that here this weekend at Drift Masters. Big opposite flick for Alfred as he fires that car in. Now, can he hold it together? Turbo V8 underneath the bonnet of this Nissan 206. Very nice line, but he doesn't get out right wide to the edge of the circuit. You can see that car trying to shallow up, fighting it as he winds the grip in. Now turns it on angle, flicks the car once again across the circuit, goes wheels over that white line. That white line denoting the edge of the circuit. Judges be pulling back some of those points, slows it down for that final outside zone, looks for the wall across the line. A nice job done from the young Swedish superstar.
Yeah, look, you're going to look along figures of this championship and say these cars have 7, 8, 600 horsepower, tons of power. But what the interesting part about it is that you need all of it on this circuit, because you're trying to spin sticky tires that are trying to grip the car up at over 100 miles an hour. And that's where you can see, as he pushed through here, put a little bit too much angle on there, and it actually cost him that next outer zone. And again, it happens so quickly because you think you're on the right line, but all of a sudden when you get to the wrong line, very hard. On other slower courses, you can handbrake, you can adjust. Here, once you're out of the zone, you kind of can't do anything except just continue. And you can see him missing that zone pretty badly on the outside there. But look, from my perspective right now, what I do like about this is we're seeing showcasing new talent from around Europe. Every time we stop somewhere, we take a couple of local heroes to the track, and you never know, we will see these guys maybe in Drift Masters in a year or so down the line, and it's a nice little teaser or taster of their ability and their talent. But with the boys that are on this grid, you got to turn up with your A game, because there is no way they're going to have any mercy for you, no matter how young you are, how up and coming you are. They're not up and coming, they're already there. So they're going to be, trying to put as best a score they can. And it is tough for a wild card to step up a level, because the Drift Masters European Championship is the best champions from Europe, and you're jumping a big step up from your national series to this. So sometimes it can be tough, but a 58 on the board for Alfred Greinberg puts him into second position right now. But again, he'll know in the car, I missed a couple of zones, I can improve on that. Love this next car. We've got Dennis Hagblom. He's a very experienced driver from Finland, 870 horsepower in a Honda S2000, which we don't see very often. He's had the chassis for a very long time. He's figured out a lot of the kinks, but these are a tough little car to drive. But especially when you put, this car probably came standard, 240 horsepower. Now he's got 4 times that in this car, and it's all lightened up. So this is going to be crazy to see how he gets on with this one.
It certainly is. Yeah, full carbon fibre body Honda S2000, 2JZ underneath the bonnet, 6-cylinder turbo power. I think he's producing around 900 horsepower, and Dennis, as Dave just said, a former European driver, so no stranger to the ropes, fires on lots of angle there, and you can see how much that affected that line into the outside zone. And Dennis said he wanted to return to European drifting, loved the way that the Drift Masters European Championship is coming together and working, and he wanted to be a part of it here. And thought he'd try his luck as a wildcard driver, but he's going to need to do better than that, Dave, to get himself in that show tomorrow.
Yeah, you can pour on all the angle you want on the second half of the course, but on the first half of the course you can't. It loses you speed. The more angle you're on, the less speed you're creating. And as he snapped to angle in the middle of that course, you could see he lost all his momentum. First corner, absolutely perfectly, went through everything as you would expect. And from my perspective right now, that snap, it was all over from there. As you see, coming through that inside zone, gets to that outer zone, and as he transitions back, boom, loses all his momentum, ends up on the inside of the circuit, big long handbrake drag, look at even make the next corner, and you'll know straight away that's not the natural line that's going to hurt him in the score. And then in the last corner, just missing that outer zone a little bit as well. So work to do for Dennis Hagblom, but one of those guys who can produce, a mid-50s run and then a mid-90s run in the one qualifying session, so don't count him out just yet.
No, certainly not. So we watch the replay back of this as Hagblom gets the rest of that run done. We wait for the score to drop in from our judges. So there we go, our slow-mo shots from the centre of the circuit. Score drops in 49 for Dennis Hagblom, and he will want to improve on that as we move through qualifying, and his second qualifying run comes up later on today. Up next on the line, an incredible build, an incredible car, and a very friendly young man. Victor Vetmark sits on the line in, Dave, what I described yesterday as a street-style car that meets pro competition battle machine.
Big fan. Big fan of spring.
I love it.
He just came out of 2 suitcases full of styles, this man. I love it.
But not even that. Underneath the bonnet, BMW M3 6-cylinder engine, dry sumped with a turbocharger, revs to 9,000 RPM, makes 800 wheel horsepower, and Vetmark says, I'm here this weekend to show what I can do as a pro driver. Very nice line so far. Look at this. Oh, just as I say, that didn't get right to the edge of the circuit. Now kicks the clutch on the handbrake a little early for that outside decel zone. Comes down over that little hill, flicks it across the circuit. Lovely line into the outside zone, though, as now Vetmark uses the car to slow on angle. Back on angle he goes, on the throttle, full throttle unleashed as he gets to the wall across the line. Tidy, but needs a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, again, another driver doing a good job. It's a very tough track.
One thing
I spoke to a lot of drivers around the pits earlier on, they were saying every run is a challenge.
Yeah.
There's no settling in and just getting around. you feel like every moment, every little input you put in the car affects somewhere else down the line. And as you can see, he's missing a couple of those outer zones. He comes early, he has to handbrake out. It's fine, he's getting those zones, but it's not perfect. It's not the way we want drivers. You know, if you're going to try and score a 90 plus on the circuit, you're going to need to push a little harder than that, and you're going to be a little bit more risky. You got to almost get to the edge of the circuit and feel like, I thought I was going into the gravel, but I actually turned out to do a good run. And I think that's where some of the best guys in the championship are saying, if you're uncomfortable, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
If you're comfortable, you're probably not scoring very high, and that shows how knife-edge this championship is.
It certainly is, and it just shows how much we push these drivers as drivers to be the best that they can be on these circuits. A 61 drops in for Victor Vedmark, and he'll be happy with that, his first qualifying run. A nice one to get in the bag, you know, possibly a low 32 score as we move forward. Well, there we go. Big statement.
Super nice guy. Loves drifting. Has been privateering for a very long time. His first time ever coming off the line in a European series. Ali Mashid into the first corner. As he goes in, there's a borrowed car for Ali Mashid from Kuwait this weekend. As he goes through into, nice job so far getting those outer zones. As now he's got to just let the car float, not too much handbrake. Did a good job, a little bit of left foot braking, very controlled run. Ali, a very established driver in the Middle East, plenty of trophies to his name across the entire Middle East. Now he's in Europe, mixing it up. And a big mistake, and an uncharacteristic mistake, because to be honest, he had the hard work done.
He did have all the hard work done, Dave. He came into the outside zone and I thought, this is an absolute screamer of a run. I can't believe it all went wrong for him right at the very end. Let's have a look back at the replay. Lovely initiation, gets on it. A handbrake initiation was going to score down on points, not what the judges want to see. But look at this, right to the edge of the circuit, transitioned right on point, and you can see the way he washed the car out to the outside zone. Didn't even slow down whatsoever. Stayed on throttle through, come over that hill, on full throttle once again, right to the edge of the circuit. Absolutely clinical from Ali Maqseed as he now puts it into that outside zone and spins. And so uncharacteristic,
yeah,
and I'm not sure.
It looks like he just went too heavy on the throttle, maybe just trying to put a smoke show on as he went through the last section of the course, but it's going to be a 0 on the board for the Kuwaiti driver. And Ali's, I mean, I was just about to say how consistent and steady a driver is. It's a very uncharacteristic mistake, and you know, he's suffering for it now. He's got a big, stressful second run ahead.
He certainly has. Well, we move it back to the line where we see Victor Yonosu, one half of the Swedish Drift Brothers.
Yeah, he's an ex-Swedish champion. Plenty of top-level trophies in this region. Struggled a little bit in his Drift Masters campaign, but he said he's got a little bit of a bit more practice under his belt. He's tested his car a little bit more. This BMW running 845 horsepower with a turbo S54, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, yeah.
And he's going to have to put a big run in here. So far, so good for Victor Yonosu. Gets that inside zone, pushes to the edge of the track, flirting with the dirt, but he doesn't put it in it. And as he transitions back, he's gone right to the edge. This is a good run so far, nice and fluid. He's dropping a couple of wheels off the circuit, a little early on the transition there. He's had to extend it a little bit on the handbrake, but so far doing exactly what the judges more or less want to see, and then just got to run that right up to the wall here at the end. Excellent run from Victor Yonosu. And it goes to show, he steadied himself a little bit in the off-season and, done a little bit more practice, got a little bit more seat time. A lot of people think, these guys get a ton of time to practice. They don't, because it's obviously so incredibly expensive and taxing on these machines to do drifting anymore, that they just show up to the event and that's really their practice. Victor taking a step back from the full season to now concentrate on certain rounds. Looks like it's played into his hands there. Yeah,
that's the conversation I had with these guys the other night. I took a trip down to the paddock, had a look around the cars, and they said, we've not done any competition driving this year. We completely pulled back on our program and we focused on just training. They said we are out nearly every single week in these cars training every single day, just getting that seat time, learning these cars, changing the setups. There's two identical cars, so they're swapping setup ideas, they're changing things, they're working things out, what work for each other. And I think they've really come down to it now. And that run from Victor Yonosu was just incredible, and just goes to show that having the seat time, getting that practice, how much it helps.
For sure, and I think you've got to remember, this isn't golf. It costs you nothing to go to a putting green and practice for a couple of hours.
I think some people would argue with it.
It's definitely not like golf. I think the thing I'm trying to say is that you can practice all day at an athletic sport.
Yep.
It's only costing you your time and energy, but this, you've got tires, you've got fuel. There's it's a big expense. We move on to our next driver, and it is going to be Tony Averstedt from Sweden, 36 years of age. He's got a very, I would say, interesting build here because he's got a car with the correct engine in it, which is a Supra Mark IV with a 2JZ. Yeah. We very rarely see the Supra used, but we see the engine every couple of seconds. But here we are. 2JZ, sequential gearbox, comes in very wide initiation from Tony Adverstedt at the moment as he goes wide. Does get the inside clip quite nicely. Good to see a Mark IV Supra out there shredding as he transitions back. Super clean car. Oh, just coming a little bit early there. Could have let the car wash a little bit more as he fires through the more technical part of the circuit, which is the opposite of the race line. He's got full throttle, but he's not moving at any great pace there, which is actually helping him to make the car look very smooth through that section. Not a bad lap whatsoever. Smashes into the wall across the finish line. And Tony Adverstedt from Sweden doing a good job. Probably the strongest run from the Swedes maybe so far.
Yeah, I'd say that was a very strong run. And he was a very nervous young man. We spoke to him yesterday behind the scenes. He said he wasn't feeling super confident out there. This is probably one of the fastest tracks he's ever driven at, and that he was going to have to adjust and build himself up to it. But to be fair, he'd done a very stellar job getting around there. This was, for me, one of the only points. He came up a little bit early. You can see just dropped a wheel right on the edge of that white line. Did make it happen though, and connected the dots on the rest of the circuit. Washed away from this outside zone, maybe a little early as well, but nevertheless finished up the run on the wall on full throttle, very, very tidy, and he'll be feeling confident after that one.
Yeah, definitely the best wall run we've seen so far.
Yeah.
And I mean, probably the most expensive chassis on the grid.
Yeah.
And he's no fear of going to that wall. He just said, you know what, for the little exclamation mark, absolutely booms off it, and gives it a nice clean. Cleans off all that rubber off the wall, nice and fresh. And I love this thing. It's good to see different chassis being used. And it's amazing how now on the grid, 62 on the board for Tony Adverstedt from Sweden. I'm saying we now have the Mark IV Supra and the Mark V Supra on the grid, which is quite interesting. I don't think we often see that.
No, we don't. Very rarely do we see that. And we very rarely see one of these. I just looked down at the notes and was like, well, we're talking about rarities.
I see carbon Kevlar Volvos with 900 horsepower all the time. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, a 745 wagon, this is, if you're not familiar with Volvo chassis. Well, we're in Sweden, so why not have a Swedish car? This is Kevin Brunberg, the Swedish driver. Volvo T6 engine underneath the bonnet, 6-cylinder, 2.8 litre, turbo, 900 horsepower, carbon Kevlar Volvo. Does it make sense? It doesn't have to make sense, but he makes it work. And look at this now, as Kevin Brunberg gets this car absolutely dialed around the circuit, down into the outside zone on full throttle, fires the car across the circuit. This looks almost ludicrous right now going round, but he's making it work, and it works so well. Such a well-engineered piece of kit. He's gone very wide though, takes the cones down, heading to the wall. He almost sacrificed the back end, but pulled it back together.
Yeah, two things I noticed from that run was, number one, the carbon Kevlar bodywork on the car is so light and this track's so fast, it's actually bending the bodywork with the wind speed. You'll see this on the front of the car. But also the second thing I've noticed is he's probably the only driver on this grid with a live axle in the car, which is an old style, non-independent rear suspension. So interesting. But watch the front bumper as he transitions. He starts picking up speed and the bumper says, I can't hold on. This is too fast.
We weren't designed for this.
But he makes it work. And again, I like to see people doing something different. It's always fun with drifting because unlike so many more motorsports where it's a really small box that you've got to work with in terms of chassis and design, you've got that level of personal freedom to build your own machine. So you build a Volvo with a Volvo engine and you make it work. It's hats off from us here in the tower.
It certainly is hats off for us, and we're big fans of oddball cars with oddball engines. We wait for the squad to come in. You can see this as he heads towards the wall. Holds on to the roll cage, Dave.
I would be two in that thing.
So it's a zero. There's zero on the board for Kevin Brunberg. I'm going to assume that was
two wheels off.
Well, it looked, to be fair, on the replay like the front wheel was over the white line as well, so it will be 3 wheels off circuit.
Yeah,
untraceable.
Unfortunate, and that's the thing. I mean, you wonder, why are we doing qualifying? Well, if you're new to the sport, the reason we do this single run is to see the lead drivers for tomorrow. So who is the best lead driver is what we're trying to decide here, that you can chase it. Could you chase that run? Probably not. No. He's off the circuit. The chase car would have nowhere to go. So that's what the judges are looking for. We've got some very speedy individuals down there replacing the cones. And those cones are going to have a hard weekend of it, I feel. We move on to our next driver from Hungary. It's Norbert Zamic, 27 years of age. Comes a runner-up in the Hungarian Championship in 2018, 2020, and 21. 2JZ, 800 horsepower. Has had some pretty big runs in Drift Masters. I remember a long time ago in Poland, he took out Jack Shanahan in a top 16. So is he ready for the fight this weekend? Let's hope he is.
Well, it looks like he is going to, but he doesn't go super wide on that initiation. Now gets foot flat to the floor, looks for that inside zone, fulfills it, looks way wide on the outside, gets right to the edge of the circuit. Nice line so far from Zamic as he comes down. He'll dab with the handbrake to slow those rear wheels down, settle the car as he transitions over that little crest into that outside zone. Zamic on an absolute flyer right now. And Norman Zamic, the Hungarian, looks to put it back in, and a little big wobble actually as he wobbles and wavers in the outside zone across the line. And I wondered if he went for a gear shift there, Dave.
Just about to say the same thing. It looked to me like he went on a gear shift, and to be honest, he really kind of sacrificed the first corner to get the first outer zone. Barely touches it, very little angle, but he uses the momentum to get the next two outer zone, or inner and outer zone. So he sacrificed one of the three. We haven't watched someone complete all three perfectly just yet, and he was doing pretty good throughout this course. Nice fluidity. I like the little left foot braking here on handbrake. Watch, just lock the car up on angle. Very clever. But as he comes through here, maybe he's decelling. He's done his decel layout. He's going for a gear or something here, and the car just isn't reacting to it. So he's going to lose points for that.
Yeah, he certainly is going to lose points for that. And you can see he drops all the way out of the outside zone, then re-enters it before that white line, which denotes the end of the scoring zone. So Judge is going to be pulling some points back. He looked like he was on a really good run as well there, Dave. He was set to put some good scores on the board.
Potential is the word. There was potential there
good
for
potential.
A big run. But two little moments for me: the initiation and, of course, that mistake at the end drops the score down to a 58, putting him in 5th position for the Hungarian driver. And we will move back to the start line with a man sitting down the order. Didn't make it to round one as far as I'm aware. It is Zacharil, Marko Zacharil from the Czech Republic. This is a beautiful build, one of the fastest cars on the grid, 900 horsepower, M2 F52. Lots of twos, but he wants to be number one today. And Marko Zacharil, when he wants to be, can be a top qualifier here. So he is sitting, I would say, uncharacteristically low in the standings right now. But he was looking good in practice. Let's see if he can turn that form into a phenomenal qualifying run as he does collect those first two zones and the third. This is nice. Doesn't get too snappy on the transition. Big handbrake drag, barely making that outer zone, but he does get through it. This is the part that gets really technical. Drivers have to be very careful. He's kind of in and out of zones a little early and late there. He's making it work, and now this is the corner that seems to be causing a lot of issues. I think it may be that absolute huge lay of rubber there at the last corner. It's almost making it slippery than you think, because you got to remember that's the most sort of on throttle part of the track where you're kind of sitting slowly on a lot of power. You're laying down tons of rubber, and that rubber, with a little glisten of the sun, can either be grippy or it can be quite slippy. It looks to me like it's getting slippier down there. And you got to remember, this track isn't a drift track. There isn't natural rubber laid down here anyway. This is like the second drift event ever held here, so there isn't that natural level of line that we see from other circuits where drifting happens quite a lot. You get that sort of stickier area of the track. I think that outside corner there looks a little slippy. As he transitions back here, Marko Zacharil doing a good job though. Gets to that outer zone early. He's very planted here, which is what the judges want to see. Puts on the angle, has a little look up at the wall, gets the job done. That's solid from Zacharil there. Yeah,
very solid run there from Zacharil, and apart from those little wobbles in some of those outside zones, he was set for a good score. Yeah, didn't make it to round one, Marko Zacharil. Not sure if he had problems with the car or he had a travel issue potentially, but Marko Zacharil, BMW V8 underneath the bonnet of this F22 BMW 900 horsepower, 74 on the board for Marko Zacharil. He'll be happy with that one, a returning driver to the Drift Masters European Championship. To the start line to Christian Salmer.
I'm not sure what this Teletubby has done to deserve this.
Well, he's going to go for a wild ride.
He can't even see where he's going. No. He's looking back. So this is a crazy car. I love this. This is Christian Salmer from Estonia. He's a very experienced driver. This is a small BMW with a big old NASCAR Dodge V8 in it, 800 horsepower. And it was very funny earlier on. A little bit of a wobble on entry there. This was very fast around the circuit in practice, but missing those outer zones at the moment. You can see locking that front brake. He's actually just missed the first three zones, and he's very wide here.
Wow.
He's in trouble. He's wide. He's wild. And it sounds amazing, but he's taken a very unusual line around this circuit right now. Is Christian. Big lock up, but it's a late lock up in the wrong direction. This one just didn't work out the way he planned. A little bit sketchy is probably the right word for that. Looked a little out of control. The first corner, it didn't get the flow right, and it's a real track where if you don't get those first three zones right, it's very difficult to repair that throughout the course. And you can see he's having a little bit of wobbling, a bit of straightening as well. As you see the car straighten up, but it's not on angle at all. Is it four wheels off? To me, it is four wheels off, which would mean a 0 for Christian Salmer from Estonia. Now, of course, we are your humble layman advisors here. We are not the technical gurus that the judges are, but we can see with our own eyes that he was outside the track with four wheels, which would, to me, indicate a 0.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Dave. And for me, it all came down to the initiation. He initiated too soon. Didn't make that inside zone properly. It kind of didn't go under the front half of the car, and then from then on in, it was just mistake after mistake. And this one was a big one. I think that could be the nail in the coffin for the run. And Christian will have to go back to the pits.
Sorry, I was just trying to take into effect there that someone put the engine from a NASCAR in a small little BMW, which I will always respect. He's got a beautiful race suit as well. Very formal.
Very formal.
Dressed for the occasion, but unfortunately, 0.
They call those Traxidos, don't they?
Traxidos,
I think is the name for those.
He's ready for the podium, the track, and the party afterwards.
Well, here we go. Here's a story. It's a Sadeh on the line now. The Israeli driver broke the differential in this car earlier on today and said, "That's it. I'm done. I'm out." Twist of fate. Keski Korpi broke the engine in his car and said, "Well, why don't you take my differential, go out and qualify?" What a gang of guys. And here we go. The young superstar from Israel now makes his way out onto the circuit. Nice initiation, starts to lay down that line. Look at that, front wheels through that inside zone. And he's a little shallow on that outside zone now, needs to make it work down. You can see him on the handbrake way too early, not what the judges wanted to see. Back on throttle he goes, over the crest, down the hill, into the outside zone. A few wobbles and wavers, he'll be feeling nervous. He'll just want to put a clean run in on the circuit to get some points in the bag. In the outside zone, up into the wall he goes and across the line for Ite Sadeh.
I'm just going to give you a little inside information here that may or may not be correct, but what I'm seeing from outer zone 2 is you want to be full throttle, right?
Yep.
So you have to be full throttle. But if you're full throttle and you're spinning too much wheel, you're not getting that forward momentum. So watch, he's on full throttle, but he's not pushing to the edge of the circuit. And he's realizing very quickly that if he comes off the throttle, he'd probably push wider. Then the tires have so much grip that he could straighten up. So you're stuck in this knife-edge battle between too much wheel speed, which doesn't give you the momentum, and then too much grip, which you straighten up. And you can see that he had, again, for him specifically, he had too much wheel speed. Tons of smoke coming out, but the car is not moving to the edge of the circuit. If he comes off the throttle, it's a dangerous game because the car starts to straighten up. I think that's going to be a real tail of the tape for that particular part of the track for the rest of the weekend, because what risk do you take? Do you go for full momentum and you barely, spin the wheels and you get the right line, but the car could grip up and fire you off the circuit? Or do you just put the foot to the floor, tons of smoke, but you might not be able to control your direction? So a 54 on the board for Ite Sadeh from Israel. Amazing to see, Israelis, Kuwaitis on the European grid. This
unbelievable.
Is awesome.
Unbelievable. And then we go from there to a Finnish driver, but not just any Finnish driver. It is, of course, the current and reigning WRC world champion. Kalle Rovanperä sits on the line in a full carbon fibre 2020 Toyota Supra with a 1990s Toyota 2JZ underneath.
Incredible. And the amazing thing about Kalle is he's coming off a win in Japan. He's now trying to prove himself here at the highest level of European drifting. Look at the confidence on that first corner. Fires into that first corner, full foot to the floor. But you see adjusting on the foot brake because he wants to get that out of his zone, and he does. This is excellent so far, but a big snappy transition. I don't think that's going to work for Rovanperä here, as we saw Dennis Hagblad make a similar mistake earlier. That is not the way to do this course. You don't want to snap at that point, and he's got the talent, he's got the machinery, but he was just a little aggressive there on his angle, and again making a little error into that last corner, going to show that even the most talented rally driver in the world struggling with the level of speed and grip that's on this circuit. And that goes to show that mere mortals like us, how we would struggle on a course like this. But Kalle Rovanperä, amazing to have him here. I mean, we were in the local accommodation here. We heard the helicopter land this morning, and of course he is a proper professional race driver. And he arrives in with his team. He's got an amazing setup, but he said himself, his drift experience is still new. It's still fresh. He's still trying to learn this trade, and it's quite different than rallying in many ways. And line, is racing line in rallying, but in drifting, it's obviously this is an unnatural line. So trying to adjust to that, you can see the mistake is right here. As he snaps back, boom, way too much angle, loses his momentum, and now has to just go on the handbrake to drag that car down, missing that outer zone. And it goes to show everybody can make that mistake here, because if those first 3 zones, and I keep saying it, don't work out for you, and you put too much snap on that transition, no matter who you are or what you've won, it's going to be almost physically impossible to figure it out. And he has a little bit of a wheel drop there at the end, comes out of the zone. It was a little bit too snappy there as well. So lessons learned for Rovanperä, in my opinion, and I think we're going to see a much stronger second run from him. But he was looking very solid in practice. He's an exceptional talent, And it's just so humbling to have the WRC champion on the grid. As we just mentioned, you've got, you know, up-and-comers from Israel, you've got established winners from Kuwait, and now you go straight to, you know, a Finnish World Rally champion, all in just the start of qualifying. This championship growing leaps and bounds, and we're just so humbled to be part of it. But unfortunately for Kalle Rovanperä, he puts a 0 on the board. Wheels off the circuit.
I'm going to say for me it was the outside zone, the final outside zone, 2 wheels over. Once again, you're leading that chase car off the track. For me, though, I kind of think you've got to give him some grace. He's gone from a rally car to a drift car in Japan that was a Toyota Corolla to now a Supra in the space of 2 weeks. You can barely drive the rental car, Dave.
I was about to say I struggle with the rental car when I get out of the airport, but here we go. Next driver off the line will be Tobias Puszczan from Poland. He is the 2022 IDF Drift Open champion, 760 horsepower in this BMW E92. And Tobias not having the best of rounds at the first round in Mondello, and he's going a little wide here. He's sacrificed the inner zone and looking a bit better, though. You can see that you're starting to figure it out if you're watching at home or you're watching in the stands, that you got to be on that perfect line in the circuit, and he was not on that perfect line, missing those zones, those white boxes on the ground. We want to see the front wheels or the rear wheels pass through those smoothly, and he did not. He missed a couple of those zones. Does get around the circuit, no major errors. It will be a score on the board. But for Tobias, again, it's that line. And I can, you know, our head judge, Kevin O'Connell, I can hear him in my mind. Not in reality, because we don't communicate with the judges, but I can hear him in my mind all about this line. If you get that line perfect, it's easy to chase you. And the track is actually easier to navigate if you're on the correct line.
Yes.
You go off that line, you're making mistakes, your errors, you're jumping. So as you can see from Tobias here, as he transitions back, this is actually a really nice, neat part of the course. Does miss that outer zone. Now watch this, completely misses the inner zone, which leaves this next zone. He's coming too late. And now he's got to transition too early, so he misses another zone. So as you can see, the line may look unnatural on the track, but if you see a very top level 90+ run, it actually looks super fluid and smooth. If you see a driver not looking super fluid and smooth, you know he's missed some zones and he's making errors.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you know they're working to make it get to those outside zones and get it on that qualifying line, where if they are on that qualifying line, like Dave says, it just flows. A 49 there for Tobias Puszczan, and he will know he will need to do more than that as we move forward. Now, up next, again, another strange vehicle, something completely different to what we're used to, because this one's powered by diesel, Dave.
Obviously.
Why
wouldn't you?
Timo Peltola from Finland in this crazy Mercedes-Benz
He's been 15 years putting diesel drift cars on the track, and now he's at the top level, and this thing goes. A nice mix of white smoke from the back, black smoke from the front. Every time he comes off throttle, it looks crazy, but he comes into that first corner. It is a Mercedes wagon, and doing a good job so far of getting to that outer zone. You can see Timo doing a nice job at the center section of the course. Little extension on the handbrake does make it work. This is nice, tidy through the center section of the course. Looking very comfortable, getting all of those outer zones. We haven't watched someone be this comfortable in a couple of runs, and you can see Timo diesel or petrol, it doesn't matter. It's all about the squishy bit behind the wheel, and that bit is working perfectly. Great run from Timo, and the crowd making a lot of noise for him here. They love this car.
Oh, I know I love this car. I've been watching and following this guy for a very long time on social media. He's been working away at these diesel engines, trying to get that formula right, and finally this year it looks like it's all come down and it all works perfectly. From the initiation all the way through from this inner zone, just timed perfectly. Look at the way the front wheels pick it up as he comes through. Bam! Perfectly on line. And he pushes it all the way out to the white line and the outside zones. I'm going to say, Dave, that is a very, very nice run for a car that most people would look at and say, there is no way you're making it round there in that.
Yeah, I think one of the only drivers that puts the same fuel in his tow rig and his drift car on the way to the event.
Cheap to do an event in, though. Race fuel.
I feel like it's probably pretty expensive to make a diesel be that responsive, because, you know, diesels have a very low rev range, and they've had to do a lot of work to make this work, and it's an awkward way of trying to make something work. But I love when someone sticks to the plan, they develop it, and it goes to show that you can be very inventive, very creative with the sport. And for Timo right now, I mean, you should check out Black Smoke Racing. These guys are crazy. They do a lot of fun stuff. But an 84 on the board for Timo Peltola. Into first position he goes, and to be honest, I think if he parked it and saved himself some diesel, he'd probably have enough of a score in that to not do the second run. So amazing stuff. Big story though on the line right now is Max Miller. He hasn't done one practice run this weekend. He blew the engine before he even got to the start line of his first practice session. They've put another 1,000 horsepower engine in the car. They've spent the last hour tuning the car. He has done not one lap of this circuit. This is big pressure stuff for Max Miller, and he is going to be really trying to do a good job here, but he has no reference point.
No, he certainly has no reference points, but he's going to go for it, Dave, because he knows he's come all this way from the Ukraine here to Sweden to throw down with the best of the best, and he just about holds onto it. You can see the way the car washed across the circuit, side skirt flapping where he's putting so much pace down, barely brakes for that inside zone, just about catches a wheel on it, goes super wide now on that outside zone wheel right to the edge of the track, looks for the transition back, the final outside zone up and coming. Oh, his wheel's over. Was it 2? Was it 1? Across the line he goes, and you know what? Shout out to Max Miller and his crew, the Ukrainian driver and team. What an absolute stellar few hours they've just done to get that car back running again.
I mean, if you think how quick is it to fit a 1,000 horsepower engine, they've proven an hour and a half.
An hour and a half,
to tune it and fit it and put a run on the board. And a run that isn't that dissimilar to some of the guys that have been doing all of practice. So you've got to give it to Max Miller for stepping up, taking the risk, and he went for it. He didn't go for a soft run, and I don't think on this track there is one, because you got to be so fast throughout the center section. But he misses some zones. He drops some wheels, but boy, you got to give him credit just to go out there, and he's figuring it out as he goes.
Yeah, oh, he certainly is. He's learning every single second of that run, because there was no other practice runs, and Max Miller and the team have done a very, very good job.
Well, the thing is, he's got one practice run now, which is his qualifying run.
Just look back at those wheels over, Dave, and I'm thinking, yeah, look, the judges are being so particular on that outside zone 8 that you can't afford to drop a wheel. There will be a 0 for Max Miller on that outside zone. 2
wheels off the circuit, and that is a 0. And yeah, that's as harsh as it is after all that work. But he's got one more chance. We'll move back to the start line. See our next driver lining up. It's Alexander Kosahov from the Ukraine, 34 years of age. 2019 and 2021 Ukrainian drift champion, 850 horsepower, as you do, in a mid-90s Nissan, 2JZ powered. Nice flick on entry. We haven't seen much of Alexander in the championship before, so it's interesting to see how he will adapt to the circuit. Oh, a little bit of understeer through that first corner there as he loses the front end a little bit. It's very easy to do when you have such grippy tires. And he's off the circuit. It's 2 wheels off the circuit. He's probably going to be sitting in the 0s, and now he definitely is in the 0s as he takes a huge amount of dirt under the back end of that car. We might need a little cleanup on aisle 9 there as he brings a lot of dust and dirt into the circuit after the first decel zone. A lot of drivers dropping wheels in there, and we're amazing facilities here at the Drivecenter arena. We're going to hopefully not see Johnny Scoops, which we had last year, which is
the people watching, Dave, that have not long joined on to the Drift Masters European Championship that wonder what Johnny Scoops is.
Well,
that you just mentioned.
You haven't seen Johnny Scoops yet, but stay tuned. Because unfortunately,
it's the highlight of the show.
Unfortunately, he is going to feature, and he is one of the recovery vehicles that they use here, but a very unconventional one, which Ian and I have named Johnny Scoops.
You named him.
I did.
You named him. But we're going to see his bigger brother in a minute, which is Johnny Sweeps.
Johnny Sweeps and Johnny Scoops are going to be out there keeping things absolutely perfect for the whole weekend. But you can see he's got too much dirt in the tires here, Alexander, as he goes through. He's got no grip.
He's got no grip whatsoever.
And he takes, I've seen people go to their local hardware store and not take as much gravel back as he did from that second outside zone. But I'll tell you one thing, it goes to show how quickly it can go wrong.
But let me tell you something, though, that I wonder if it's happened. The track's maybe a little bit of evolution in the break we had between the end of practice and qualifying, because all of the clouds that are in the sky around the track have gone, and I wonder if the track temperature is slightly raised.
I think what's happening is it's getting grippier.
Yeah, which is making that first corner make him carry more speed into these outside zones of that decel.
I think they're pushing harder on the first corner to get out to the zones. They're picking up more speed than they were in practice.
Yep.
And then when it comes to the decel, they're like,
I can't slow down.
Way too fast.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's happened. And again, each of the spotters for each of these drivers, and we call them spotters because they are spotting the mistakes of other drivers for their driver, and like an outside vision of what they're supposed to do. And they'll be communicating back to the guys in the grid, telling them what's going on in the circuit, saying, hey, looks like there's a bit more grip out there. Hey, don't go too heavy on that second corner. People are going off there. That last corner, everybody's dropping wheels. Don't do it. You'll get a 0. And that's where we learn as we go through the circuit. And a little bit of a cleanup going on right now on the circuit. And we'll go back to see where we're at with, we've seen a couple of offs. Our top qualifier so far is this incredible diesel BMW of Timo Peltola. This is as good as it gets. Well, we've got improvements in 84, but as good as it gets so far, as Timo does collect all of the zones, keeps it smooth, could be a little deeper in some, but does collect most of the, the Mario coins that the judges are looking for.
I mean, just for a perspective of speed there, the drone was tailing him and the car was pulling away from the drone.
Faster than a drone. A diesel car that's faster than a race drone. You're seeing it all here, and we haven't even got halfway through qualifying yet. As Timo does a great job here of getting this car into all those outer zones, and this seems to be the big, it seems like such a simple corner after all your 80-kilometer-an-hour corners at the start. You get to the slow one at the end, but it's actually causing the most difficulty for everybody because the big decel switching the direction of the car, and then it seems to be slippy down there. I think that may be because that, if you imagine on the circuit, the inside line is the racing line, the outside line is almost the dirty line there.
Unused, normally.
It's unused until yesterday or today. So that's probably why there's not a lot of grip out there. There will be as the event goes on, but right now you can see some drivers struggling with. Look at this. He's just cut pieces of the bonnet out to just put bits and things. And
2 turbos.
Yeah, big old truck turbos.
Compound turbos on there.
Oh, there he is. Johnny Sweeps is back out and in action. This is one of 2 incredible machines they have here. And as fascinating as the cars are, sometimes we find the machinery as fascinating. So this is a really good machine for moving all of that gravel off the circuit, and then hopefully we don't see Johnny Scoops because he's the one that removes the cars from the circuit, and we obviously have to have a misfortune for that to happen. But it is quite a unique thing, and we'll show you probably later on what we're talking about, but stay tuned for that. And we got a man warming some tires in the car. It's just a hatchback. I'm sure it has very little power, Ian.
No power. We don't know too much about this car. So this, behind the wheel of the car anyway, is Mika Keski-Korpi. I mentioned earlier he had an engine failure in that green F31 BMW Touring. Had a spark plug. If you looked on his social media, he just had put a photo of the spark plug saying, "We're out." But social media is a powerful tool because someone contacted him and said, "Hey, I'll bring my car to the track right now. You can use it for Drift Masters. Hey, I'll take it out." Another BMW, probably another 1,000 horsepower. As I say, we don't know too much about it. We'll try and get some more info as the day goes on. But off the line, Mika Keski-Korpi, he thought his weekend was over, Dave.
Yeah, but it's not. But it's going to be tricky for him to figure this car out in such a short space of time. It's quite a short wheelbase compared to his current car, and he's missing some zones here. It's nice to get back on track, but it's you're in the mix with the best in the business. It's not a place to be learning how to drive a new car, and it looks like he's getting around there, but he's not getting around with the right amount of angle, and he's getting a couple of wobbles on the front end as well. This is probably a totally and it's got an issue. I think that was evident from the first corner. There was definitely some issues with this, and unfortunately, even after breaking an engine, getting a borrowed car which was delivered directly from someone's house to the circuit, he hasn't put a score on the board yet. So but again, very difficult to jump in. I mean, we find it when you get a rental car from the airport, it takes you a couple of goes to know, well, how do I turn it on, or where does that, how does it you got to do this at plus 100 miles an hour, and as you can see, he looks smooth.
I think it was smoke. I think he couldn't see what was going on because of the smoke. On the transitions, the whole car was full of smoke.
Really?
So I think he lost where he was because that onboard just showed you there. The whole car was full of smoke. You couldn't see at some points where he was going. Look, boom.
Yeah, a lot of smoke, and the sunlight obviously doesn't help.
And it's no muscle memory in this car, remember. Like when you get in your own car, you know exactly where the ignition is, the radio, the heaters, everything. He's put his hands up in the air. He's like, I can't see where anything is. This is all new to him, so he's trying to work out where the handbrake is, where the shifter is, how close the steering wheel is, where I'm sitting. And I think that maybe was a problem for Mika Keski-Korpi.
Yeah, 0 on the board for his first run. Now, back on the grid, we've got a man that's not only used to qualifying high, but used to finishing high. Podiums all over Europe. David Karkošek into this 777. Very accurate. I always believe the numbers when they're down to the
They're true.
That's a very accurate number of a 2JZ S15, and he is a very experienced driver. Look at the aggression on the gear change as he comes to that first corner.
Yeah, look at that. Fourth gear, full throttle, no messing around. As David Karkošek now fires this pink S15 right to the edge of the circuit. Tyres holding on for dear life on the transition, but he makes it work. He's on the handbrake early, though, down into the outside zone. Now back on the throttle, looks for the transition as he gets into the outside zone. A little gripped up here. You can see the car not reacting, not washing through these zones as you'd like it to. You need to keep it clean now, not drop wheels over the edge of the circuit. Looks for the wall, across the line, Karkošek with a run in the bag. Yeah, good run in the bag, and I love the carbon fibre interior. I love these onboard cameras. You get to see another whole perspective of drifting from the driver's seat with thanks to Red Bull TV. And as they come through the first corner there, you can see the car, a ton of grip dialed in. Yeah. The car does not wash. When he transitions, it almost wants to straighten up on him. So he's fighting through that the whole time. And, very cool and calm customer, though, behind the wheel. He adapts to everything. And you can see the G-forces on the drivers as they go through that course. That is a lot of gravity
And it's a tough car to drive when it's so gripped up, but I mean, he's doing that because obviously a lot of the top competitors have so much speed now. You know, you need all that power to overpower the grip that you're dialing into these cars. As I always say to people, you got the power of a drag car, but you got the grip of a drag car as well.
Yeah.
So you're trying to drive a car that technically doesn't want to drift. It's hard to explain, but you're setting the car up for so much forward momentum and forward bite on the tires that you're making it harder and worse to drift, to be fast. So you're battling through that, which is amazing how the evolution of drifting has come so far, that you're making the car almost hard to drive. But if you think of any high-level motorsport, none of those cars are easy to drive.
No, they're certainly not easy to drive, and these guys want as much grip and as much drive forward to try and drive away from their opponent as they can, and in turn that makes the car difficult to position, difficult to wash in these outside zones. A 64 on the board for Karkoshik, and he'll be happy with that one for the moment. Still a lot of points on the board.
He'll be happy with so many people scoring a 0,
yes,
because a score at the moment seems to be pretty good. So you can say, oh, he's not happy.
I think there's a problem with the car because he was playing with the kill switch. There was a red switch on the dash. You could see him messing with that as he came back round, and he had a few issues earlier on. Mikael Johansson now, another Swedish driver, makes his way up until the line. Qualified in Mondello Park at round 1, and I must say, he had been absolutely flying here at round 2. The local guy knows this track. What can he do in qualifying? Flicks the car all the way across the circuit. Very shallow though on outside zone 1 now, full throttle as Johansson starts to work his way into it. Good line through inside zone 1 and outside zone 2. Very tidy from Johansson as he comes down right to the edge of the circuit, dials on the angle. But it's thrown him off that inside zone, and that put him off the transition. Now all of these zones start falling apart. He needs to work hard to get back into outside zone 8 on a good line. He can, right to the edge of the circuit, on the wall, across the line. Johansson was so close, Dave.
He did the hard parts
really good,
really well,
really good.
And when it came to the settling the car, he got a little bit unsettled. As you said, he came in a little late on the handbrake for me, just to make it work through that outer zone, but he got it done. And as he's coming through here, I'm going, this is a nice line. This is all working out very well for Johansson as he goes right to the edge of the circuit. But as he transitions back, he just let the car wash to it. He couldn't judge the decel the way he needed to. So he's coming in too fast. He's on the handbrake and he gets off it too early. Now watch the front of the car move past the outer zone. Now he's like, uh-oh, I'm going way too fast for this zone. And when he transitions too early, he's now too early out of this zone, and that's what's bleeding him those points. Does a good job of getting back on it for the last corner. It gets, a score on the board, but it goes to show, unless you get it right, you always get it wrong. I know it seems obvious, but you can't just, instantaneously come back online and figure it all out and have one little error on the track. It seems like one error multiplies into 3 or 4, and that hurts your score.
It certainly does hurt your score, and it looked like he was on an absolute flyer, and a really nice guy is Mikael Johansson. And he'll be kicking himself when he goes back and watches the replay. A lot of these guys be watching the live stream as it happens. There we go. 75 on the board for the Swedish driver.
He looks happy in the photo, probably not as happy in the car.
No, probably throwing stuff around and,
Well, do not adjust your sets. This is not an American car. This is a Japanese car with an American front, and it is going to be our next driver up on the grid. It's Maciek Jarkovic from Poland. So it is a American front and a Japanese car with a Japanese engine. It's 2JZ, 800 horsepower, and he's just struggling for form a little bit at round 1 in Mondello, but I think he's enjoying the speed of this track. We're able to drive that. A very aggressive initiation from Jarkovic as he comes through that first corner. Very, very good style. Just missing that. This is going to hurt him. He's going to get too early here and transition too early, which will make it difficult to get down to this outer zone, but does a good job, gets through it. Missing the inner zone as well, as you can see, just holding on a little bit at the moment, a little bit of straightening there as he drops the wheel over the edge of the circuit, and he's got to slow that car right down now at this last corner. Does a good job of that, gets to the outer zone. Some moments of brilliance, some sketchy moments as well. Not the perfect run, but not a bad one when you consider how many zeros are going in as well.
Yeah, certainly so, Dave. For me, I want to go right back to the initiation. Car super gripped up. Watch the way it reacts when he gets off the handbrake. The car almost dives across the circuit. He has to correct it on the steering wheel, and from then on out, he's playing catch up because he's on the wrong line. He isn't where he wants to be, and that upsets that line between 1, 2 and 3, and then he kind of gains it back here. It's easy to adjust the car on the handbrake. As soon as he gets off the handbrake, it all starts to fall apart again because the car doesn't want to go where he wants it to go.
This is the game. We've talked to a lot of drivers, and you want your car super gripped up and super fast so you can be good in battles. But in qualifying, you're not battling another driver. You want to be good on the line, but the car seems to stay gripped up, which is an interesting tactic, that you're fast, but also you've got no room from, you know, error, because you've no wash in the car. What we mean by wash is when you come off the throttle or on the handbrake, the car will just float, you know, whereas now they're so gripped up, all they want to do is go forward, and they don't want to go sideways, which is why you see some of these guys making very big errors. These are very good drivers. So when you see a driver like Jarkovic making a mistake like that, 55 on the board in 11th position so far, you know that he's made the car hard to drive, because if it was super loose and if very little grip, he wouldn't have those issues. So it's an interesting game that they play of, do I keep it consistently gripped up for the whole weekend, or do I sacrifice that for qualifying? Next driver on the line is Alex Holovnia from the Ukraine. Alex doing a good jump over and back with a lot of different machines at the moment all across the world, you know, making a big splash on the world scene of drifting. It's a beautiful machine, 800 horsepower M2, full of carbon Kevlar, and doing a good job so far as he comes through the inner zone. This is nice and calculated from Holovnia right now, looking very smooth, not too much of an risk. A little shy in that outer zone, a little shy in that inner zone. He's put a bit too much angle in there as well. He's got away with it, but it's not the line the judges are looking for. As Holovnia now transitions back to that last outer zone. Can he get those two? Oh, he's over with one, but he keeps the one on the tarmac, and across the line he goes. Again, everyone's struggling a little bit in. This shows how interestingly difficult this track is.
Yeah, and it's not to say that Alex Holovnia hasn't got the talent, because he is jumping backwards and forwards all around the world at the moment, drifting. It just goes to show you how difficult this track is to drive. It doesn't look that hard on your screen, but trust me, I've watched these guys all day and they are struggling with it left, right and centre, and we can see here one mistake from Holovnia forced the rest of the run to kind of bleed more points away, and this is one of them. Wheels over, left the outside zone a little early, and then the transition down into 8 before he gets to that wall run. Gets it timed right.
What I like about this is that he does a good job of recovering. Some drivers have not been able to do that. He knew he made a mistake, but he got back on it. A little bit of experience there to say, okay, let's not fall apart. Let's not, you know, throw all the toys out of the pram. Let's get back on it, and he gets back on those zones towards the end. So he does salvage some score here. But again, another driver who started strong, finished strong, but that middle section really messed them up.
Yeah, it seems like the technical part of the circuit's really throwing a few spanner in the works for our drivers.
That side skirt holding on for dear life against the wind speed there on these cars. Remember, these Kevlar body kits are there to, you know, bend, and if they hit something, it does, you know, it's like shattering.
Yep.
But they are pretty light, and you can tell the speed these guys are going on. I watched Doors earlier on, like
flexing,
bowing in with the amount of speed that these guys are carrying, which is crazy to see at this level. A 63 on the board, and up for 6th position right now. Holovnia will sit there and go, not great, not bad, something to work for.
Certainly so. Certainly something to work towards as he moves and looks forward to his second qualifying run. On the line, we move to Enver Haskasap, the North Cypriot driver in this Nissan 206 S15 2JZ underneath the bonnet at 1,000 horsepower. And he has a whole host of championships under his belt, Dave. He is the 2020 Turkish drift champion. He's done rallying, he's done drifting, he's done it all. And here we go. Enver Haskasap fires that car in. Look at the grip. The car didn't even want to skate on the handbrake across the circuit, and he shallows up the angle. Now Haskasap washes wide for that inside zone 1. He's off way off that line. He's going to have to try and rein this one back in on the handbrake down the hill as he goes into that front clipping point. Looks for the transition back once again. Wheels over.
Yeah, looks like he's really struggling with the grip there. That car does not look like it wants to drift at all at this particular occasion. He gets a lap in, but you can see when he transitions, the weight just stops. The tires just grip
up, and the car
and the weight transfer just didn't work at all.
No, it certainly didn't, and that really made that difficult for him to drive. We can see it from the initiation. Once again, another car that you can see. You can see it on the handbrake even here when he comes in. Little lock of the handbrake. Let's go with the handbrake. The car, it's the front wheels. You can see the adjustment straight away as he realises this doesn't want to go sideways.
Yeah, and he actually drops a wheel on the inside of the course, which we haven't seen anyone do yet.
No.
But you can see the car just wanted to take off to the moon there. It didn't want to go drifting at all.
If it had wings, he could probably fly home from here.
Absolutely, and as you can see, because he messed that up, he misses all of these zones just on the wrong line. And you can see again, look, the car just doesn't want to wash down to that other zone. He's got to handbrake it to drag it out there. So very fast car, 1,000 horsepower. But I think the tactic for me right now would be, if I was watching these drivers as, you know, later competitors in this qualifying session, would be like, you know what, just loosen the car up, don't make it so grippy, because what are we gaining from that? We're looking a little sketchier, we're making some errors, we're making mistakes. It doesn't really want to do it. Sure, if you want to stay close in the battle, it's important, but for qualifying, let's dial that back. Let's put that difficulty level back a couple of notches and put a good score on the board. And I think we'll start to see some of the drivers use what they're watching now as information for later on. A 50 on the board for Enver Hasksa from North Cyprus. 14th position on the grid so far, and it goes to show not big scores going in right now.
No, certainly not big scores. Well, our Finnish driver Timo is still sitting at the top of the pile at the moment. Henry Hamper now sits on the line, another Finnish driver. Well, you would have recognised the name but not the car. That's because he has got rid of the Mercedes-Benz E-Class and has now moved to a Nissan S15, and what an incredible looking S15 it is. He had problems the day he got here with the crank pulley. The team got together and worked it out, and Henry Hamper has been absolutely flying. Look at the initiation, lock to lock, as he flicks the car in now through that inner zone. Can he get nice and wide to the outside zone? He can. Doesn't take any risks by going too far. Comes down the hill on the handbrake now, lights on the tyres once again. Very nice on that inside zone, and this one is all starting to come together for Henry Hamper as he makes his way down, looks for that final outside zone. He just needs to keep four wheels on the tarmac. Oh, and he goes three and into the wall, and Hamper parks it on the wall. Can you believe it?
I actually don't believe it. I was just about to interject saying this is the best run we've seen today, and then I just backed off a moment as I saw those rear wheels leave the circuit, and he's done some damage here.
I see the way you put the pen down and look at me as if to say, well, here we go. Now the scores are starting. And then all of a sudden, it just kind of... He was carrying some momentum into this outside zone, and I think he thought he could go round that outside zone a little quicker than what he could. But he came in here, he dialed on the angle, he goes, well, I can get into this. On the throttle, foot brakes, and says, no, there is not that much grip there. And by this point, it's too late. He's into those crash
I'll tell you what's
pads.
happened there is he's gone onto the marbles. So when we say marbles, that's the residue and the pieces of rubber that have come off all of these tyres on that corner, and he's gone two wheels off. So when he hits that, he's on ice. There's no way he's going to slow that car down. And as he goes there, he realises, I'm going to hit that wall. Now it's kind of a soft cushioned wall there. The front though hits the hard part of the wall. I think he's going to get away with a bumper bar or a little bit of damage there, nothing major, but that was on for a big score, and he ends up with a 0.
And you know what, for him, such a disappointment. A brand new car for this season. They made the change from the Mercedes-Benz E-Class chassis, which was very odd but worked well, and such a cool car to see drifting. He moved to the S chassis to try and make things easier for him as a driver and show what they can do. And not the way he would have wanted to start his campaign. He didn't make it to round 1 in Mondello Park, and now starts off his first ever qualifying session here in 2023 by parking that car into the wall, and he'll be absolutely gutted.
Yeah, that's not easy to watch when you've got such a pretty car.
I mean, it's a stunning S15 as well.
It's beautiful. And again, I don't think, other than cosmetic, there's major damage. I think he'd be more disappointed with the fact that he made that error towards the end of the run. But it is going to allow us the first official debut this year of Johnny Scoops. And this is an incredible idea of how to remove a car from the circuit, because very like a pick and mix, you are going to scoop...
You love a pick and mix,
I do.
You do like a pick and mix.
So you're going to scoop the car out of the circuit, which I've never seen before at any circuit we've been to before, which is a new... We've seen the grabbers in Poland. We've seen, you can attach it to the four wheels and you lift it up with a crane onto a truck. We've seen guys conventionally use recovery lorries where the back... But I've never seen something like Johnny Scoops, where you just go in under the back of the car, scoop it up, and off you go.
We were mind blown last year.
I would imagine. I think they have 2 of these as well, which is even more incredible. But this is just an interesting way of removing cars. I like to see how not only have we innovation on the circuit, but off the circuit we've got innovation on how to remove cars, and we're going to see this in action now. This is, like, to me, one of the funnest ways to remove a car. It's not fun for Henry Hampa by any means. He doesn't want to be in this position at all. But I think it is just interesting to see how these guys are removing cars in a very safe way too.
Yeah.
And something that's almost...
and speedy. It's very quick.
But you see it and you go, why didn't no one think of this before? And that's what I love about it.
The Swedish ingenuity came through there. They were like, we know a way to do this really quickly.
How can we get a Volvo to do everything? And then they found it.
Yeah, I mean, they found it.
And we're about to, this is just almost as entertaining to me as the drifting at this point, because I haven't watched too much of it today because these drivers haven't been on it and there was very little recoveries. But when we reference Johnny Scoops, now you know what we mean.
Yeah.
So I wonder, the little winch coming out here.
Hopefully this is the only time the weekend.
We don't want to see anyone do this.
No.
And especially with such a pretty car.
I mean, like I say, brand new build, a stunning car. And, you know, they turned up yesterday. They had a problem straight away. The team worked and fixed it. And then, see that.
Well, we'll go from the track to the pits, Ian, because Becky Evans is with Adam Zalewski down on the grid, or is she with Henry Hampa? I can't see which, but we'll go on to Becky. Becky, you're with actually Adam Zalewski.
Yes, I am with Adam Zalewski, and it's great to see you back out here. And your car is looking absolutely wonderful. I know last round at Mondello, it was all white. You were waiting for your livery to be put on, and here you are. Can you talk us through it a little bit? It looks very flash.
Thank you very much for nice words. I would like to say that, yeah, there's a new wrap on the car, completely something new. As everyone saw in Ireland, we didn't manage actually to make it in time, but for second run in Sweden, we have it. I'm really happy about it. We are pushing hard currently with the car. Everything seems to be working good. We have no problems with the brakes, the same as we had in Ireland. So right now it's only about me, I guess, and what I'm going to show in qualification, we'll see. But yeah, that's it. I hope that everyone enjoys the live stream. That there's a new kind of program on YouTube right now, so I hope everyone likes that and that I can give a nice show during the qualification today.
Adam, you've always got a lovely smile on your face, but let's go back to last year. It was not the best weekend for you. You were out in top 32. Well, you were having a few car troubles. So, I mean, are you looking forward to a good weekend this weekend? Feeling pumped?
Yeah, of course, like everyone is always looking to win, and but drifting is really crazy how it's motorsport where a lot of things happen during the runs, and the cars just, you know, you can build a car that is like really expensive, but it still might break because it's just motorsport, and these things happen. So
these things do happen. Good luck in your qualifying. Back to you guys in the covers.
Thank you very much, Becky. Yeah, a super confident Adam Zalewski down there on that brand new wrapped Toyota GT86. We go back to the line to a fellow Polishman, though, of Adam Zalewski, and it will be Erik Kokozel. Very young, probably one of the youngest drivers on the grid, 18 years old, driving a BMW M1, but with a Chevrolet V8 turbo making 1,000 horsepower. But he only hasn't got one, he's got two of these cars, because why would you not bring a backup, Dave?
Well, most people are struggling with their driving test at 18. This guy is driving at over 100 miles an hour into that first corner. A nice flick into that first corner as well, as he fires through the course. Nice job as he gets that inner zone. You know, this is a good run so far. Can he hold it together? We've watched so many guys be phenomenal at this point and then throw it away towards the end. He's gone a little wide. He's missed that inner zone, but so far so good. Now it's got to watch this decel. He's over the track. He's putting a wheel or two over the track there as well. This is the tricky part. Slow it down. Don't get into the marbles. He's flirting with disaster, but he keeps it together. Nice run.
Oh, an incredibly nice run there from Erik on his first qualifying run. He's got a little grin on his face as if to say, yep, I know I can still do it. I've still got it. I'll show these old guys how it's done.
Yeah, just got a little bit of a tidbit of information from later drivers. Well, Conor Shanahan having very big problems with his engine, says he's going to push his car to the start line and try and do one lap for qualifying and rebuild the engine tonight. So that's a little bit of drama.
That's coming up.
That's coming up later on, and the drama will unfold as we get through this qualifying session. But a great run here. I really enjoyed the fluidity. Looks like he's very comfortable with the chassis. There is some errors creeping in, but you know, right now just getting a score on the board might be enough.
Look, he's only young. He might be feeling those nerves, especially after seeing Henry Hamper take that car to the wall. Apart from that wheel drop and that miss and that second inside zone, I think it was a nice run. I'm not a judge. You're not a judge. The group of judges are above us. They've been separated, so they can't, you know.
So we can't annoy them.
We can't annoy them, and they can't stare us down.
No, when we make wild accusations. About runs. But Kevin O'Connell, Vernon, and David, they've been that solid team of judges for a very long time. They split up the responsibilities in qualifying to make sure that they're concentrating on certain aspects. Their briefing is incredibly detailed. We were listening this morning, and every moment that you're on this track and every eventuality, they've gone through it with the drivers. And the drivers will know in the car where they've been making mistakes and where they haven't. A 74 on the board, not bad from the youngster, Erik from Poland. 5th position so far. I think that's a solid result for a first run where everybody seems to be struggling. And a guy that did struggle at the first round was Diogo Correa from Portugal. He was our standout driver from 2022, but has struggled at the start. He had a crash in Mondello Park, didn't feel like he wanted to drive the car. He said, this weekend I'm feeling much more comfortable. Let's see if he can turn that into a successful qualifying run.
Well, let's hope so. Diogo Correa was one we picked to be a great here at the Drift Masters European Championship. As he goes full throttle now, looks for that front zone just a little shy on it. You can see the way he lets that car wander and waver across the circuit for the outside zone, transitions down, looks for the second outside zone, works it. Very tidy on that second inside zone now as he makes his way through. You can see that front wheel fully locked as smoke bails from the front tyre. Good transition. Oh, and a big waver though as he had to balance the car. Up to the wall he goes, and Diogo Correa will be happy with that run.
Looks to me like he drove a car that wasn't super hooked up, which made the car float, which made that lap look a lot tidier. That is the tactic for me.
I think it is the tactic, and I still think there was quite a lot of grip out there, which caught him out in a few areas. You can see there, left foot brake trying to position the back end of that car where he needed it on circuit to
One
pick
of
up
the
that front zone.
strangest things in drifting, you're at full throttle while your left foot is on the brake.
Foot brake, yep.
So you're controlling the front of the car with your left brake and the rear of the car with your right brake, and you're steering in the opposite direction. Just try and put all that together. In the mind of a drifter, you're doing a lot of work on the steering wheel, probably more than any other motorsport, at the one time. And I know these runs are short, you don't have a long race, but in that moment, he's got steering, he's got handbrake, he's got brake, he's got throttle, he's got clutch, all going on. You only got 2 feet.
Yep.
Unless, you never know.
Some of these guys.
They could have genetically engineered some drivers that have,
some more legs.
like an octopus, just pressing all the buttons. But to me, it's an incredible part. You see him transition. He pulls the handbrake and brakes at the same time. Then goes the clutch to the it's so quickly happening that it's crazy. 71 on the board. Nice run from Diogo Correa. A settler, as we would call it. Something to settle the nerves from the first run.
Up next on the line, we move to the driver from the Czech Republic. It will be the one and only Mikael Reichardt. A wild Mikael Reichardt, we like to say. He is
in the wild.
He's wild in the wild. He probably is at one day. He's probably peaceful.
He's out here in nature, absolutely shredding tires. He's in his happy place. Let's see if Mikael Reichardt can put in a good run here. Yes, he does a nice initiation into that first corner. This is pretty solid so far. Gets a wheel into that inner zone. This is very solid from Mikael Reichardt from the Czech Republic right now. 1,000 horsepower in this E92 BMW. Good job so far. Mikael Reichardt, sometimes it's a feast or a famine when it comes to qualifying for him, but right now it looks like he's eating up this circuit as he comes to that last corner. Keep it steady, not big angle. That's what the judges want to see. Nice and controlled, solid run from Mikael Reichardt. Not the best of starts in Mondello Park in Ireland for the start of the championship, but coming strong now.
He certainly is coming strong now. That was an incredible run. For me, not many places where I could kind of pull it apart, but as I say, we're not judges. We're just watching it as mere mortals, as everyone else is a spectator and a fan, and that was a very nice run from Reichardt. I want to see how close he is on this inside zone. I mean, look, he could have been a little bit deeper, but for me, he's right there. This, though, right to the edge of the circuit, and times his transition right. Just dabs the handbrake maybe a little too early, but here on that second inside zone, absolutely nails it.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You got to notice a lack of left foot braking for Mikael Reichardt. Why? Because he didn't need to adjust.
No.
He was on the right line. He could use the momentum of the car. I think that left foot braking through the first corner is almost for an adjustment away from where you want to be. You're trying to move the car further wide. He actually nailed it from his line initially on initiation. That's helped him throughout the rest of the circuit. Beautiful run from Mikael Reichardt. Let's see what the judges say.
Well, here we go. Scores in 83 for Mikael Reichardt, and close to the top, not close enough. Just a few millimetres here or there, Dave, to improve on.
There was no moment there where you went, that's amazing. But he did what the judges at a basic level wanted to see, which is why he got rewarded with that score. Christian Erlandsson, our next driver, representing Sweden. You got the hometown fans here cheering him on. He is, you got 1,088 horsepower, a very small light car.
The 88 makes a big difference.
Big difference. So you've got Bugatti Veyron power in a very small Toyota. So here we go into that first corner. Saw a couple of trips to the gravel in practice. He's been pushing hard to try and find that perfect line all weekend. And it looks like he's a little wide there. You can see the left foot brake lock up as he comes to the outside of the circuit. He's got the power and the pace, though, to make it work. Big angle there, which worked. We got a little understeer, had to correct it. He does make it work. He's fighting the car a little bit, but he's actually using his driver ability to get around those errors. As he comes back, you see everyone being a little bit more cautious now with this last corner after seeing so many guys go into the wall. Solid run from Christian Erlandsson. Nice job.
Yeah, very, very nice run there, and just a few little errors that we picked up on straight away, and that was that first inside zone. You could see him going wide there. Dave mentioned locking up that left foot brake, and it just couldn't manage to get there. But the rest of the run for me was very, very nice from a man who we always say struggles with a little bit of the mental side of drifting. Gets inside his own head and maybe sits on that start line saying, I don't even remember what I'd done the last time I came around here.
No, we talked to a lot of drivers, and the mental game is huge.
Yeah, huge, yeah.
You've done all this effort to get there. You've spent so much money. You've built this car. There's 20,000 components in it that are all, hand selected, tuned, built, and then you've got these 40-second runs just to get it done, and it does weigh heavily with your team watching on, your family, your sponsors, everybody there expecting you to perform. It can crush you know, your hopes and dreams very quickly drifting with one error on the track, and it's almost happening so fast you don't have time to, you know, if you were in a circuit race, you make an error, you've got maybe 40-50 laps to catch up. But with this one mistake, and it costs you 9th position so far for Christian Erlandsen, 63 on the board. And not bad at all. No. It's better than a lot of people have done so far. We move on to our next driver from the Netherlands, from Holland. It's Clint van Oet, and he is in an 850 horsepower S14. Very loud car, both in colour and in sound. And a really fun guy to be around. This thing is beautifully presented, and yeah, this is going to be a loud, smoky lap for sure.
It certainly is, as Clint van Oet comes off the line through the gears, hammers down, looks for a wide initiation, absolutely nails it as Clint van Oet now picks up the throttle, lights up the tyres. 1,000 horsepower, we're close to it. 850, screaming those rear wheels through the circuit. Oh, but he backed out of it ever so slightly. You can see that affected the line down into the outside zone now. Picks it back up again, starts to work out where he needs to position that car. Looks for that final outside zone 8 on the throttle nice and early, gets right wide, one wheel over, backs out of it and wanders out of that zone too early.
Yeah, that run was definitely the tale of two backouts.
Yeah.
One was he actually had the correct line, but he didn't apply the throttle.
No.
It was strange. I think he thought he was going too fast, but you're never going too fast.
Maybe he sat in there and looked at himself in the mirror and said, what are we doing?
Yeah, we are. What? Our life choices need to be questioned. As he transitions here, watch comes off the throttle,
yep.
And it just doesn't allow the car to wash. He doesn't get the car right out to the edge of the circuit, which is it's easy for us to say. But when you're going that speed, I can imagine you go, whoa, don't want to go off there. And then again, as he transitions back here, he uses the left foot brake, and you can see that wheel lock up to get him back there. But he doesn't decel enough, in my opinion. He's kind of pushing too much pace at this point. The rear wheels go a little wide, they hit those marbles, and he has to back off to let the car grip up again, or he's going in the wall like we saw Henry Hampa do earlier on. Does a good job of avoiding that, but it's
I think he worried a little bit too much there. I think he thought he was wider than what he was, because you see him clutch kick it, but by that point the car had already gripped up. It started to dial angle out of it, and he realised, has he got a D-bead?
No, I think I was actually just noticing how low
the
rear end of the car is. His bodywork is almost scraping the ground. He's got that much compression on the rear
shocks. I think those tyre
shocks.
pressures are so low, and he's got such a big dish on those rear wheels that it kind of forces the tyre to look like it's D-beaded. I was going to say, if he just done that with a D-bead, then he is a hero.
Impressed.
Yeah.
But watch the smoke pour from between the panels on the back of the car. I mean, it's just trying to get out anywhere it can. It is being destroyed. But I love how this car squats down at the back, and then the bodywork is almost touching the ground when it's at full compression. It's incredible to see the sophistication of suspension on these cars to make sure that the car, as I said, it's like a dry car. It's fully soft on the back. These guys are running what would be a puncture to you and I in terms of pressure on the back of the car, just to make that tyre as wide as possible. And an incredible view here from the slow motion camera, just to see how much strain you're putting on that rear piece of rubber on the rim.
If I was Clint van Oet, I'd request that piece of footage just to watch over and over and over on a replay at home.
There you can see the judges making some calculations, trying to get the scores in. You can see Kevin O'Connell, Vernon, David, super serious.
Very serious.
Very concentrated on making sure that every score is correct. And we wait for the score for Clint van Oet, and I think we'll be getting some deductions for those two offline backouts, as I would call them, on this run. But you know what? It's easily done. And a lot of people are going off the circuit. It's better to be on it and scoring than to be scoring a zero. And you know, 48 on the board may not seem like a great score, but when you've got the WRC champion scoring a zero, it shows how difficult it is out there.
It certainly does. Well, Becky just had an interview with him. Now it's time to prove what he can do. Former Drift Masters European champion sits on the line. Adam Zalewski, the Polishman in this Toyota GT86. 2JZ underneath the bonnet, 850 horsepower. He's hungry for a second championship. He didn't have the start around one he wanted. He said he's coming back this weekend absolutely flying, and he is flying as he fires through outside zone 1. Full throttle as he screams on the rev limiter, and he picks up that inside zone. I thought he was going too wide there now. Zalewski makes this one work, comes down. Nice tidy line. Can he slow it down and pick up that zone? He certainly can. As Zalewski is on an absolute ripper right now. Goes one wheel over the edge of the circuit, but he'll be forgiven for the commitment as he fires into that final outside zone. Wheel on the white line. He looks for the wall, gets the job done. Zalewski is back in town.
That's a big run and a big statement, because, you know, Adam Zalewski certainly, you know, as an ex-champion, didn't want to fall back down the ladder and be someone that no one was talking about at an event. And very much from my perspective here, he's showing why he is an ex-champion. great adjustment on the car. You can see the whole way through the run, he's thinking about the zone. He's not letting the car go where it wants to go. He's manhandling it to make sure it goes where he wants it to go. And I love this transition on the decel, because you can see him go on the throttle, off the throttle, on the throttle. He's not just doing it all in one motion. He's adjusting, meaning he gets that inner zone. I mean, it's as good to a perfect line as we've seen so far. Very strong performance. I love it because rejuvenated this weekend, new livery, new mindset, and now a big run to start his qualifying session. This is all good stuff for Zalewski. This is what he's going to want.
It certainly is good stuff for him, and you know what? A stellar job on his first qualifying run, and I'm going to say this score is going to be way, way up there. Just the precision of it for me, especially in this final outside zone, knowing this is where a lot of drivers drop wheels. But I could be wrong, and I am, Dave. I am wrong once again.
Well, it's no surprise that Ian's wrong, but he has a 77 on the board, so some of those adjustments that I was talking about that I thought were great, the judges probably saying too much adjustments, not doing it all in one fluid emotion. So we'll come back and talk to Kevin after the first half of qualifying, but now on the line, a man that wants to start his campaign and has to start it at round 2 after engine failure at round 1. It is Naoki Nakamura, the Japanese champion, and he is in his first, I think, full go at qualifying, because he did qualify at round 1, but the car was broken. He needed one run. So now he's got what I would consider to be a working car, and we get to see what he's all about. We still think he's an unknown entity right now. You know, the Japanese style quite different than the European style. A lot of people questioning, will he adapt? Will he be able to do it? We're about to find out. This is what's exciting about Drift Masters. Here we go.
Here we go. Fourth gear clicked as Nakamura fires that S15 in full throttle as he looks for that inner zone. He gets it. He goes very wide. He hangs onto it though. That was incredible pace as he comes down a big wobble though on the handbrake early and fails to get that outside zone. Now looks to join the dots. He's moving through this circuit at a rate of knots right now as Nakamura looks for that final outside zone. He gets into it, lights up the tyres right to the edge of the circuit, across the line. Nakamura, job done on the first qualifying run.
Yeah, good solid run again, struggling with the transition a little bit there. The first 3 zones were exceptional, and then he just didn't extend it the way he wanted to. A driver that drives a huge amount of angle, which is so exciting to watch, but it doesn't work on the first half of this course. And as you can see him, this is a great view as you can see him go through that first section. He thinks about the handbrake, he goes, no, it's okay, I'm all right. And then watch the transition as he comes back. He just has to go a little early to the handbrake to make it work down to the outer zone. This is where he transitions with a little bit too much angle for me just here, just didn't have the legs to get down to the next zone.
This is so good inside the car. It looks like this is a daily drive to the shops. This is slowed down because he would move through there so quick.
I would question that Nakamura has more drift miles than road miles under his belt as a human being right now, because he's done a lot of drifting. He's drifting every weekend. He's got a ton of cars in Japan. He's always learning his trade. But it's quite a different step up here for him. Not even a step up, but a step sideways, because it's a different style of championship. It's a lot of expectation. A lot of people expecting him to come out the box swinging. He does a good job of putting a score on the board. And this last corner, you know, backs off just a little bit at the wall, but it's tidy. I like it. And, you know, we're going to see this guy really come alive in the battles. That's where his, I suppose if you were to say, his extreme talent comes from, his chase driving.
Can I just let everyone into a little bit of a taster?
Go for it.
I was upstairs earlier with the judges watching practice. 72 on the board, by the way, 8th place for Naoki Nakamura, drops him into the front. We watched Nakamura go out for some practice, Dave, twin battle practice. Door on door every run, every transition.
Well, that's what we want. That's why he's here.
Just a taste of what you've got looking forward to tomorrow. Oliver Randalou comes off the line right now, the Estonian driver. 900 horsepower from the BMW 6-cylinder engine underneath the bonnet on the throttle. Nice and early, picks up that front zone. 2nd place at round 1 in 2022. Can he replicate anything this weekend? Very tidy line down into the outside zone. And look at the line through that inner zone as well. Very nice from Randalou, the Estonian. But now a few errors start to creep in. Failed to get to the outside zone. Can he keep it clean on the final? Goes for that white line, looks for the wall, gets the job done, and Randalou back on form.
Yeah, looking good, missing a zone, I think is probably all. And what I love it, the car is just lifting that front wheel almost off the ground when there's that much grip in this thing. When they designed the E36 BMW, I never imagined they would think this is what it would be doing, you know, 25 years later.
A 3-door, you know, coupe. This was select to the young lads. They can drive around town looking cool, or a businessman, you know, a young businessman can take this to the office and look cool parked in the car park. Never did the designer of BMW say, a guy from Estonia is going to put 900 horsepower through it and fire around a race circuit sideways in Sweden.
No, that was definitely not on the brief.
On the agenda.
On the brief. And that's the thing, you know, this is self-engineered because these cars are not factory built. So this guy is taking chassis and learning from those before them to make these very competitive cars. You see bits of the car flying off, and I wouldn't blame it at 900 horsepower at these speeds. But what I mean, you're wheeling through the first corner. You can see Randalou lifting the front wheel off the ground. There's that much compression and drift, which is incredible to see. Some errors though creeping in. 76 on the board for Oliver Randalou, 5th position so far. And again, at the end of the first half of qualifying, I'm going to have a word with Kevin O'Connell. I'm going to talk to him about a couple of runs, and I like getting his insight on things and how he's seeing things. Manuel Vacca from Italy, the Italian stallion on the start line, and he has got a lot of power. He's got a lot of car. He's also got an E36 BMW. They're both back to back here. We haven't got that many left in the championship.
He's got 40 more horsepower than
that's what makes all the difference.
What counts.
Let's see how he gets on this first run as he goes for that weight transfer. You can see him moving to that side of the circuit. Very gripped up car. Late handbrake though, just to steady the ship as he goes through the first corner. Inside zone, gets it. Not bad from Manuel Vacca so far. Now building the pace. Got to be brave here. Got to stay on the power, and he does. Does a good job of connecting the dots. Gets that inner zone. It's a tidy lap so far from Manuel Vacca. A little early on the transition there, but this is the bit where people are struggling. Slow that car down, Manuel. Get it into that outer zone and just sit on that outer zone. He does a great job of that. Now we're starting to see Manuel Vacca come on form. Excellent stuff.
I think this happened last year in Sweden. I think these faster circuits kind of really suited his driving style, and by the end of the weekend, he said he had a lot of fun, but this morning he looked nervous. He didn't look calm in the car, and I was worried that this qualifying run wouldn't be that spectacular. But to be fair to Manuel Vacca, he's found his feet, he's cooled the nerves, and now he's back out and he's absolutely ripping. And that was, apart from that little wash there, was a very good run.
Very good run. What I love is you can see the Finnish fans cheering him on.
Yeah.
I think the Finnish fans,
cheer everyone.
They cheer everyone.
They're cheering us on.
I think you could go, you know, to the shop here and they'd be cheering you on just to get you shopping. They're just so enthusiastic.
They're so enthusiastic.
Such a fun vibe around the paddock with the Finnish fans here. And of course it's closer to Finland where we are right now than most of Sweden, which is interesting geographically. Learning things as we go, Ian. Because sometimes we're here at a race circuit, we don't know where we are in the world, but we looked at the map and said we're kind of in Finland.
Close,
We're kind of in Finland even though we're in Sweden. And we're kind of close to the Arctic Circle, which is also interesting. We never thought when drifting started that we would be here, but you know what? We've been wrong a lot along the way. 83 on the board. Big run from Manuel Vacca from Italy. 2nd position so far. Love it. The line, 56 out of 60. That's what you want to see. Good line score.
Italian flag. Italian
fans.
Oh,
there we are. He looks Italian, doesn't he? He's a suave gentleman there. He always bring a little style around the paddock. I like that.
Yeah, sophisticated.
We've got Kevin Pazur from Estonia now on the start line. And Kevin is a 2022 Baltic Drift Champion, 870 horsepower. He's in this M2. And Kevin looking for a big run here. He's going for a big old weight transfer into that first corner. Does a good job of it. Little handbrake drag just to settle. And now he's on it. Can he get to that inner zone? No problems for Kevin here as he goes through the inner zone. But he's not got enough pace to get out to the next zone. Now he's kind of in no man's land. He's getting early here. He's got to drag that handbrake to make it work and get to that inner zone. But he's tidied it up. He's on the technical part of the circuit here as he transitions. Big angle from this BMW M2 as he throws into the last corner. Gets on it pretty late. 2 wheels off the track maybe though. And the judges are going to have a good look at that one. That could be flirting with a zero.
I think that will be flirting with a zero, Dave, going back on previous experiences. And for me, there was a big mistake after the initiation. Watch this, fires the car in on big angle. And he made it pay off, you know, shallowed it out ever so slightly onto the left front brake to try and balance that car through that zone. But for me here, he shallowed off the angle. He tried to flick it. I think he lacked that little bit of commitment to go all the way and dial on the angle to the outside zone. And that really messed him up, and he had to correct it coming down the hill into that 3rd outside zone. Nevertheless, finishes up the run, but I do believe wheels over that outside zone. Kevin O'Connell has been messaging me saying 2 wheels over the outside zone is a zero, so that one will have to be confirmed by the judges. But from where I was sitting, Dave,
looked to me like 2 wheels off the track. Beautiful car. You could actually look like he threw the car at that last outer zone without actually really slowing down enough at all. I think he just kind of fired it and hoped it would grip, but it didn't. Unfortunately, that is another zero on the board for a high-ranking driver. Kevin Pazur from Estonia will score a zero. Has to get it all done now in the second half of qualifying.
He certainly does. We go back to the start line to probably one of the cleanest vehicles that we see around the paddock. It is Paweł Grosz, the Polish driver in this Subaru BRZ, 2JZ underneath the bonnet, 750 horsepower. This car...
How could you confuse it with a GT86?
Wow. Such a different vehicle.
You know nothing about cars. If you could be a BRZ and a GT86, really? But is going to be Pavel Grosz into the first corner. We do love this car. Very simple, clean design, but a lot of power, and a very experienced driver behind the wheel. Barely scrapes that inside zone as he pushes wide. He's got to be careful not to put too much angle on here. He's going on big angle. He's flirting with the edge of the circuit, but I like it. He committed, and it worked for him as Pavel Grosz now starts to take... Oh, look at this big angle again. He's going for a flare style run here, and it slows the car down very well for him. Don't get in the marbles, Kevin. Pavel, as he goes across the line. Very nice. Like that one.
I like that. Do you know what that had? It had lots of pizzazz.
Bit of spark.
Spice.
Yeah, liked it. And again, it's not a track where you can show off your style a little bit.
Yeah. But
he found some zones to do it, and in the first corner, you got to go with you got to thread the needle. You got to go through those 3 zones, as any car will go through them. But then, as he comes down the hill, I was like, commit, and he did. He went a big angle. He made it work. Watch this. As he goes to the edge of the circuit, he's like almost 90 degrees there as he comes through, but it slows the car down, allowing the nose of the car to go through those inner zones. And again here, instead of a kind of a slow decel, he goes on big angle, so he loses all the speed one way, so when he transitions back, he's not going too fast. Could be a clever way of doing it, because the decel zone is actually before you transition, so that could be the way the judges want to see these guys do it, and that could be where we're seeing the likes of Zalewski and stuff making errors, because it's not just about getting through the zones. That's the easy bit. It's how you get through them that the judges are scoring you on. And I love this car. Absolutely beautiful.
It's such a stunning car, a very clean build, and Pavel, such a nice guy to have in and around the championship. Well, where does that put him?
Not too sure. In his Subaru Toyota BR86.
And there's a Scion FRS as well.
Yeah,
don't forget.
There's a lot going on
there's
there.
3
the
cars,
one car.
Yeah.
But you know what? And not one of these cars is even an original car.
No.
There's probably just the windscreen, and everything else has been changed. So it is the Pavel Grosz 86 more than it's the Toyota GD86 or Subaru BRZ. But yeah, because I think that at this stage now these guys are pretty much. You've got this the chassis from the front suspension turrets to the rear turrets, and the windscreen, and I'd imagine
everything else
maybe the roof. That's about all. Maybe that's all you've got left of the original car. So these are complete builds from the ground up. We still wait for the score for Pavel Grosz.
Well, there's no score dropped in on our secret little system that we can see that nobody at home can see, and that means that the judges, and there we go, are discussing this. I wonder if they are discussing the wheel drop there. Was it 2, and was the angle too much for that zone?
Well, it's definitely what they're discussing is the 2 wheels. Did he go 2 wheels over that white line? Now, a lot of people say, oh, he's over the white line. Well, the judges have to say, can we with 100% say that he's 2 wheels over? And that's sometimes what confuses people watching it. It's not about assuming it. Can they, within reasonable doubt, say 100% they are going, yes, he's over? So that's going to be an interesting one to see. And it's a 0-2 wheels off the circuit. I would agree.
Well, Kevin O'Connell's contacting me via text messaging from upstairs. It says 2 wheels off at outside zone 4. So we were right, as always.
Big statement, but yeah, Kevin O'Connell's right as always.
Kevin O'Connell's
2 wheels
right,
off, you don't get away with it. It looked like a super run, but those 2 wheels cost him. And next up on the line, we've got Benediktas Scherba, who's in his car from last year, which he sold, had engine trouble with his new car, and then took his old car back from the new owner, who said, go and have some fun in Sweden, and here we are.
And here we are, firing down as Benediktas Scherba picks up that inside zone absolutely perfectly, right to the edge of the circuit. He's on an absolute flyer again. Another driver that's got this one dialed doesn't make that mistake that we just see Pavel Grosz make, but he was shy on that second inside zone. Starts to work this one back out again. Does Benediktas Scherba now as he looks for the final outside zone. Just keeps it within the white lines, on the wall, and across the line he goes.
It's incredible to think that this car was essentially wrote off, crashed into a wall in Austria last year, which we would say we'll never see that car again. He came back to the next event with the same car, then he built a new car, sold this car, and now he's back in his old car. A lot going on in the Turboland there. Ins and outs and ups and downs, but I'll tell you one thing, he's probably thinking, why did I sell this car? Because it's absolutely perfect for this circuit, and a great job by Benediktas Scherba. I like this the way that he doesn't go on a huge amount of angle on the transition. He's clever there, so he gets to the outside zone. That's what we want to see.
But he comes up shy here. Look at this. Just about catches a wheel on the white line. So points deducted there from my side of things, Dave. My view anyway.
But that counts for very little here around here.
I knew you was going to say that. I think it's been many years now. It's just kind of ingrained in me that I say something and then I already know that's wrong.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is, it's good that we can be wrong.
Yeah.
Because there's no consequence.
Oh, I can be wrong every day.
Whereas the judges very rarely are wrong, and they watch it. a little bit less from an entertainment standpoint like we do. We watch it like you guys watching at home, that it's fun. But look at this, 86 on the board for Benediktas Cherba. We were right, the judges were right, and Benediktas Cherba was right to borrow that car this weekend. He's in first position, and he pretty much is guaranteed battle action with that score. That's just me saying that if everyone goes above 86, we would never see anything quite like that. No. But I think that's a strong enough score. We move on to our next driver from Sweden, Joachim Andersen.
Yeah,
he's been looking strong in practice, Ian. I watched a couple of runs. He looks comfortable here.
I was just going to say, he's been looking on form, Dave. Likes these big, fast tracks. 800 horsepower underneath the bonnet. This 3.2-litre Mercedes-Benz 6-cylinder engine. Again, another car that doesn't make sense, but it works. And Joachim Andersen out here absolutely throwing down as he goes right to the edge of the circuit. Nice transition back, keeps it on the white lines. Very tidy on that inside zone. Now fires back across. Looks for the transition back once again, slows the car on angle, flicks it across the circuit. That was a handbrake track there.
He's lost power here.
With the car,
He's lost power. He lost power on the transition. You can see no smoke coming from those rear wheels. It's either power, differential, something we don't know. We're very far away from that. This track is huge. We would usually hear some issue, but we'll try and get some information for you guys on it. But he was absolutely flying through the whole course. And then that last transition, it was like he slowed down way too much. And you're like, what's going on? But then the rear wheels never started spinning again.
And no, it was after this. Look at this, he transitions and then he drags the handbrake, which to me was obviously a mistake, and then straight away no power.
Yeah, shutdown of the car just maybe got to a temperature at the end of the circuit, maybe just
potentially
the ECU just said,
we are too hot, too hot to handle.
I'm not liking this, and maybe shut the power down. I mean, most of these guys will sometimes turn that safety off for these qualifying runs, which is risky, but it is a lot on the car. And then I had Becky was saying to Mary, I was like, what's with this track breaking cars? And I was like, think of how long they're on throttle here. Think of how long that car is on the top of the red line compared to any other circuit. So let's hope Juha Rintanen has better success. We've got two Juhas coming up back to back here, Juha Rintanen and Juha Poitalaxo, and the first is the Finnish driver. He has competed in Europe, he's competed in America, he's competed all over the world, and he's got 999 horsepower. They went that far and said, that's enough.
That's enough.
Let's not be ridiculous. 1,000 horsepower. But this is a brand new build, works well, and Juha likes these fast tracks.
He certainly does, and he's a man renowned for having a fast car with plenty of grip, and now Juha Rintanen fires down, brand new build for 2023, right to the edge of the circuit, flicks up some dust, fires an angle, keeps a hold of it, a little wobble, but makes it work now as Rintanen collects that inner zone, looks for the transition back as he comes down the other side of this very shallow hill, looks for the transition, a final outside zone 8, gets in it, holds onto it right to the edge of the circuit, to the wall. Rintanen throws his hand out the window and says, that's how you do it.
It's good, but you know what? I was talking to Kevin O'Connell, our head judge, earlier on, and he was saying that when they get to the first decel zone, he doesn't want to see someone dragging through it slowly and then just jumping for the inside of the corner. He wants to see a little bit of wash. He wants to see their car move a little bit more. Rintanen puts way too much angle on in the transition. He does an incredible job of holding on to it. So watch here, as he transitions, he gets a little bit wide here. This is too snappy. So now he's got a handbrake here really early, and he's out of this zone very early, which I don't think the judges want to see.
No.
Even though he does make it work, he gets through all the zones, and human beings like us look at it and say, well, he got all the zones, he got all the boxes on the ground, why is he not getting a great score? I'm not saying he does or he doesn't here, I'm just saying that there is other factors at play.
Yeah, of course.
And it's how they get to those zones, I mean, I walked through them yesterday, but they ain't going to give me a good score. And I was in all of them.
100?
I would say
99.
I was doing about 30 kilometers an hour in the rental car, to be honest, but I got through all of them. But Kevin said that's not how I want to see them completed.
Right.
So I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I learned that I would not do very well at the championship, especially in the rental car. But you can see that's the problem with these guys. 73, and I knew there was going to be a little deduction on that, and that was that line. You see 42 out of 60. So I'm learning.
You're learning. We're all learning.
The school of drift. We're learning as we go.
And we're learning together, Dave. That's all that matters.
Yeah, we're learning together. Some of us, like you, wrong most of the
all
time.
The time.
But sometimes you might be right.
Yeah.
And that's a surprise for us. It's nice to know we have that unpredictability. Cool. So we move on to our next driver, another very established two-time Finnish drift champion and European champion. It is Juha Poitalaxo. Firing into that first corner, 850 horsepower. I don't even know why we say the horsepower. They all got horsepower at this point. They all got great cars, but have they got the ability to get a great line around the circuit? He's very wide. He's two wheels over for me. That looks like that's two wheels over. If we're going, we're learning.
We're learning.
It looks great. You get the zone, but you're way too wide. And maybe we have another driver flirting with disaster there on that outer zone. And as he slows it down, nice towards the end. That's it. That one error, that one mistake in the run can be enough.
I think that is enough, Dave, to be brutally honest with you. I think that was enough, and you could see it coming. The transition was perfect almost, but just dialed on too much angle. Let's take a look back here. After the initiation, you can see that front wheel absolutely dialed in, looking for that front zone. It will disappear under the car. He's on an incredible line. He lets it wash to the very edge of the circuit.
Now
he
watch
says,
the rear wheel.
I'm ready. Watch this though. Way too far. Keeps it on that angle. Doesn't shallow up.
Looks to me like he's over that white line. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but it looked to me like he dropped 2 wheels now. That's not our decision to make, but you know what I love about this, you get to see the front angle from the stationary camera, then you get the other side of the car from the drone.
Yeah.
And the drone is, I mean, she's being pushed. Like there's a lot of speed.
You can see there.
The drone is at full speed trying to keep up with this. Look at this for an angle.
And I mean, for us to see that, I would say that's definitely 2 wheels off. And there we go, reflected in the score, 2 wheels off the circuit.
We're getting the hang of this, Ian. We're getting the hang of it. It's only taken us 4 years.
I mean, it's round 2, so, you know.
We're starting to feel. We're starting to feel it. Don't worry, folks. We'll presume being wrong very soon again. But on that one, we're right now. Is this...
Well, hyping himself
up is Jakub Pszczonski, or Kuba Pszczonski, as we call him. And this is a guy who was skateboarding earlier on by me.
Really?
Yep, skateboarding by me and said, yeah, everything's fine. I was like, wow. I looked at the cucumber, I looked at him and I said, I couldn't tell you which is cooler. Here we go. It is going to be Kuba Pszczonski into the first corner, 900 horsepower, GR86, and he's coming in on a flyer here. A little bit of left foot brake as he does collect that inner zone. This is a great line, and this is where people are making mistakes after. Don't go on too much angle. He does it right to the edge of the circuit. That's absolutely perfect so far from Kuba Pszczonski from my positioning. Doesn't have a major amount of pace, doesn't put a major amount of risk into this. This is a technical run. This is one to put a score on the board that's high enough that you're not under pressure for the second run. And he looks like he's just going to the shops.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
That is an electric run. That is a very, very, very nice run. There was really not a lot to take away from that, Dave, to be honest with you.
Like, he did everything right. At no point in that run did it look like he was out of control.
No.
It looked like he was pushing too hard. And the little hype up at the start, that's what I like to see. He's getting in the zone.
Well, I want to see it from the drone. I want to see it from that perspective. Very nice on outside zone 1, which counts. A lot of people not really getting that zone. Inside zone 1 as well, tidy. For me, the little shimmy there to outside zone 2, maybe an area where the judges can pull away a few points.
And just so controlled.
I mean, yeah, look, he's looking at the grandstand saying, hi, everyone, how are you doing? You having fun? I am. Transition, boom.
And it's a beautiful run. I mean, from my perspective, we watched a lot of guys struggle. So obviously this looks, phenomenal in comparison.
Yeah.
But and I'm sure the judges will be looking at it much more technically. But I just love the style. I mean, he's cooler than the other side of the pillow. He's just out there making a good go of it. This is what you call experience. He's a rally champion, Dakar champion, drift
we've got
champion.
4 sheets of paper here with everything he's won on it.
We've over budgeted the season this year from the amount of printing we need to do for his accomplishments.
Oh,
and there you go. 88 on the board for Kuba Pszczonski, and that's going to be very, very tough to top. No matter how long we're into qualifying and we're not even halfway in, I think that's going to be right up there for a long time.
I think it is going to be up there because I tell you why, this year, and as always, these judges are being pinpoint perfect. 1 wheel over, points deducted. 2 wheels over, you're out of the game. Well, last year here, Oran Nilsson, he decided to try and fly his car off the circuit. The Norwegian driver comes through in this Toyota Sora 2JZ. Big initiation as Oran Nilsson fires that car in, bonnet flapping. The body panels can't even hold on to it now as Nilsson goes right to the edge of the circuit, fires back, big angle. He's going to sacrifice the line, but he doesn't. Dicks it on the handbrake now as he comes down that inside zone, looks for the transition back. Nilsson is ripping through the circuit. He wants to make an impression. Dives on the foot brake, slows the car down right to the edge of the circuit. White line, zone for field, bumper on the wall, job done.
What a talent this man is. I mean, I know it's a style. Qualifying for him
is a thing.
Is a thing. He makes qualifying exciting. That wheel didn't touch the ground through the whole first corner. He was on that much angle. The bonnet's trying to leave the whole event. He's like, I didn't sign up for this.
He's out of the chat. He's like, nope.
Yeah. And then as he comes through here, you can see that as he goes to the edge of the circuit, you're starting to think, oh, Oran, you're going a little fast here. But he's ahead of it. He knows that he can put on the throttle earlier than everyone else, slow it down, get back on an inside zone. And as you said, he had 4 wheels off the track last year in the air, which we've never seen before. But this time around, he doesn't want to make the same mistakes. And he's a super talented driver. And when he's on his best form, which I think these fast, difficult tracks are kind of his calling card, he's unstoppable. And that was another phenomenal run. We've just watched 2 incredible runs back to back. And it goes to show when you see very talented drivers, get it right. It does flow, this track. It works really well, and we've watched a lot of guys struggle, and I think they'll take a lot of inspiration from the way these guys are approaching it, which is that fluid motion, not on big angle. And there you go. We had an 88. I said that won't be beaten for a long time. The very next run, it's beaten by an 89 from Oren Nielsen. What do I know? I thought we'd be ages waiting for that 88 to be beaten. Kuba Pashkonsky got about a minute and a half before he was beaten it. But incredible stuff as we move on to our next driver, which is going to be Dylan Garvey, who has a clutch failure in this car. So what they have done, they have taken a beverage, a sticky beverage, and they've put it over the clutch to try and have it more grip. It sounds ridiculous, but this is what's happening. He said he doesn't know if the car will even do one run, but he's going to give it a go. Let's see what happens.
Well, he was doing so well in practice earlier on. It'd be a shame for this guy not to make it down. Look, tentative initiation on the handbrake. They've got tonight to try and fix the vehicle if they can get the parts in time. And now Dylan Garvey just needs the clutch in this car to hold on for a few more moments. So he's very shallow. You can see he doesn't want to risk anything too heavy on the clutch to maybe put excess strain on it before he heads in to that final outside zone. Navigates his way around, looks for that final outside zone on the throttle, on the foot brake, balances the car, looks for the wall. And you can see at the end of the run, the clutch went, nope.
The clutch is overheating and it's slipping. So basically he's driving this car with about 20% of the feel because the car isn't really biting. So you see he's trying to use momentum throughout the circuit rather than stop-start, hammering the clutch. And you don't want to be going out to a run like this, like Dylan Garvey is, not knowing what way the car is going to react at any corner. And I think he's done a pretty good job here of getting through it with a car that is failing. But you see there, it just starts to slip. The smoke starts to disappear from once it starts to pick up some heat, it's not doing its job. But he does get through the course. I think he does put a score on the board here. But so unfortunate for Dylan after having a tyre issue at round 1. He now has a clutch issue at round 2. And, as I said, the car is his biggest enemy at the moment, not the rest of the competition.
And he proved he can make his way round there. He was doing it so well in practice earlier on today. Everyone was mentioning how well he was going, and he was, a big contender for Rookie of the Year and really throwing himself out there and proving to everyone he deserves a space in this championship. But you can see right there, as he comes towards the wall, the clutch was like, no, I've got nothing left.
You're asking. I've already told you, I'm not working. What, are you not listening? I'm not working. But a 60 on the board, it's an interesting run. And again, now does he go back for a second run, put more strain on it? I don't know. But it's not an ideal start to qualifying for Dylan Garvey. He does put a 60, though, up on the scoreboard, which will be, I think, inside the top 32 at the moment, maybe 21st. And we move on to Pontus Hartmann. Great old run at Mondello for Pontus Hartmann. Came alive in Ireland. He certainly looked very strong.
He did, and he looked strong here as well. Again, another these Swedish drivers love these big fast tracks, the big horsepower. These BMWs seem to be suited to it, and absolutely ripping through that inside zone. Here comes Pontus Hartmann now as he looks for the transition. Big wobble though on the handbrake early through outside zone 3. On the throttle though, now picks it back up again. A snappy transition over that little crest. Looks for this final outside zone. Dials the car in on the handbrake. Back on the throttle he goes. Left foot brake trying to push the rear wheels in that zone. Gets it done, but he is shallow.
It's a good run though, because he's not made, as you said, he one wobble here and there, maybe not as wide as we want him to be on the last zone, but it looked very fast, very fluid. He looks comfortable. I like his style of driving. It's quite aggressive. He's letting the car move. It looks like it's not trying to fight him at every corner. Very good stuff from Pontus Hartmann. And again, never the highest of qualifying drivers, but it goes to show at the last round, qualifying is great. The minute the scores come out for qualifying, everybody has a little chat about them, and then they're immediately forgotten once you start the top 32. And if you ask me what the qualifying scores were from a year ago at some event, you can't really remember them. But you can tell who's on the podium at the end of the battle. So that's what this is all about. That's where all you want to do is get in the show from this point. And again, Pontus Hartmann doing a good claim for that.
He certainly did. And he'll be happy with that first run of the day for him. He's very shallow. You can see the way he just about keeps the rear wheels in that final outside zone and holds on to it. But once he's got a score on the board, he can flirt with a little bit more danger, can push the car.
We're going to see some big runs coming in second half of qualifying. 69, 16th position right now. You still see some of the tyre wear from Mondello Park and some banging doors, which is what we want to see tomorrow. Kevin Piscotty, the smiliest man in the pits, the man who watched the Drift Masters event. We always talk about it. A couple of years ago and just said, I'm going to do that. And everyone else went, Kevin, come on. He's like, no, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to win it. And then 4 years later, here he is, one of the standout drives from Mondello Park again. So he is flying this year. Can he back it up, though? Look at the initiation. Huge risk on entry from Kevin Piscotty. as he puts down a big run so far. Perfect on outer zone, inner zone 2 and outer zone 2. Oh, and he's running out of steam here, but he makes it work. The flames fire out of the car. This is absolutely beautiful from Kevin Piscotty as he fires through the center section. Oh, he's dropping a wheel over there, but not enough to score a 0 as he transitions back to the last corner. Hold it together, Kevin. Stay on the circuit. He does a great job. What a driver.
Yes.
What a run.
What a run indeed. That was sensational from Kevin Piscotty. And you know what? I was just looking at where he's sitting at the championship, 6th at the moment. 6th.
Big claim.
So he's still a contender. For me, look at this initiation though. Absolutely flying. It never handbraked whatsoever. It flicked the car in and let the car do all the work with a grip on the tyres. That first inside zone was sensational as well. Such a nice line, natural arc. He didn't put any steering correction into that. Same here as he come down the hill. All he done was turned on more angle and used a handbrake to position that car where he needed it to be.
You know what? As Morpheus once said in The Matrix, he's beginning to believe.
He is
he's
beginning to
begin to believe that
this was the only question point for me, Dave. Was it?
I don't think so.
I don't even like to say it. No, it wasn't. No, and this is why we have the alternative views.
I'm thankful you're wrong on that occasion. It was a great run. He does drop a wheel here and there. It's going to hurt his score, but overall, Kevin's going to go back to the pits and go, well, I know I can do it. I just got to tidy up here and here, and that's a 90 plus. I don't think this will be.
No.
But I think it's going to be a decent score on the board, and I think that, he's starting to believe it's an 82, and I mean, he has room to improve there.
Yeah.
So 7th position. Kevin Piscotty is a big contender this year, and he's not putting a foot wrong, which is what we want to see. Last year, this young man, Jack Shanahan, put a 99 score on the board in qualifying. He says, round 1, wasn't really feeling it.
No.
Second round, I'm feeling a little bit more. So let's see if Jack Shanahan right now can come off the lines and back up that score from last year. Coming through the gears, expect plenty of angle, plenty of style, and plenty of flair as he heads into the first corner.
But what is he 2 wheels over on initiation, Dave? That was super wide, and he knows it. And he's going to go wide once again. Dips a wheel in the dirt as he pushed too much right now. As Jack Shanahan comes down, he's shallow on the outside zone. Fulfills that inner as he transitions through over that little crest. Now, once again, another wheel drop. This isn't clean from Shanahan. Fires into that final outside zone, puts a wheel right on the edge of the circuit, goes for the wall across the line, but there are question marks.
You know what? I'm agreeing. There's some errors there, but what I do like, the angle he's pulling on this run, I mean, if you talk about maybe from a line perspective, he's losing points here for me. But from a flair perspective and an angle perspective,
100 points.
Nobody's put a run like that in yet. But again, look, he should really go off the track here, somehow holds it on and does make this run work, but he's trying really hard to get a 90 plus run rather than put a technical score on the board, because I think Jack Shanahan knows that's when he's at his best, when he's pushing. But he pushes a little too hard at times here. Drops a couple of wheels off the circuit. But again, the end of it here, look at the angle. Look at he slows down almost instantaneously. Back on throttle quicker than anyone else. Makes it work. So there's great moments in this run.
Oh, for sure.
There was also some errors. So, it's only the first half of qualifying. But what I do think is that this track is demanding a lot. Some people are going out with the attitude of, I've got to score a 90 plus, I believe. Other people are going out, I just want to qualify and, not mess up.
Get in the show.
Yeah, and now we're kind of seeing that it's not working out either way for a lot of those people. They're going with a safe run, which they go to score a 0, and then they go with a crazy run, and they're kind of getting more of a technical score.
I think you need the Orion Nilsson, Kevin Piscotty kind of mentality. Just go out there and see what happens. Maybe. Does that work? Just go out there and fire the car in and say, well, we'll see what happens. Look at this, though, for me. That was super wide, and it was at the beginning of the scoring zone.
That does look like 2 wheels over.
I hate to say it, Dave. I'm good friends with the Shanahans, behind the screen, behind the microphone, off the microphone. That, for me,
looks like
it's
2
a
wheels
big
off.
Question mark. Is it 2 wheels off? And
it'll be, and the judges are looking at this beyond reasonable doubt. It's not like they guess. Can they make an educated guess that they can stand behind that it's 2 wheels off? To me, I'm agreeing with Ian. It looks very borderline there, and it was a very wild initiation. He kicks up some dust. He is too wide. He's trying to go for that big flick, and he's maybe mistimed the weight transfer a little bit. And it's a 0 for Jack Shannon. The drama already here in Sweden, and the drama is going to continue because his brother Connor Shannon's on the line, and he said the minute the warm-up is over, he has to warm up quickly and run. He cannot afford this car to get up to temperature, because he said himself he's barely even scrubbed the tires in here because he has to go, and he's only going to do one run. He said they'll have to take the whole night to take the engine out of the this car if he does put it on, but it's all on this run now because he said he's not even sure this car will survive our run.
Well, he's also asked as well to get to that start line and go straight away. Here he goes, banging through the gears. Conor Shanahan flicks the car left to right, keeps it between the lines this time, absolutely screams through the throttle now, looks for that zone, picks it up perfectly. He's on a very nice line now. Can he hold it together? He certainly can. Look at the precision, but he wanders on the outside zone now as he picks up that inner, transitions over the crest, down he comes through the little alleyway as he makes his way to that final outside zone. Can the car hold together before it shuts down? He's on the foot brake in the outside zone, flicks it to the wall and across the line.
Yeah, he's done the job there. And I think Conor said if I can just put one run on it, look, he's turning off the car almost as he comes off over the finish line. He said it's building so much oil pressure that he's going to blow the engine if the car gets to too high a temperature. He's gone straight from the burnout box. He's had no practice at the end of the last session, and now he's gone straight into a pretty good run. And it goes to show how talented this young man is, that he's able to go there under the most extreme pressure, that there is maybe no second run. I've got to get it done on the first. But is the score going to be good enough? And that's what the Shanahan team will analyse. Is it enough to get him in the show and not risk the engine and start pulling that engine out right now in about 5 or 10 minutes time for tomorrow? One thing that is helpful here in Sweden is that there is no darkness. It's completely daylight 24 hours a day, so it's easy to work at night because there is no night.
Handy for them, a killer for us when we're trying to get some rest at night. Look at him inside the car though, Dave. Pure precision, zero practice pretty much around this circuit. Like you say, one run potentially around the track all day. Goes and throws down like that, just goes to show the talent. And an 81 for Conor Shanahan. Drops himself in the show. That's enough. Car parked up, let's start pulling the motor up.
So the Shanahan car not working scores an 81, and the one that is working scores a 0. Figure it out. And here's another man on the line looking to put a big score on the board. It is the Northern Irishman, Dwayne McKeever. He's a 2-time Drift Masters round winner. Was a wild card at round 1. Now in for the rest of the championship. Sitting in the top 3. Let's see if he goes on. Also had issues with practice with the car. So here we go.
Here we go, through the gears he goes, big handbrake dab as he pulls that car in, up onto the white line, through, now he comes, absolutely flying, is Dwayne McKeever, as he looks to transition the car down into the outside zone, gets it timed perfectly on the throttle, nice and early, drives his way through, and down he comes now, keeps it on the circuit, uses every inch of tarmac available that the judges have allowed him as he gets into that final outside zone on the throttle, super fast, super smoky, super aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure there's much more out there on that circuit. We watched so many runs now. We look at all of the errors, all of the mistakes, and there was none of them on that. He came in with big angle, big speed. He didn't use the left foot brake. He let the momentum in the car carry it out to that outer zone, which was what it's all about, you know, keeping that momentum, being brave. You know, trusting the car, trusting the grip, and he does it. Watch, rear wheels right to the edge of the circuit. And on the transition, this is where everyone's been struggling. Big waivers, no waivers from McKeever. He's off throttle there as well, by the way. Letting the car wash down, gets through that inner zone. There's not much more out there, I think. That is a big run. I wouldn't be surprised to see this go top of qualifying or very close to it, because it's the speed, it's the fluidity, it's the comfort that you're watching a guy not making errors, not adjusting, not making mistakes. And that's, you know, couple that with angle, couple it with speed, and couple it with the perfect line. There's not much more. However, I think there's still more out there. I just think that's probably one of the best we've seen so far.
Oh, 100%. I agree, Dave. And I'm going to say, this man finished second step on the podium here last year. I spoke to him last night and he said, I'm going to win this event this weekend.
Love that. Love the confidence. And I think he could have been a little wider on the
outside zone 8,
I think he could have been a little wider
We're
there.
splitting hairs here, Dave. From people that we've seen win the event to score a 0 in their first qualifying run to an 86 fourth place. There was some left out there. I'd love to find out what Kevin O'Connell, where those few points were.
Yeah, maybe it's angle, maybe it's, you know, too much speed, not enough angle. We don't know, but they're obviously, you know, you knew it was a good run, but how good is what we're questioning there. Now, Laurie Heinen's got a little bit of pressure on his shoulders to back up the performance from round 1. He's got the fan base in the grandstands here, and they're ready to hear this thing scream.
And it screams. God, does it scream. Through the gears comes Laurie Heinen and pro-charged NASCAR V8 underneath the bonnet of this Nissan 200SX. Listen to the sound as he unleashes 900 horsepower through the circuit. It sounds like a 90s Formula 1 car coming down. Oh, incredible line. Could have been a little deeper. Played it safe, though. Heinen, with a lot of risk this weekend, is second in the championship, wants to keep a hold of the fight, and he looks like a man that can do it right now as he gets back on the throttle in the outside zone, puts the back bumper to the wall. Wow.
You know, it's funny, I was speaking with with Peter Viansek recently, and I was saying, it's very competitive. He said, everyone's getting very competitive. He goes, one guy that I really worry about is Laurie Heine. And I said, why? He goes, because he does not make mistakes.
No.
And he doesn't. That was another textbook run from Laurie Heine, looking super comfortable on a track that everyone has struggled to look comfortable on for the past hour or so.
Yeah, look at this. The line there from 1 to 2 to 3 was just beautiful. Really could have been deeper there, but look, we've seen people drop wheels there and bleed points away. Picks up that inner zone, transitions perfectly on time.
It's
there.
so strange. None of it's perfect and none of it's wrong. So it's just a perfect first run.
Yeah.
It's enough to put a score on the board and not throw it away, not take too many risks, to give you that opportunity to take risks on the second run.
To give the flair.
It's tactical, it's clever, and it's a guy who, if you can go out there and
is it though? Because it's the top qualifying run.
And I still think he's more to give. I still
think
there's more
out there. There was more out there.
91 on the board. So he, at I would imagine 80%, has just top qualifying with a 91, and he has a second run where he could even push further.
And we're sitting there saying there was room for this.
There is room.
There was room for that.
Incredible. Now that's going to put a lot of pressure on your current and reigning champion Peter Viansek in the first half of qualifying, because Laurie Heine said, you remember you said I was a problem? Now I am a problem. 91 on the board. What's Viansek got now? He's strong here, he's quick here, but he's got to do it all here right now to stay in the mix.
He certainly has. He's right to the white line. He's on the throttle nice and early. Sings the rev limiter all the way through that first corner as he washes the car right wide to outside zone 3. Now down the hill he comes. Look at that, right to the edge of the circuit. He says that nothing is a problem for him as he transitions snappy. Wheel over, but it doesn't matter for Viansek as he's already way up there in the points. He holds on to it. Can he keep this one clean in the outside zone? A wheel over, but he manages to pull it back. Across the line goes Viansek.
We're seeing some incredible drive. I was watching his transition into the last corner. I was like, he's never going to pull this off. And he did. And it's incredible. The run, to me, the first half of the course was the best anyone's done it.
Yeah.
But he does, just towards that, he's picked up so much pace. He's trying to get out of it.
Couldn't slow it down.
Slow it down, but he did slow it down. I mean, this is incredible stuff from Viansek. The first two corners for me are absolutely sensational. This bit here, he runs this white line with his wheel the whole way through that zone and gets it into that inner zone. It's absolute perfection, and he's carrying so much pace, more than anybody through here. Now watch this as he comes through this zone. He's like, I'm going very fast now. I need to slow it this direction on the decel. Slows it, transitions back, stomps the front brake just here, watch. Boom, and then gets it on.
That's
the
where I
perfect line.
grit my teeth.
Yeah, unbelievable stuff from Peter Viansek. And it goes to show he's the best there is in this championship at the moment, and he proves it. It's not a fluke, it's not luck, it's not, circumstantial. He's as good as it gets.
He certainly is, and look at that. He goes out there to prove it. And
I think it's going to be very close to Heineken's, very close to the top. And it is.
Oh, it's very close.
1 point away, and I think that maybe that little transition at the end could have been a little bit of a deduction, but a 90 for Peter Viansek, who's in second position. They've swapped it. So you got so you got Heineken, who's in second in the championship, who's now in first in qualifying halfway through, and Peter the opposite way around. While we've got a moment, because that is the last of our first qualifying runs, I'm going to just jump quickly, if I could, to Kevin O'Connell. Kevin, if you're somewhere in the sky, and I can't see where Kevin is right now, talk to us about where people are making mistakes and where people are succeeding on this track after we've seen the first runs.
Are dropping wheels off this circuit, and we are deducting pretty heavily for that. But then you look at the line point of view, so we are actually seeing, and it's a little bit difficult to see from the live stream angles, drivers being a little bit tight from zone 1 to 2, and that's then affecting their line coming to outer zone 3. They're getting to it a little bit early there, and then it's all kind of connected. If they're getting a little bit early to outer zone 3, they're getting to outer zone 4 very early, and then that's pushing them a little bit wide coming to 5. So as you can see by the way I'm talking here, all of these zones are very much connected, and if you make a mistake on one of them, you're making a mistake on several of them, and you're constantly getting those points bleeded away. If you end up going a little bit early to inner zone 5 or a little bit wide, then you're probably going to drop wheels at outer zone 6 or outer zone 7, like we've seen several drivers do. And of course we have seen many drivers then either win or lose it all and that final outer zone 8 where they're putting 2 wheels off sometimes or getting heavily deducted by a 1 wheel drop. Just a point to note as well, a lot of sections around this track we have put in extra pieces of tarmac for safety, and but a lot of drivers are actually using that piece of the track, and we're considering that a wheel drop there. So while it looked like they might be just right on the edge of it, they are actually bleeding away points very heavily then for putting their wheels on those pieces of tarmac. And one final point as well, deceleration zones. We only have 2 of them on this track, and some drivers are not using them correctly, either not decelerating as they're supposed to on angle, or decelerating far too early, and they are losing points there too. So I know that is quite complicated. There is a lot to digest there, but these are the kind of little details that we're taking account of.
Thanks, Kev. I'm glad someone's taking account of them, because I'm just enjoying the show right now. As you can see, the decel zone, a lot of that stuff is very technical, but we get it now. We're able to watch it for the second half, and it's going to be nice to be educated from what they're seeing as we go. So here's where we stand. Laurie Heine in first position halfway through qualifying with a 91. Peter Wiancek with a 90. Ora Nielsen in third with an 89. Pszczonski, well, he was just there for a minute at the top of qualifying, but he's still in fourth position. Cherba, big jump up to fifth position so far. McKeever with a 6th. And look at this, a diesel powered in the top 8, which is unbelievable. And this is how we're sitting right now. Remember, guys, this is not the final qualifying standings. This is halfway point. So all of this kind of doesn't matter so much. But what it does matter for a lot of these guys is that if you got above maybe an 85, you're kind of looking safe for top 32. Anyone below, and you're seeing Rintanen and Nakamura and all these guys, and you can see right on the drop zone at the moment is 54. So that's going to rise, I think, as we go through the second half of qualifying. And there you have it, Jack Shanahan outside with a 0. And we've also got Kalle Rovanperä out with a 0, and a lot of big names like Juha Poitalaxo out with a 0. Ali Maksheed out with a 0 so far. So those guys are only going to get one run to try and jump, leapfrog everybody back into it, which is incredible. Becky, it's been a very interesting start to qualifying. We're halfway through. It's going to be an interesting second half coming up.
Interesting is definitely the word there, Dave. As you can see, the scenes behind me, this is Conor Shanahan coming back into the pit here. He's pushing his car, because I've just got word from his parents that just as the car went over the line, it actually blew the engine. So they managed to get it to hold on just as it counted. He managed to put an 81 on the board, which means he's in the show. But now the real work starts, as this car needs to get ready for top 32 tomorrow. I'm going to see if I can have a chat with Conor, but he's looking a little bit exasperated here. Conor, I can already tell by looking at your face, but the main thing is you got a score on the board. It was a really good run, nice and technical. What we'd like to say, a safe run. Was it safe for you, though? I don't think so.
Yeah, I was a little bit on edge, but I don't know if it's relief or a little bit annoyed that I could have been a little bit better. I made a small correction on the first transition, which killed my momentum, but I'm always going to be hard on myself. I think I need to be happy. I can't thank my incredible team. They thrown everything at it today, like non-stop. Every time I came back, we weren't even getting laps, and we were, the problem was happening, not even on the track, and they never gave up. My dad and the team worked hard towards the end there to get that lap in, and I don't think we're going to get a second one in. So once I'm in the show, I'm happy, and let's hope it goes better. Tomorrow's my birthday, so I hope it brings some luck. So yeah, let's see where it ends up, but I'm happy that hopefully we get in the show. Thank you to everybody. Dwayne was lending mechanics to me all day. Everybody was just jumping in, trying to get the job done. It's been a stressful day, stressful for my team. They have a long night ahead of them, and I know there's no better boys to find a solution. So, yeah, don't count me out. I might be down to order today, but I'll be pushing hard tomorrow to go for sure.
Brilliant, Conor. Good luck. And as we say, always a fight, never a forfeit. Everybody giving mechanics to make sure this guy gets out on track tomorrow. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Becky. You love to see it. Everybody jumping in to help Conor Shanahan get back on circuit, and it's going to be a long night that never is a night here in Sweden. It never ends. It's going to be a day that never ends for the Shanahan team. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of commotion down there. You'll keep an eye on the social media platforms to see how that one unfolds. Is 81, is it enough? Well, we're going to find out as we go back to the second half of qualifying, starting in reverse order with our wild cards and moving all the way to our final driver, Peter Wiancek, who is our current points leader. It's been an interesting start to this event. Will it stay as unpredictable as it's been for the rest of it? I think we may find out. For a lot of big reasons, we got some big names sitting on zeros, and that's going to be the real story. But a lot of these wildcards sitting outside that top 32 as well. And Jim Olofsson now with a 59 in his first run must improve and get himself higher up the order, because we're not too sure if that score is going to be enough by the end.
No, I'm not sure if it will be enough by the end, Dave, as Jim Olofsson comes off the line for his second qualifying run of the day. The wildcard driver, BMW E30 M50 turbo underneath the bonnet, 650 horsepower. As Jim Olofsson, you can see that shallows up the angle, tries to make this one a little bit more technical, fails to get to the outside zone. Now wavers and wanders as he gets fully in the outside zone, just about picks a wheel up on the inner, transitions a little late but makes it work, and you can see that line out of the outside zone not working, not really where the judges wanted him to be. Nevertheless, into that final outside zone, just about keeps the wheels in it, across the line. Olofsson, will he improve? At the moment, sits on a 59, sits in 28th position, so work to be done. Let's take a look back at the replay. Lovely initiation for Jim Olofsson. as he almost drops a wheel fully, just keeps it on the white line, but too far on that inner zone, as Kevin O'Connell was mentioning earlier on after all of those first qualifying runs, that he didn't want to be all the way in it, wanted to keep a wheel halfway through just to get that perfect line into outside zone 3. And Jim Olofsson there connecting the dots, looking to put a bit of a better score on the board. And that final outside zone, as I said, kept the wheels in it, left foot brake just to help push the back end of that car towards the wall, but he is very, very close there with pulling more points away from that run.
Yeah, and learning. A lot of these drivers are learning that the over-aggression is not the key here. No. You're going to drop wheels, and the judges ain't missing it. So you know you have to stay on the circuit, and that's easier said than done when you're transitioning at high pace, high rate, and you need these big 2D cell zones to work for you. And I think it's in many ways, as we talk about the speed of the track, what I've learned from Kevin O'Connell, and then not an improvement for Jim Olofsson, he stays in 28th position. What I've learned from Kevin O'Connell's little speech there at the end was that it's the deceleration on this track, not the acceleration, that's probably costing a lot of the score.
Yeah, 100%. And we move it back to the start line. Again, another driver sitting on a 58. So at the moment, 30th position for Alfred Greinberg. And Greinberg, LS V8 turbocharged engine underneath the bonnet of this Nissan 200SX. Full throttle now as he opens it up, looks for that zone, and a much nicer line. You can see that line very collected, you know, and cool, calm, comes down, barely any steering input, but then got a catch of understeer for that inner zone, and that really messed up his line as he now dials on the angle, tries to find the nice line into outside zone 8, gets that job done nicely as he fulfills all of that zone on throttle across the line, and a much nicer run than his first qualifying run.
Yeah, but very unfortunate run, because that catch of he'd actually the perfect line.
Yeah.
Absolutely sensational from the start, but he caught that understeer, and that's not something I think he let off the throttle, and the rear gripped and the front went.
Pushed, yeah.
So he didn't expect it to happen. He tried to improve on what he did. So watch this, as he comes through this section, he's on handbrake, off throttle here, not on it, and then as he goes on it, the front wheels give way, so he can't get to that inner zone. Other than that, a very solid run, but it messes him up on those two zones, which will hurt his overall score. So we can see the potential talent in this driver, but you know what I mean, it's so harsh at one moment, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's the difference between an 85 and, you know, a 65 or mid-50s. I don't know, but it's that moment that each driver is struggling with here.
It certainly is, and this young man hailed as you know, a talent to look forward to in the future. 66 does improve ever so slightly, so he does secure himself, but we have got a lot of zeros, a lot of top contenders.
Look at that understeer.
Look at this
car is, I mean, that's just a four-wheel slide there, which you don't want to see. Move on to our next driver. It's Dennis Hagblom from Finland. He's all smiles. He's always good,
happy.
You know, he's more fun sometimes at the after party than on the track, but I'll tell you one thing about Dennis, he does not back down. He's going to enjoy the challenge here. He's going to go out here and try and put a sensational run on the board.
Well, he needs to, Dave. He sits with a 49 at the moment. He's way out of that top 32 competition, and he drops a wheel over at the edge of the track. I'm not sure if that was 2. I don't think it was as wild as the Shanahan wheel drop, but again, way deep on that first inner zone, and that's going to hurt his line, and it did for the outside zone. Starting to make it work now, dials on the angle, on the throttle nice and early, looks for the snappy transition, makes that one work now, keeps it within the white lines there on that transition. Back for the final outside zone. Can he hold on to it? He certainly can. Lights up the throttle, but he falls out of the outside zone a little early, and across the line goes Dennis Hagblom, and I'm not sure if it's going to be that much of an improvement to get him in top 32.
No, and it's all the style, it's all the flair, it's all the power, but the judges just, you know, if they see those wheels on the inside, they see the hops, they see the corrections, he's just losing points again here. A little wobble, misses the outer zone, and it's just such a cool car, and it's such a, you willing him across, you know, the line to get him there, but it's not technically perfect.
No, it's not technically perfect, and you'd want him to be absolutely pinpoint perfect. To see him in the show tomorrow, such an absurd car that you don't get to see at drift events very often. The Honda S2000 with the Toyota 2JZ underneath the bonnet, but nevertheless, Hagblom doing everything he can to get himself in that show. Let's see what the judges have to say about that one as the score begins to drop in.
Well, the score is going to be a 59, so it is an improvement. He makes his way into the show. Remember, 32 drivers of the 50-odd making it into battles, but he's going to have a nervous wait for that one.
Yeah, he certainly has. But a man that is in, a wild card that is in the show with a pretty decent score at the moment is Victor Vedmark. And he sits in this incredible Nissan 200SX S14. Beautiful car. BMW M3 motor, dry sumped, so it means you can rev it higher with a turbo. Makes 900 horsepower. And yeah, revs to 9,000 RPM. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to. It looks like a street car, which to me ticks all of the boxes. Nice initiation. Lets the car settle, stands on the accelerator, lights up the tyres. He's on a nicer line there through that first inner zone. And now this is starting to look good from Vetmark as he comes down that outside zone, gets on the accelerator early. Looks at the transition back. Nice line now as he looks and hunts for that final outside zone. This is a lot cleaner, a little bit more calm and collected than his first qualifying run. Right to the edge of the circuit, gets the spoiler over the wall. Very nice job.
Yeah, good run. I mean, there was no big risks there. There was nothing too crazy, but I think that's probably a cleverer way of approaching the circuit, is that, you know, being technically good is going to see you get a pretty decent score. And I think from his perspective, the first run was scrappy.
Yeah.
This one definitely tidied up a lot of those areas. You can see as he goes through the course, he's not like absolutely to the edge of everything, especially here on the transition. He does it quite a safe way, you know, decels a little early just to make sure he gets the outside zone, but he does collect those zones, and that's what the judges are looking for. Super calm behind the wheel as well. Look at that, just you know, no big panic. Just get around. I'm only going like, you know, 100 miles an hour at this point. It's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. So as he goes through this last section, I like this transition. It's not washy. It's very calculated. He's got his decel done very tidy. The judges are going to like this because there's not a whole lot, you know, not a whole lot to criticize, but then is there any big risks in there? And I think maybe from the style and angle point of view, it's going to hurt him a little bit, which it does. You can see style, 14 out of 20. It's 71 on the board, 20th position. So yeah, not a lot of style, not a lot of angle, but a technically good course. And again, this is the hard part for the judges. You know, the line, this guy is looking just for line, but style and angle going, I didn't see a whole lot of either.
No.
Even though the line guy could be super happy, the rest may not. Ali McSheed sitting on a 0, the Kuwaiti driver taking a borrowed car this weekend to try and throw his hat in the ring here at the European Championship, the Drift Masters. He's got to get it all done on one run here.
He certainly has got to get it all done in one run. And in a borrowed car, as you say, trying it out, trying to feel out the Drift Masters European Championship for this season to make a program to come back in 2024. And now Ali McSheed looks a little bit more comfortable now. Got those first run jitters out of the way, but it all went wrong in that final outside zone. Can he hold it together this time? Nothing more than Ali McSheed would love to be in the show tomorrow. Look at this as he absolutely pins it to the wall across the line. That is the Ali McSheed we know.
Yeah, we've watched him in, you know, from our travels in the Middle East, and we knew he was a big talent, and eventually one day he was going to make his way to this championship. And I think, you know, in a borrowed car, a lot to learn. Very new track, very new car, all in the one weekend. But that second run showing a lot more of the potential he has, what he can add to this series and what he can give. Pretty good all the way around. He definitely a little, maybe in my opinion, over tentative to the last zone, which I'd forgive him for after the spin on the first one, but he definitely didn't want to make the same mistake twice when he got here. You can see as he transitions back, he takes a lot of time to make sure that car is settled, and once it is settled, he then turns the screw and puts it to the wall.
Yeah, he does. And you know what? An incredible talent. Like you say, we've watched him for many years now grow as a driver and become who he is. And I think this year for me, winning that Oman International Championship, getting that title, to him cemented to say, you are good. 79 on the board. Very nice score. And I think he's going to be very safe for top 32 competition tomorrow.
Well, we say that now.
Yeah.
I'm always saying the 80 mark for me, but 79 looks pretty strong right now with the feel
of what was going on today.
Yeah, a lot of zeros on the board, and we now move on to our next driver, which is Victor Yunsu. He's a 78 in the board, so not a bad first run. He's in 13th position at the moment. Again, these are all provisional scores. They will change as the things move along, but he's got room to take a risk here because he's got the safe 78 score in. Can he go a little bit wilder here? Let's see a big initiation, which we do. Always flirting with the edge of the track there. I think he kept one wheel inside. And this is good. Look at this, Victor Yunsu doing a good job keeping foot to the floor. Very fast through that section. Doesn't back down. Just about scrapes the outer zone. Not perfect, but it's still a fast, fluid line through this track for the Swedish driver as he now transitions back. Beautiful looking car. Absolutely sounds amazing. Oh, a little wide air. I think it's that 2 wheels off, very close to it as he comes across the line. He might have just saved one on inside the white line. Not sure.
No, not sure at all. And I wouldn't want to call that one. That was so fluid for me, as you said. From the initiation all the way down, shallow on the outside zone, but this was super fluid, like just the whole way connected. It was like as soon as he initiated, he knew everything clicked, and it was going to be one of those runs.
This is the moment now. Watch the rear end of the car.
Yeah, this could be the nail in the coffin. The drone is going to show it, and I'm going to say that is just about on the tarmac.
I think he's kept it
in the white line.
I think he's kept it within. Yeah, it's great to have those views, those alternate views, because
I mean,
right here
look.
you can see that it looks to us like he's dropped over, but he's actually in the zone.
In
I
the
think
zone,
there.
yeah.
So I think he's got away with that one, and it was close, but close is fine.
Close is
Over the
okay.
line, not so close, not so good. So yeah, I like this. Look at this wall run. That's a great shot, right?
Beautiful.
You've got this beautiful
Absolutely
BMW
beautiful.
trying to flirt with not being beautiful by
And
smashing
underneath
into the wall.
all of that is all carbon Kevlar. All that paint, underneath all that silver is full carbon Kevlar.
Wow. And he didn't just paint over it, so you're like, he didn't even know.
He didn't
even know that it was all.
He was like, I don't need to show it off that it's carbon Kevlar. I'm going to paint it silver.
Yeah. So we go back, we wait for a score for Victor Yonso. Just wondering where his score will drop in. We're just waiting on it.
Yeah, waiting on it. See the judges deliberating it. I wonder if they disagreed with us, which sometimes happens.
Who are they to disagree with us? And I tell you what, they're absolutely right, because we are watching it from a completely different perspective.
We're a fan
There
perspective.
is absolutely no points for how cool the car looks on their scoreboard at 69. Yeah, that last corner dropping the wheel off, hurting his score, 13th position. He's still safe enough at the moment. Yeah, we're looking for the flair. We're looking for the fun. This guy's gone so fast, he's torn half his car in pieces here. Our next driver, Tony Averstedt from Sweden, run 162, which is, to me, really borderline. He's in 28th position at the moment. He's got to improve here. To be safe, he's got to improve. But he has a Mark IV Supra, so he gets loads of points from us for style. And he's got an engine where it should be for once, which a lot of these guys don't. But he needs a big score here as he goes off the line through the gears. Very minimalistic interior on this car, as you can see. The fires in big speed. From Tony Averstedt as he comes through. He's got all the power, but can he make it work? He does, out to the edge of the circuit. Now, not too much angle here. He's flirt with the edge of the track, one wheel over, but he gets it done. And it's really threading the needle for these drivers there. It's very tough, especially at those speeds, to know what is happening as he comes back towards that last outer zone. Slow that big, heavy car down and then get it to the outer zone. But he's missing that outer zone, but it is hard to see that outer zone right now as the sun comes through the cockpit. And it's also, the drivers have kind of eradicated that temporary white line on the outside, so I think, I'm not too sure he knows where that outside zone is.
No, I don't think he does, Dave. I was just going to say, the sun now in a position where it's really like shining. You can see it through the car. You can see the light beaming through the windscreen, and that's not going to be easy for these guys. And nevertheless, look at this inside the car. Looks like he's just going for a spin to the shops, but yet he's doing 100 miles an hour down a hill towards a blind corner.
Yeah, this is the bit. Watch when he transitions. Look at the sun. Starts to set. It's coming through the windscreen now. And he's a lot of sun. As he transitions back, that outer zone is starting to disappear a little bit. So he can see that outer white line. You can see it. He's way off it. He's on the inside. But I'm not sure if he knows that or he's mistimed it. But I have a feeling the sun and everything else playing in is going to be really tough. Watch inside the car. Look at the visor. Right, all the sun beams into the visor. And all of a sudden, you're kind of guessing where the outside zone is. It's a safe run, but it's going to lose him score there.
It certainly is going to lose him score. Well, at the moment, he sits inside competition. Does he improve? 64. He does, ever so slightly. He does jump up the order just a bit, but still never, ever safe are these guys. We go back to the start line, where we'll see Norbert Zamic. So Kevin Brumberg, the final wild card in that Volvo wagon, apparently having mechanical issues. They was unsure whether he'd make it to the line. He didn't, so we move it along. Norbert Zamic now, the Hungarian driver, off the line, through the gears, down. 58 on the board. He needs more than that, but he's a wild man and he's done some wild stuff in the past, like park this car on top of a wall. So let's see what he can do now as he fires through, looks down the circuit, right to the edge, right to the white line, very fluid, just about keeps two wheels in that zone. This is nice from Norbert Zamic at the moment, snappy transition right to the edge of the circuit. Once again, he's using all of the track available. Can he get this one done? He does, he fulfills that final outside zone, just about hangs on to it.
Yeah, I think that final zone is a problem. I think they are going to struggle to see where that actual white line is, and when the judges are being so harsh of dropping wheels over it, they're sort of being tentative.
Now they can't get to it.
Again, on the initiation for Zamic, I think it's a solid one, but it's not very aggressive. He tries to weight transfer, it doesn't really work. The rest, though, it comes together nicely. And what I liked about it was that it's weird because you can't see someone do the perfect run here so far, because watch this, as he comes down here, this is pretty much over the line, spot on. Now watch, he does a really good job here of coming through this zone. He just gets the nose in, but he almost goes too early on the transition right here, so he actually misses that zone. Even though it kind of looks like from the first shot that it was the right line, it turned out to be the wrong line. And then right as they come to this last zone, I think this is going to be really hard. Look, the sun's shining on the track, very hard to figure out where that outer zone is, and he's actually shallow for that whole outer zone as well. So I think that's going to hurt his score it's tough on these guys. I feel for them because you've just managed to, it's not too bad. Oh, he gets in there, and then he kind of comes out of it a little bit.
Wavers. He's got one wheel kind of on the white line.
And I suppose you should know the wall, obviously, is the edge of the track. So 73 on the board, an improvement up to 19th position. Not bad. I'm still saying high 70s, low 80s is where you'd want to be super safe. But we're not seeing major scores going in here from the wild cards, which we often do. So everyone's struggling. I think it's going to be a little game of chess now to see where that pinpoint accurate run is. Do you risk it? Do you just try and get up into the 80s and be safe? Well, we're going to find out what Marco Zacro is going to do, because he currently sits at 17 with a 74. So he can go a little bit riskier here.
He certainly can. He can really push the limit. He can push himself. He can push the car right to the edge of the circuit. Is he going to go for it? Well, he's going to try, that's for sure. A big angle on initiation, on the throttle nice and early. You can see the smoke plumes building up, and then you see the line he took through that inside zone, wheel right through the middle of it, and this is nice. Now starts to connect the dots as he comes over that little brow, looks for the transition, fulfills that one. A nice angle as he comes through that outside zone. He starts to slow the car down on angle, gets on the throttle, lifts back onto it again, and he does fulfill that zone. He fulfills it all the way. That was lovely from the Czech Republic driver Marko Zacharil.
Excellent. In fact, it was great because it was great because I'll tell you what, he did what I expected him to do. He pushed a little bit more. He gave everything a little bit more to try and improve his score, because in the first room I would say was tactical, was safe, was strategic. This one was a little bit more risk involved. Again, sun coming low at this point. It comes low and then it goes back up again, and it never goes down. But what is interesting for me, it's almost like this is playing into a lot of the driver's hands, because the grip levels, I think, are perfect right now. You can see the cars actually, the track has cooled a little bit, I think, from the direct sun. So the cars are a little looser. You can see Zacharil doesn't have to fight the car as much on this run. And as he gets to the edge, he's just looking at that wall, laser focus, saying, run the rear end off that, and I'm home and dry. And I think that's an excellent run for Marko Zacharil. Does a good job. Look at that, right to the edge. I don't think there's, for me, should improve. I think.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Should improve. I don't know if it's going to trouble the very top scores here, but it definitely should improve him, and probably improve him to a point where he can relax. Yes, there you go. An 85 on the board puts him into 7th position. I was about to say he can relax knowing he's got a good position for tomorrow. He's safe into the battles, and that's sometimes enough for a qualifying day. It's just to not have to worry about it anymore.
Oh, certainly so. So we move it back to the start line to a man who's sitting on a 0. A very, very scrappy first run. Christian Selmer, the Estonian driver, struggled. Looked like he'd gripped the car up massively for a fast run. The grip on the track was way higher. We know that from how some of the other cars were reacting. Has he made any changes? What has he done to try and get a clean run around this track? He is one of the first drivers with a 0. And again, fails on that initiation. Car didn't react. Now starts to pick it back up, but he's super wide. He's missed that first inner zone, transitions back. He's going to go wide once again, keeps the wheels on the circuit, but he's early to the outside zone, and now starts to really fall apart as he's going to be in and out of these zones way too early. And again, that very evidential as he gets into this final outside zone. He's going to go wheels wide, Christian Selmer.
You know what? It was exciting to watch, though, because at some point there I was like, I don't know where he's going, but it's so fast. And he makes it work. He doesn't actually initiate. Watch. He kind of half initiates. And then he's going so fast at this point, I think, he's definitely going off the track. But then somehow he manages to not go off the track, even though he's super wide. And then when he transitions, now he's definitely going off the track. And he manages to control it here as well. Watch. Dials out the angle, makes it work, but he's kind of on the wrong line. He's only barely touching that outer zone. And then here, again, super fast as he's transitioning, makes it work. It's a wild run to watch. It's very entertaining. But it's not what the judges wanted. No. It's almost too late on all the zones. And I think the last zone is probably his strongest. He does make it work, but he does drop a wheel over. A little too wild. It's like I mentioned, you want to see a driver out there looking like it's not that difficult. No. And that looked to me like he was holding on a little bit there. So 40 on the board for Christian Selmer, missing a lot of zones. But very exciting. Cool car, cool guy. Looking forward to seeing more of him in the championship.
Yeah, certainly so. We move it back to the start line to a man that needed a differential earlier, and the drift community got behind him and helped him out with some spare parts. But now he sits outside of top 32. A score of a 59 is what's required, and Ite Sade is on a 54, so he does need to improve. He needs to get rid of those nerves, calm it down a little bit, and throw down as he fires through that initiation. Shallow line there, and you can see the way he corrected that car and dialed on that angle, and that's going to not help him in the outside zone, but he makes it work nevertheless. As Ite said it, now transitions, big wobble once again. You can see him turning that car on angle, and I'm not sure what they've done between the two qualifying sessions. Yeah.
Oh no! Oh, that's
a gearbox.
That's a gearbox and differential. Oh, it sounds bad.
Yeah.
There's a lot of metal on it. You know, I was just about to say this is
I was like, I don't know what they've done, but it seems like the car doesn't want to drive. It had like no forward drive.
And then now you're starting.
And there was no gears to do a forward drive.
You need those gears in the gearbox.
Yeah,
that's why it's called the gearbox.
It's just a box of bits.
Just a box of stuff, box of bits of metal. And you can see it started to struggle here.
Yeah.
As he transitioned back, it was like the car just started dying on power, nothing working, and he lost total drive. He'll be devastated with that. That was a really good run up to that point.
It was a very good run up to that point.
And you're 20 feet.
Yeah.
20 feet from the end. You're not even it's not the first corner.
It could have happened over the line. It would have been fine.
The gearbox just knows this will really annoy him now. It's the last corner. And gearbox broke. We heard it.
You think we can tow it in?
Yeah, we're going to have to tow it in, or we might get Johnny Scoops. We just don't know.
I mean, you'd love to see Johnny Scoops back
I would, for a second appearance. He gets 2 qualifying runs. 2
qualifying.
But
he's definitely in the show tomorrow.
We laugh, but be honest, I'm a little devastated for Ate here because the youngster just hasn't had any luck this year. And again, that's sometimes the way drifting goes. It's it's the horse and the jockey that wins the Grand National.
I thought that Eric Kokoza was the youngest on the grid, and it's not. It is, in fact, the Israeli driver, Ate Sadeh, 16 years old, this young man. Look, he has the talent. Without a shadow of a doubt. He just needs the car now behind him.
And the problem with the car, which is evident here, is that you might have a very good car at the national level, but when you come to European level, you've got to dial so much power, so much grip. Now the other components on the car start to fail. And that's what's happened here. The gearbox has gone, look, I was okay with what you were doing before, but this is crazy. So I tell you, there he is. He's back. Johnny Scoops is back, and this is just. It's almost an up from the down that you get to see this.
Yeah, it's kind of a bonus.
Yeah, and he's sitting there. He's warmed up and ready. I saw him stretching earlier on. He was like doing some jumping jacks. He was like, "I'm going to be out there as quick as you like to scoop a car off." And we're going to have to wait for this recovery on the circuit, a gearbox failure. And Ate getting a little bit of a round of applause from the ground. He smiles, but it's a smile behind.
It's a painful smile.
It's a sad smile because he knows he could have done better here. But Johnny Scoops couldn't have done any better. He's been on call all day.
Been on form.
On form. Look at that. Just like a casual drive. This thing is huge. And he's driving it like it's a Nissan Micra.
I think what I might do, Dave, one year is hook up you for a passenger ride in Johnny
I would like
Scoops.
a passenger ride with this. This would be...
We're not fussed about like top qualifier passenger ride. Johnny Scoops passenger ride.
Yeah, if I could watch him work close up,
just for the day.
I feel if we got onto Red Bull TV and asked them nice enough to put an onboard camera on the recovery truck just to see. I mean, I feel he's a wizard with the controls.
With the controls, yeah.
And Ate is like, what in the name of God is this thing coming to collect my car?
To be fair, I think I've already seen this car on.
Oh, really?
I think he knows what's happening.
He knows the drill now.
He knows the drill.
So it's just such an unusual thing to be watching. And Ate, you can see this is building up nicely though to the next driver. Giving him a little bit more to worry about. No, a bit more to worry about is Kalle Rovanperä, the reigning WRC champion. He was top qualifier and round winner at Formula Drift Japan just 2 weeks ago. So he's competed in, if I'm not mistaken, 2 international level competitions, and the worst he's done is 8th, and the best he's done is 1st.
Yeah.
And that's just in 2 rounds. So what is he going to bring this time around? Well, he's got a 0 on the board from his first qualifying run. So the pressure, and I don't care who you are, the pressure is building on Rovanperä because he arrives here and everyone goes, well, here he is. Big name in WRC. He's been unbelievable talent. He's a generational talent, in my opinion. But it shows that anyone can make mistakes. Anyone can be put under pressure. And now Rovanperä's got to answer, how good is he? That's what he's got to be answered, because a lot of drivers will fall apart with this kind of pressure. I've got a 0 on my first run. Everybody expects me to do well. And you've now got Rovanperä and you've got Jack Shanahan on 0s, which I definitely think you would have got great odds on at the start of qualifying to be in that situation, as Johnny Scoops, again, flawlessly removes the car from the track. No questions about his mindset or mentality there. There's no...
His performance
is unquestionable.
Unquestionable.
Yeah. But Rovanperä, who was warming the car up, and this can play into a driver's mindset too. A little bit too much time to have a think about it.
I was just going to say, this, for a lot of drivers, including probably myself, Dave, sitting down the grid, not being able to go straight away.
Well, I'll tell you what, while we've got a minute, talking about mindset, we're going to go down and see what the mindset in the pits is like. We've got Becky Evans down there.
right, guys, I have actually just caught up with Oren Nilsson, as he's always a lovely smiley face as you walk him around the paddock. It's always a joy to come and chat to him. And I was just saying, you know, you've put a great score on the board. You've got an 89 right now. But that's not enough for you. You just said to me, I just want a couple more points to get me into those 90s. How are you going to do it?
I don't know. I just have to push a little bit harder, I guess. I mean, last year we had a really bad accident here and we didn't manage to qualify. So I can't complain now. I mean, we have the 89 on the board and I'm super happy. The car feels good and the team is excellent. So, yeah, I just know that now I had a chance to take a little bit more risk, and that's what I'm going to do.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Oren, and good luck in your second qualifier. Back to you guys to keep chatting about Mr. Scoops.
Thanks, Becky. Yeah, Mr. Scoops is a well-respected member of the staff up here. Well, there we go. Oren Nilsson set to do a more depth-defying run than he did in his first. We know what happened last year. We will catch up with Oren soon. Hopefully he keeps all four wheels on the track this time. We see the last recovery vehicle, the track team, making their way off as Johnny Scoops, Dave's favourite vehicle here at Drift Masters, takes Ide Sade away. We pray that he can get some fortune at the next round in Finland. Hopefully the team managed to work it out. And I look out the window, and as you look on your screen, you can see Kalle Rovanperä in this incredible Toyota A90 Supra warm up the tyres. He settles himself in the car. You can see the nerves. Thumbs up to the start line marshal down there, Marcin. Pulls the gloves on, adjusts himself, claps the hands. He knows he has to get it done on this run. He fires on the anti-lag. He pulls the handbrake back and he launches this incredible carbon fibre Supra off the line through the gears. Big opposite flick for Rovanperä now as he absolutely hammers down. Rovanperä knows this is the one. He has to get the job done right here, right now, right to the edge of the circuit he goes. Incredible transition. The line is flawless as he stands on the accelerator through those two outside zones. The line is dialed. Hardly any braking from Rovanperä. Looks for that final outside zone. Can he get it done? He certainly can. As he looks for the wall across the line, Rovanperä shows to everyone why he is one of the greatest around.
He's a problem. That's what he is. He's a problem for the drift community and the drift competitors right now, because you're taking someone who's learned so many skills from so many different disciplines and is now applying them to this discipline, and it looks like he's been driving. I mean, he's been going sideways his whole life, but he hasn't been doing it judged, and it doesn't seem to make any difference. This is the type of moment where another driver will fall apart, especially a newcomer, especially someone who's under pressure with a 0 on the board. It looked to me like he had no pressure there. Very calm, but he's got the talent. He's got everything that you would want. He's got the youth on his side. He's learning as he goes, and he said himself that he was disappointed with a top 8 finish the last time he came to Drift Masters. That's his first ever event. You got to talk about competition. You got to talk about mindset. He's disappointed with a top 8 finish at his first ever European drift event. Well, now I think he's got himself into the show with this one.
I mean, I think he's got more than get himself in the show, Dave. I'm putting a lot of my spending money on the line to say that is going to be...
What, a euro? Just €1?
€1. I'm going to say it's going to be way up there.
Yeah, 89 on the board. Big score from Rovanperä as he sits in third position. We will see him in battle action tomorrow, and he can take a little breather because as cool a customer as he is, that was high-stress environment for him, but he is no stranger to that, and he puts a score on the board. As we move to the man that has got some work to do here is Tobias Pushan, 37th position at the moment, 49 on the board. He's outside that top 32. He needs to improve, and this is again mindset. I mean, it's all about doing the best you can without letting the pressure of the situation get to you. Let's hope Tobias can do that.
Yeah, let's hope he can. He was wheels off the circuit earlier on today in the outside zone. Can he hold it together this time? Looks like a tidy alignment. He does fail to get to that inner zone painted on the circuit. Comes down the hill now. No wheels over this time. It looks like he's going to play it safe, but I don't know if there's any room at the moment in top 32 for safe runs. As Pushan now makes his way into that final outside zone, the sun beaming down on the circuit, does drop a wheel. Is it 2 over the circuit and across the line?
Yeah, he's flirting with disaster there. It looked to me like that second wheel was getting very close to that outer line. It is hard to see that outer line now. So many drivers have passed that area and erased so much of those painted white lines. And as you said, big miss on that first inner zone. He really was struggling at that point to get the car back online. Little wobble to readjust as well, to readjust and get back on. It doesn't make a disaster of any of the other zones, but it's just at the end of the run. That's what we're going to watch for. Does he drop the 2 wheels over the edge of that white line, which is tough to make out at this point? But as he transitions back, let's have a look at the rear end of the car. So as he comes into that outer zone, he's doing okay here. Watch the edge of the white line. Watch that rear wheel. think he's probably just done okay. I think he stayed on the track there. I think actually might have been very good. I think we might have actually been a little harsh there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shows we can't even see the outside line with the sun beaming down. And look at that, because the sun is beaming down on that rubber, it's just a reflective surface. So how can you tell where the zone is versus where the rubber is? You're kind of just using muscle memory and kind of lining it up to the wall and assuming that's where it is. So very good job at the end there from Tobias. Look on the inside, dropping a wheel, dirt flying. That's not going to help him.
No, it certainly isn't going to help him. And the score drops in. It is a 64. He moves up to 28th place at the moment, but that's still dangerously close to the drop zone. And that puts Dylan Garvey, the Irishman, on the drop zone in 32nd place. Wow.
Yeah, and Alex Lovely in a little bit of worrying state there as well. But next up, one of the fan favourites here. We'd love to see this thing on track. It's the only diesel-powered car on the grid. It is Timo Peltola from Finland from Black Smoke Racing. 800 horsepower out of a... this has 1,200 newton meters of torque, this car, which is enough to tear most cars in half. But here we go. Timo throws into that first corner. He's a great first qualifying run on the board, but an 84, so he's really pushing a little bit wide of that inner zone there as Timo now fires through the course. This is a good line. A bit too much angle there. Made it work, but didn't get enough of the outer zone for me to make a big statement as he fires through. Just glancing the outer zones right now, not completely fulfilling them. As he does a great job here, though, at the end. And, of course, he's plenty of car to throw at that wall at the rear end. It's just amazing to see a car with 1,200 newton meters and 800 horsepower in a 3.2-litre turbo diesel with some two big turbos. Like,
huge.
Yeah, like, you know, probably... ridiculous. It's probably
they're big enough. They're big enough. And there's two of them, so, you know.
One isn't enough. You go for the two.
Get two, yeah.
And the black smoke pouring across the guy. It's so cool to watch.
Yeah, very nice from Timo. On his second qualifying run. Yeah, 9th place at the moment. You know what? He could have just parked it up, I'd say he was very safe. But
yeah, I don't know if this is an improvement for me. I don't think it's as strong as his first qualifying run. That's, of course, my
personal opinion,
which counts for absolutely nothing. But I think it's not as good as his first run. I think his first run, as you said, is enough. He's in 9th at the moment with an 84. I'm not sure that's going to improve it. That looks somewhere in the low 70s for me. Oh, look at that on the button. A 70 dead. It was the lowest 70 you could get.
The lowest one.
The lowest 70, which is 9th position still at 84. That's enough. It's enough for me. Now, Max Miller, we talked about this story of he went out to practice. He didn't get to the start line and the engine went. They put another 1,000 horsepower engine in. They used another part of the circuit to tune the car, and he came out to his first run, did okay-ish. Not great, but it was his only run. So he's taken that as practice, and this is qualifying, and it's all pressure from Miller.
It certainly is. Well, he sits on the 0. It was an okay-ish run, but he dropped wheels. That's where it all went wrong for Miller. Needs to tidy it up now. Needs to keep all 4 wheels on. It was another mistake there. You can see the way that dragged the front end of the car around. He had to make a big correction to keep it on the circuit. Transitions back now. Can he tidy this one up? Can he claw anything back? We see a 60 now is the drop zone. It is the score you need to get yourself in the show. On the wall he goes. Job done for Miller.
Yeah.
Is it enough?
He's going to be borderline, I think. He's made some errors there. I mean, beautiful car, by the way. Absolutely phenomenal car to look at. But as he comes through here, he takes a little bit more of a chew than he wanted as he goes towards the edge of the circuit, drops wheel. It messes up his transition. Yeah. And the judges will be watching that. So watch this. Goes off.
It's the correction.
Flirting with 2 wheels as well. And then he corrects back. He does well to get back on it. And this is okay, but again, close to 2 wheels, but I think he's okay. Misses most of the inner zone, and then the transition back to the outer zone at the end, very tentative. It was safe. He knew at that point he had to put a score on the board. But you got to remember the pressure he's under with no practice, all that panic that's going to happen around putting an engine in, tuning the car. I mean, this is stuff that takes days for people to do normally, or weeks. In other cars, they're doing it in hours, mere hours. And let's see what it just creeps in with a 61. So any movement above him and he's out of the show. So this is unlikely that he'll stay there with so many zeros on the board from Shanahan, from all these guys we're talking about. So it's going to be a nervous wait for Miller as we move on to our next driver. Another driver on a 0 in.
Well, his fellow Ukrainian can knock him out, Dave, as now he sits on the line. Alexander Koshov comes off the line, did score a 0, dropped wheels, and then put it in the grass. Nissan 200SX2 JZ, 850 horsepower. Never really got to see the full potential last time. The big mistake as he got himself in a better position. Oh, and he makes the same mistake as Miller and uses that third drop to transition, and now he finds himself wheels on the inside of the circuit. And again, I wonder if that's a double, if that's going to be a 0 as well, Dave. Looking at the chaseability of that run with the wheel drop, I'm going to say the judges are going to count that as almost a 0.
Either way, doesn't matter, because I don't think it's enough to qualify. I mean, he's made a big error there. So he was on a great line.
Yeah.
Everything was working out great, and he just pushed too hard here. Watch the impact on the car. Hits the curb. It snaps the transition. He's on the wrong side of the track here. It's the exact opposite of the outer zone. So the judges will look at that and go, well, how are you going to chase that? That's on the wrong side of the track. Now, he does stay on the track, but it's going to hurt his score. Watch this. Just pushes a little bit just there, just before. If he'd caught the curb, he might have got away with it, but he didn't. He caught the dirt. And this is like he's on the inside of the track. He's almost 2 wheels over the inside of the track, which is the exact opposite of where he needs to be. Yeah, not pretty. And it's going to hurt his score. I can't see that making qualifying. That's just, again, a personal decision, but we've been watching all these runs so far, and that looked messy to me.
It did, yeah, and you know what? Such a simple mistake to make, trying to push that wide on that outside zone to fulfill all of it. Easy to go that 1 foot too far and knock yourself out of competition.
Well, it's inches, you know what I mean? He's inches over the line, and it cost him probably 2 corners.
Yeah.
And that's from just one tiny, 2 feet of a mistake.
Yeah.
So, you can watch this, and I think we all get numb to the skill levels that are required here. And we all get numb to how knife edge it is. And again, if you're watching it is a 0, and that is, I think, the correct call. It puts him out. But what we really have to be conscious of here is that we watch it like it's just easy and normal, and it's like a video game, but this is real life, real speed, real risk, and it's also, you don't have the pressure you can't comprehend that when you're watching it, of what's going on. And here's another guy under big pressure. This Keston Corby, borrowed car, has a whole morning of disaster, and now has to try and pull it out of the bag.
He certainly does. Brand new car, first time driving it. It was his first qualifying run, and now Keston Corby comes out swinging, trying to get himself back into the show. And a good line so far. You can see the wavering and wobbling. It looks a little bit more confident this time. I wonder if they've made some changes to the setup just to try and make it a little easier for Keston Corby to make his way around. It's certainly working at the moment. Doesn't need a 61 or higher to get himself into that top 32 tomorrow. He'd love nothing more than to get into the show. Lovely way to finish the run, to be fair. And you know what? Not really too much to pull apart on that one.
Yeah, just the initiation for me was a little strange. It was like he had to immediately throw the car out. He didn't want to initiate. But he does fulfill the zone. It goes to show how talented Keston Corby is when you can go ahead and do a run like this. Now, he's nearly too shallow there, but he makes it work. He gets to the outer zones, and that car doesn't look super easy to drive to me. And it's a car he's not familiar with, other than today. So, to jump in a car you've never driven before, say, well, I want to just drive this sideways at over 100 mile an hour, put the sticky tyres on, please, that make it really harder to drive.
Oh, that's a drive, yeah.
And then I'm going to make it work. And I think he's put a score on the board here. I'm not sure what that score is, but it's far better than his first, obviously, being a 0. I think it's a big improvement.
Look at this. Sticks it to the wall as well. Not scared to put a little scratch on the rear bumper.
Yeah, not his car.
Not his car.
Why would he?
He hasn't got paint it at the end of the weekend.
No.
Look at that shot.
It's cool. Very cool shot there. You just see it's just,
and you can see the elevation there. I talk about it. I'm like, they come down here 66, 27. Oh, it's going to be a nervous wait.
You know what? I think he'll be happy that he's in with a shout.
Yes.
Nothing about those 2 runs to me looks super comfortable. So I think he'd be happy that he's put a score on the board and he's got himself in the conversation.
Yes, 100%. David Karkoshik pulls the line in this incredible S15. Look, we see him unhappy at the end of the run on the onboard. Wonder what was up with the car. Scored a 64, 30th place at the moment. So Karkoshik will need to drastically improve. Still a lot of guys sitting with a 0, looking to improve, especially.
He's missed that inner zone, Ian. He's on a bit of a wild one here.
Yeah.
As he takes a decel, he misses a lot of that inner zone as well. This is kind of going where the car is going, not where he wants it to go. And he's been struggling a little bit in this S15, and he's got plenty of pace, plenty of commitment. There's no question of the talent, but it's just not coming together for David Karkoshik the way we would expect.
No.
And again, if he was disgruntled after the first run, I think he's going to be disgruntled again. Double disgruntled.
Double disgruntled. Well, it looks like for me it all went wrong here on the initiation. He was carrying a lot of speed and he failed to get that inner zone, and then from there on out really it was just a game of catch up. Look how wide he is as he comes down. Boom.
And it's enough that the judges will look at it and say he kind of didn't get to the edge of the zone. It was kind of avoiding the zone a little bit there. And as he comes through here, I mean, he does get this zone completely, but just watch as he comes through here. I think he completely misses that. Well, just about gets the end of that inner zone. So it's not the perfect line. And it's almost, as I said, he's going where he's going rather than where he wants to go.
Yeah.
He's adjusting when he gets there. And that's not what the judges want to see. They want to see fluidity. They want to see, you know, solid driving that looks like you're adjusting to the track, you're adjusting to the line. Because, of course, the line in drifting is not the fastest line.
No.
It's a created line that, one, challenges you to make those adjustments because it's not natural, and two, it's for twin battles. So there you go, 71 on the board. He's in the 23rd. Is an improvement. And the only reason we're being so harsh on him is because we would expect Karkoshik to be way up the top of qualifying. That's
10,
the talent level he has. He's a very, very talented driver. So he's in there, but let's see how long he stays in there. Michael Johansson is our next driver. 75 on the first run. He's in 18th. Looked impressive. Could have been a bit better. And a couple of wobbles, as you said, Ian. You love that word?
Yeah, I love that word. Favourite word to use when we talk about drifting. Wobbling around. But nevertheless, Mikko Johansson, nothing to lose now. Can really show his style, show his flair, and try and bag a few more of those wow factors as he comes down. Very tidy line right to the edge of the circuit. Looks for the transition. Nicely done. Both rear wheels in the outside zone. Lovely line. This one is on point. Can he hold it together now? Mikko Johansson stands on the accelerator, slows the car on angle now as he gets to outside zone 8, right to the edge of the circuit, on the throttle, across the line.
It's a great run.
That's a great run.
Great run. And what I loved about it was...
And he's going to manage you the whole way.
He ran the wall. Didn't even need to. There was no points there. I'll give him 5 just for a run. After the finish line, he runs the wall again. I love the adjustment. I love the fluidity. I think he took a risk here because right to the edge of the circuit here. Now, this is where I think it's very risky. He goes very fast here. Watch. Really fast. And he goes on throttle so early that somehow he makes all of that work. And I think that's even more fluid than some of the top qualifying runs I've seen. Not overall, but in that section, he's firing through.
He certainly is.
Like, he's very fast. So I think that's going to be rewarded. Here at the end, gets into the pocket, does exactly what he needs to do, runs the wall, says, is there any more walls? Yeah, there's one over there. I'll
run that one.
Give me a wall, I'll run it. That's a very good run. I mean, it goes to show that he's got the talent for this level. We were... scoping him out a little bit at the moment, saying, you know, who is this guy?
Who is he? Well, he was a wild card, 2 years ago? Came to Drift Masters as a wild card, and then he said, I'm going to do a full season.
There you go.
86 in the top 10.
Wow.
Mikko Johansson says, don't count us Swedish drivers on the fast tracks out of it.
No, Sweden is in the house.
It is
technically the house as well. But at the same time, we want to see these guys shake it up, and that's what he's doing. Move to the line. It's going to be Maciek Jarkovic from Poland. 800 horsepower, struggled a bit on the first run, 55 on the board, needs to improve here. Big flick initiation, that's nice. Gets to the edge of the circuit. This is good so far, but he's going to miss the inner zone, and that's going to hurt him here. Too early on the transition, now he's going to drag a long way down to this, which the judges say not the correct way to decelerate to that corner. We're learning as we go, guys. And Jarkovic is learning as he goes that he's got to be a little bit more fluid. He's got one more transition to do. It's tentative, it's a little bit over the white line, but he gets it done. It's not a bad run, it's not a great run. Will it be enough to improve his score? 37th at the moment. It's got to be, what, above a 63, really, to make it good?
Yeah, drop zone at the moment, I believe is a 63, 31st place, 63, and that's going to only go up as we move through competition, Dave. So, I mean, look how wide he is there on that first inside zone, and that just really upsets his line and just kind of struggles really then to make it all work. He's really central of the circuit, then lets the car wash out.
Yeah, and you can see he's hovering a little bit on the handbrake there just to make sure the car does exactly what he wants it to do. It's a very demanding track for sure. And again, it's easy for us to say because we're sitting here going, oh, well, it wasn't perfect. I'm going, just to get around this place at these speeds is incredible. A miracle for us, Ian. But for these guys, they make it look easy, but it's an improvement, but it's not enough. He's outside the top 32, and unfortunately for Maciek Jarkovic, he's going to look at Finland now as a redemption, the next round.
And he's happy, though, inside the car. He's like, maybe.
It was okay. He judged himself.
Yeah.
It was okay.
It was okay.
But okay, unfortunately, at this level is sometimes not enough.
No, certainly not enough. Alex Holovnia now sits on the line, 63. He's on the drop zone. So
Starlight Marshall cooling the car down a little bit.
Cooling the driver down as well.
Cooling the driver down. Making sure that there's a little bit of airflow in the car. It's pretty hot out there this evening. And there's going to be Alex Holovnia from the Ukraine taking off the line. He's had a good first run-ish, but he's right on the drop zone. He's got to go up from a 63. He goes into that first corner very fast, very fluid. He's a great driver. He knows he can do this. He just can't afford any mistakes. Great through there. This is really good from Alex as he comes down through. Can he get that inner zone? Of course he can as he collects it. on his way through. Nice transition back towards the middle of the circuit. A little bit wide there, dropping over the edge of the circuit as he transitions back. Oh, it's tentative. He gets to the zone late, but better late than never as he comes across the line. I think that's going to be a little bit better from Alex Solovnia.
I think he slowed a little bit too much on the decel coming into outside zone 8. I think for me, really, that was the only point I could pick up. There was a major mistake. Look how low the front of that car is. The splitter dragging along the surface of the track all the way through. Very nice there on that inner zone. That kind of set him up nicely for the rest of the run as well. Look at this line. Look, very fluid all the way down. On throttle super early. Picks up that front zone and then transitions on that out of perfect timing. But for me, I think this was where he kind of got it wrong. He decelled too soon. Look, he's already on the brakes and he's not even across the circuit. And that affected the line into the outside zone. And you can see how late he got to that final outer zone before reaching the wall.
Yeah, the word was awkward. He awkwardly transitioned.
Done it, yeah.
But he still gets to 70 and he still improves and he still goes to 26th position. Is it enough? I don't know. No, I mean, we never know until it's all done.
Until it's done and dusted.
Yeah, we got Enver Haskasap on the line from Northern Cyprus. 1,000 horsepower, 2JZ. Looked like the car was way too gripped up on the first run. Really struggled. Put a 50 on the board. Got him improve here. 63 is the cutoff. He'd like to see himself way higher than that. Enver Haskasap ready to rock.
He certainly is ready to rock now. Has he loosened up the car? What adjustments have they made to make this a nicer drive for Haskasap around the circuit? Looks like they've made some adjustments because it looks a lot more fluid through those first zones. He decelled way early though into that outside zone. Judges would have picked up on that one now as he transitions. You can see the car still trying to drive in a straight line though. Still doesn't look too easy to maneuver around the circuit. Gets into outside zone 8, wanders and wavers a little bit across the line. Job done. And another driver that I think will improve, but maybe not enough to stay in that top 32.
This is a great run though. I mean, I say great. Good run.
Good run.
Yeah, look, he's getting the zones. Check. He's not straightening up. Check. But as you said, the decel here for me. Look where the handbrake gets pulled. It gets pulled here.
Miles away.
That is way early, and we're seeing some guys just dab it and go there, seeing the big score. So that's probably going to hurt him more than anything else on the circuit. Is, if you're watching on, you're going, well, you got the zone. What are you giving out about, guys? I'm like, it's not about getting the zone. It's how you get the zone.
Yeah.
And he got to it by being a little safe, going on the handbrake a little too early. Other than that, solid throughout the run. Really good driver. Love watching Enver out here. He's a guy that always brings a lot of entertainment in the battles. Great entertainment value when you watch him drive. Always a lot of smoke, a lot of action. Sometimes just some crashes and fires, but that's all part of the experience.
It's the show
of Enver Haskasap, and I absolutely love his style. But you can see the compression on the back of the car there. It's a 61 he improves, but not enough. And it's a long way from Northern Cyprus to Sweden to not qualify for the top 32. Commiserations to Enver and his team. They'll have to try better in Finland.
I certainly will. Well, we was going to go to Henry Hamper, but he didn't make it to the line. Henry Hamper not made it to the line in the S15.
No, he's only going to get one and done.
So one and done for him.
That's out.
And Eric Kokozel now sits on the line. The Polish driver, 74 at the moment. Where does he sit? Eric Kokozel, 19th. Looks for a big initiation. Goes for Eric Kokozel on the throttle way early. Lights up the tyres now. And a lively line through that inside zone, but a lot of wobble in there. You can see him on the foot brake on a full throttle zone. I'm not sure the judges will be liking that one. He's going for a full speed run here, trying to throw everything at it, trying to throw some flair, some style, but it's making the run scrappy and unpredictable as he transitions into outside zone 8, right to the edge of the circuit on that white line. Nicely done there. Across the line he goes, but for me, it was fast, but sketchy, Dave.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, he's gone for the risk factor of it being super fast, but when you're going really fast, you quickly come up on
the door. Look at the door.
The door bending in under the compression of the wind. I mean, it's a great run from a speed perspective. There's some good zones in there, but as you said, he's kind of holding on a little bit. It's almost like he's in a race to get through it as fast as he can.
It's like he's timing himself.
Yeah, missing that inner zone quite considerably there as he transitions back. This to me was quite nice. The end of the run was quite nice as he comes in early on big angle and early on throttle, a little foot brake and on the outer zone. This is tidy here.
Yeah.
So I can see him scoring okay here because as you said, very fast, very fluid. That's what the judges want to see. Someone that's not doing the easy thing, going super slow through the course and making it all slow motion. This was all sped up.
Yeah.
Double speed.
It was like it was in fast forward.
It's a 77. It's an improvement into 17th position. Goes Eric Goshal from Poland. It's okay. Like 17th mid-pack at this stage. Is it enough? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's in the conversation.
It's in the conversation, that's for sure. Back on the line.
Yeah, Diogo Correa. I haven't had many conversations with him because he doesn't speak English, but he he does his talking with the car.
And his smile.
Yeah.
If he's got a smile, you know he's having a good weekend.
And he had a good first run in the bag. It was 71. He's in 25th at the moment. This we will expect to be bigger. Weight transfer, very nice through the first corner. Doesn't risk too much there. Now he starts to wind on the power. Oh, could be a little closer to that inner zone for my liking as he transitions back now. This is very quick and fluid. A little bit of handbrake gets him. It's a good line here. Gets through this section quite nicely. A little bit of left front brake probably wasn't necessary, and it isn't necessary. It actually slows the car down too much, and he misses that outer zone, and it kind of becomes a bit meh toward the end of the run because he had some great moments, but then that little bit of left foot brake, he overcompensated for the speed.
Yeah, he certainly did, and you could see it coming a mile away. As soon as he jumped on that foot brake, you could see the way the car reacted. Apart from that, up until that point, this was a really nice run. You could see that front wheel look on and off the foot brake, locking it up exactly where the judges wanted to see it. Nice line into the outside zone, and a good transition back. He let the car wash all the way out to the edge of the circuit on the throttle nice and early. Picks up that inner zone. And then here, transitions on the foot brake, and you can see the way the car reacted. There was no angle. He's trying to dial it in, but he knows he can't fire it on because he's going to really mess up the line, so he has to just roll with it. And unfortunately for Diogo Correa, that is going to really hurt that second qualifying run.
Yeah, that outer zone is it's kind of something nobody's missing.
No, yeah.
So it even looks worse because if everyone else is getting it and you're not, that's kind of even more of an exaggeration of the mistake. And again, I don't know. It's split-second decisions making, you know, so it's very tough. But a 68 doesn't improve. He stays in 23rd position. But a 71, we don't know until the end of qualifying if that's going to be enough. But the more 70 runs we see, the more I'm starting to feel it might be okay. Yeah. So we move on to our next driver. Doesn't have to worry about it. It's Michael Reichardt. He's in 12th with an 83. He can go for it here because 83, I think, is enough to get him in the show. So he can throw caution to the wind. He can go crazy.
Well, if we know Michael Reichardt from past times, we know he's going to go for it. Look how laser focused he is as he clicks through the gears. Oh, and the car didn't really want to react there on initiation. You can see him have to pull the handbrake after that white line, which is the start of the scoring zone. Back on it he goes, flicks that car to angle, doesn't work though that way, he has to shallow it off and dial it back in again as he comes through that inner zone, transitions back over that little crest. You can see that elevation ever so slightly starting to come into play now as the sun falls behind the mountains here and the trees, and he goes way off circuit and he shuts it down, and he knows, Dave.
Yeah,
he knows.
I think he's fine from the first run. The thing about Michael Reichardt is he'll be smiling all the way. All the way. You've never seen a man enjoy a zero as much as Michael Reichardt because every run he does, he's having so much fun.
Yeah.
And that's kind of something we forget about a lot in drifting. You know, it's about fun. That's the whole reason people do it. It's a fun thing to do. Probably the most fun thing to do with a car is to go sideways at 100 miles an hour. And I don't know how it feels because it's very fast here. I can imagine it's a little frightening, but we talked to some of the rookies and they were like, you know, Mondello was okay in Ireland and it's fine, but this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
They're running out of gearing.
Yeah.
They're going like 4th gear, 5th gear, that's all I have, so they got to change the gearing. It's crazy here.
I mean, you think about that, like in perspective, full throttle, 4th gear.
Nuts. Motorway speed.
Yep.
And your wheels going higher than motorway speed.
Yep.
Make it smoke. Crazy. Christian Earls is going to show you how that's done because he's got 1,000 plus horsepower and he's got a score on the board, but it's only... Oh, no. He had a score on the board.
He's got a 63 on the board, so he's now on the drop zone.
Yeah,
and you know what? He would love a spot in top 32.
And he's Mr. 32. It's his home event.
Yeah.
So it's his last chance to get a good score in front of the home crowd. There's going to be a little bit of pressure with that. I'm hoping that this is going to be a good one. He's definitely got the machinery for it. Has he got the mindset for it? We're about to find out.
Well, here he goes through the gears, starts to smoke the tyres already before initiation, fires that car through, keeps it within the lines, and look at this now, already flying is Earlton. That's a really nice line through that inner zone as he comes down. This is going to be on a flow, but he's on the handbrake super early, and I think that's going to hurt his score, and it's hurt his line, that's for sure, as he comes down to that second inner zone. And now he's starting to play catch-up. Now he's starting to have to work to get that car back on that qualifying line as he gets in the final outside zone, looks for the wall, and he knows he's already made a big mistake.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's moments of brilliance, but it's balanced by mistakes. And what all that does is give you those moments, and those mistakes balance off to average. You know what I mean? That's the problem with a run like that. It's you're looking at the start of going, now he has it.
Now he has it.
And then that one error.
I don't know why he pulled it so early either. He was
going for it.
Absolutely
this is the problem
fine.
for me here. Watch this. Does he catch understeer a little bit? But that's a big mistake. I mean, all 4 wheels are facing the same direction at one point. That's not good for a drift car. That's not right. You don't want them to be doing that.
I wonder if he came down that hill thinking he was going way too fast, tried to slow it before the zone, and then realised as soon as he'd slowed it that, no, this wasn't going to work and I wasn't going to make that
and
inner.
there's no other option. You're
No.
already made the error, you've already made the mistake, so you can't go anywhere else from there.
No.
So I get what I mean, we're assuming, because we're not in the car, so I assume that the pace you're building towards that first detail is frightening.
Yeah.
And how do you don't want to just go straight off into the gravel, so it's still 32nd position by Christian Eriksen. 52 on the second run. Oh, it's going to be a nervous wait for him.
It certainly is going to be a nervous wait for him. Well, we've got up next on the line Clint Van Oort, the Dutch driver, sitting with a 48, so he does need to improve. 850 horsepower too, JC. Clint Van Oort, capable of some crazy stuff, and this young man, well, he'll definitely want to be in the show. He's having a lot of fun here this weekend. He's had a smile on his face since we arrived. Goes for an early initiation. Can he pull this one off now? Is he going to find himself on the wrong line for that inner zone? No, and he makes it work. He's going very wide, and Van Oort holds onto it, but he's transitioned too early. And he's on the handbrake too early, and he's failed to get to the outside zone, but now works and gets himself back together again. Back into those zones he goes, onto that qualifying line. One more outside zone to go for Clint Van Oort. Can he rectify? Can he claw anything back from that big mistake as he comes down along the wall, across the line? Van Oort done.
Yeah, it's going to come back to that handbrake pull towards the third outer zone, or I think for me, it's a big error. I mean, what he's done here is he's gone early. He's done that perfectly. He's picked up that inner zone, absolutely perfection there. But as he transitions back, that's where the worry comes from.
He dialed on, watch the transition, he snaps too early.
Yeah.
And then he puts on too much angle and he goes, I'm not going to make that. So he tries to save it on the handbrake. You can see it very clearly here on this transition. Look, boom, way too early.
Shouldn't be on the curb there. And as he comes through, he's on the handbrake halfway down the straight. So he's missing the zone and he's slow, and then all the points are just falling out of the basket at that point.
And you can see, look, how far back he handbrakes for and how long he's on that handbrake.
Yeah, and again, nothing really wrong with any other part of the course.
No.
Just that section, and that section's probably going to hurt. It's going to be tough. It would be tough to chase that.
Yeah.
Because you're in the wrong part of the circuit, which means the judges are looking at it. Well, someone was behind him. Oh, yeah, it's a 65.
I mean, he pushes Eriksen out.
Yeah, so Erland's eliminated.
He puts himself on the drop zone again.
Yeah, so they're just fingertips still in the game right now for Van Oort.
And I mean, we've still got a lot of drivers out of the show, Dave.
Yeah, and Adam Zalewski now steps to the line. We thought his run was really, really good, but when we went back to Kevin O'Connell, we realised that pulling the handbrake way too early on the outer zone. Hopefully he's learned from that, and Zalewski goes for another big run here. He's in 18th position at the moment. He had a great run, one big error on the first. Can he rectify that now as he fires through a little wide of that inside zone? A little bit of wavering there. Now, this is where he made a mistake the last time. Too much detail. This time he doesn't do too much detail and does a much better job through that centre section of the course as he transitions back right to the edge of the circuit. This is always solid from Adam Zalewski, always a real steely competitor, and look at this, perfectly on the edge of the track. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, that was very nice. Very, very nice there from Zalewski. And we talk about the sun being a player in the drivers. Now it's become an issue for me and Dave on the monitor. There we go. Let's take a look back at the replay of this one. And Zalewski, very nice. That front wheel dead through the centre of that zone. And he transitions perfectly, but he lets the car flick across the circuit, and that's kind of where it's all won or lost there to get the rest of these zones dialed in.
Yeah, and I think that the thing about Zalewski is he's brave enough to take a chance there.
Yeah, to flick the car.
And he's comfortable enough as a driver that he can take a risk and probably pull it off, and I think he does throughout the most of it. The only thing I didn't like about the run was a lot of wavering from the front wheels, a lot of adjustment. That is a skill in itself because he's adjusting the car, but it's not as fluid.
No.
And I think, from a line perspective, there's not a whole lot wrong with that run, but maybe from the style perspective, there's a little bit of adjustment. Some points. Yeah, but it's a very good run. And the style was 19 out of 20, so what do I know?
What do we know?
And it's the line that let him down. There you go. That's why the judges are there and I'm not. So Adam Zalewski did a great job. And 80 puts him into 15th position. So there's a lot of people from 15th to 32nd between 80 and 70, and that's kind of where they're all sitting.
Yeah, I mean, look, we go from
very close. Now, here's a man that needs to improve. It is going to be Naoki Nakamura, all the way from Japan, has an engine failure at round 1 now, trying to improve. He is sitting in 22nd position with a 72. It was a bit of a sketchy initiation on the first run that cost him. Can he improve from that? Naoki smashing the limiter on the start line, making sure the anti-lag is working as he comes off the line, and Nakamura takes to the Swedish circuit for the second time today, and he puts in a much cleaner initiation here, learning as he goes, as he foot to floor through it, trying to collect that inner zone. Nice on that inner zone, a little bit of wavering as he comes to that outer zone, transitions back. He's definitely full throttle. He uses the handbrake to get himself to the outside zone, and a nice job on the inside zone. So this is a pretty solid run so far from Naoki Nakamura as he comes through that last section into that last corner. It's where he made some errors the last time. Not so much this time. Very smooth, very solid. Looks like that car and engine package is working excellently. Nakamura, who we know is going to shine in the twin battles, is probably doing enough to get himself in the big show.
Yeah, I think he is, Dave. The only critique I have from that is the handbrake drag down into the outside zone, right in front of the judging tower. Literally right where the judges are sitting after this transition. I thought he was going off track there. He was going that fast. But look at this big handbrake drag as he comes down into that zone. The judges won't like it, but I'm pretty sure it could be an improvement because it's a lot more fluid than his first qualifying
I think
run.
they won't love it, but it's still the right line.
Yeah.
So he's on the right line. Maybe the decel wasn't perfect, but I think, you know, from the aggression on the first corner, the last corner, I think he's going to do well here.
Yeah.
I think the problem you have is that, you know, you're watching some phenomenal runs, and we're being quite critiqued, very harsh on guys. But for most part of that run, I think he did an exceptional job. And you know what, we want to see him in a twin battle. We haven't watched that Naoki Nakamura. There you go, an 80 puts him into 16th position. That for me is probably safe enough for battle action tomorrow, and that's where he's going to shine. Yeah. That's where he is the master. It's not in the qualifying, and again, as I said before, qualifying, there's no trophies for qualifying. It's all for the battles, and that's where we're going to see it tomorrow. Moving on to Oliver Randalou. He's on the start line, and Randalou will be another driver looking for a little bit of an improvement. He's got a 76, so he's in the show at the moment. He's in 20th. We've never really put our money on him as the top qualifying run, but he could surprise us here. He's looking comfortable this weekend. Let's see what he can do with his second run.
He certainly is looking comfortable. He goes for a big, comfortable opposite flick into that outside zone, makes it work. Now Randalou on the foot brake, looks for the inner, gets it done, goes very wide, uses every bit of the tarmac. A very nice line. Oh, a little correction on the steering wheel, but this is a very nice run from Randalou at the moment. If he can make this one work, if he can join all the dots, if he can get it together, this one could be way up there. As he now looks for the transition back, gets into it, into the outside zone, right on the edge of the tarmac, right on the wall, across the line. Randalou proving he has still got it, Dave. He's still in the fight.
What we should do is at the start of every run say they're never going to do a good qualifying run here.
Every time.
And to spite our intelligence, they will
go,
wait to see this.
Watch this.
So Oliver Randalou, that's probably one of the best qualifying runs I've ever
seen from him. He's a little deep. I mean, I'm talking like 6 inches deep on that zone. Apart from that, it was phenomenal.
And I like the fluidity here. Yes, he goes
the wobble,
breaks a little early, but he comes on the throttle early. So he gets out of it. He doesn't just drag through the whole zone. He does a good job of staying, you know, pretty committed through the whole section. And I think the line here for me was it's the right one. It's the perfect line that the judges want to see. So, you know, good stuff from Randalou. Didn't have the best of starts to the season, but he's a guy that grows into these seasons, and he's never someone you want to count out. A lot of left foot brake there as he comes across. It's so cool to watch that front brake just lock the wheel while it's full smoke at the back. Incredible stuff. Randallou's, I think he's going to do well here. I think he's going to score way up the order. He is in 82 for Oliver Randalou from Estonia. Puts him in the 13th position, safe for battle action. Not worrying the leaders in qualifying, but not worrying his team of not having a second day or a second roll of the dice. So he's in the game.
Well, Manu Vacco has nothing to lose. The Italian driving assets on the line. 12th place at the moment, so just outside of that top 10. First qualifying run, kind of got it all done. Is he going to try and go for the first place qualifying run here? Is he going to throw it down?
Why wouldn't he now? Why wouldn't he? What has he to lose? I think he knows he's nothing to lose. He might as well risk it. We can see a phenomenal run, we can see a mistake, but you're better off trying.
Yeah.
Because you've an 83. It's a big roll. He's flirting with two wheels there. Yeah, I think he's going to miss that inner zone.
Yeah,
he is going to miss that inner zone. So he's already, and he's sort of jumping off the track a little bit. So he's gone for the big run.
Yeah, and it
hasn't worked out because he's missed 3 zones already. So this is a smoky one for the fans.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to matter. Oh, he's
DB'd
a tyre. That's
the problem.
Or has to come back on the rim.
I mean, it looked like a DB.
It looked like a DB.
Oh, it is a DB, yeah.
The tyre is fooling us all. He's like, no, I'm still on the rim. Are you though? Are you though?
Gotcha.
Yeah, we caught you. You were trying to escape. And you know what? For the torture that these guys put them through, if I was a tyre, I'd be like, I'm out of here. Get it. Where did it happen though?
I think it happened when he came to this outside zone because he was so wide. He got there really early and he kind of dropped a bit of a wheel somewhere. Yeah.
Well, let's have a look and see on that.
Here.
He drops here. Transitions back.
And I think at this point it's already gone, which is why he couldn't push the car out to the outside zone because he didn't have the grip. And even now, look, it's shallow and he's kind of realised here that something's wrong.
Something doesn't feel right. Oh,
and it's pushed him on, yeah.
He's had a bit of a moment there, but his experience actually got him out of it. But yeah, he probably would have known instantaneously at that point. Something doesn't feel right.
Something's wrong, yeah. And to him, he probably thought that something was broken.
Yeah, which is good that it wasn't. And his 83 from the first run puts him in 11th, and I think that's probably safe enough for battles. I don't think there's a major concern there.
No. Well, we say that, and then we've got 2 guys sitting on zeros behind him, so...
Yeah,
it
could be stressful. We don't know. Cool car, though.
Very cool car.
Like the blackout look on the front.
Yeah.
Looks very mean. And
it's like Batman if you went drifting.
Yeah. Batman drifting on holidays.
Oh, he's got
the fluorescent yellow.
Fluorescent, yeah, I like it.
There you go. That's the Italian flag.
Italians.
These guys holding it down. They are very happy with the results of Manuel Vacca, I'm sure. I mean, he's struggled at times in qualifying. Not today.
Nope.
He's got a score on the board and everything seems okay. Hasn't put that flag down for 2 hours.
No.
The commitment
arms must be killing them. Killing them.
She is going to need an ice bucket at the end to put her arm in because that flag's been up for a very long time.
Oh, look at that. It was exactly where we said as well.
Yeah.
See it.
Looks like one of those pottery things. It's a wheel with no tyre on it, you know, trying to mould itself into the concrete.
No, I get it.
You get the reference?
Yeah, I get the reference.
Yeah, it wasn't a great one.
That guy's tired.
Oh, that kid's got a helmet on. He's the next star.
He's the next star.
He's ready to go. He's ready. He looks like the next big thing, so he must be. Here we go. We're back to the start line again. We have Kevin Pazur. He's sitting on a 0.
0, yeah. Currently sitting on a 0. Out of the show, the Estonian driver. M2 BMW M50 turbo, leads 187. 870 horsepower, sorry, not 7. 870 horsepower. Look, wheels dropped last time. That was a big thing. This is where we really started to pick up these wheel drops. That was where they all came into play. A lot of these guys getting it wrong now. They're a lot nicer of a line this time. Kevin Pazur doesn't want to make that mistake. That's a nice line, but a big handbrake drag once again down into the outside zone, looks for the transition, gets it to work now as he slows the car on angle, gets back on throttle for the transition, makes it work, jumps into the final outside zone, little left foot brake, up into the wall he goes. A lot nicer job there from Kevin Pazur.
That's really good. That's probably enough to get him in the show. I think he's taken the mistakes from the first run, he's analysed them, he's rectified them, and it was really solid. I mean, it wasn't even really that safe at times. He went for it.
No, I mean, especially when he came to this outside zone, he was flirting with dropping a wheel off the edge of the track. Look at this. Got there bang on time, and as soon as he was there, he transitioned straight away from it.
Early handbrake, but it's okay because he does make the zone. You know, you lose points because of that, but you also gain them for getting the zone.
For getting the zone.
So it's balancing a little bit there. It's a good run, good-looking car. And Kevin, on his day, a worthy adversary for anyone.
Yep. About these guys as well, a lot of them say qualifying's not their thing. Get them into the top 32, get them in the battles, that's where they come alive.
Well, a lot of people say, you know, the reason qualifying is more difficult than battles is because you focused on someone else in the battle.
Yep.
And you're focused on yourself in qualifying, and it's more difficult because it's all on you.
Good score.
Very good score. 80 on the board for Kevin Pazur from Estonia. 18th position. He'll be happy with that one.
He will be.
Especially starting with a 0. And who does he push down the order? There's going to be people falling out of this 32.
Now, Tobias Pushan, 64 is now the required. Christian Earlton out, Van Oort out, Haskasat, Miller, Jarkovic, Garvey, a lot going out. Pavel Grosz off the line, the Polish driver sits again with a 0. Another driver requiring more than a 64 to get into the show. Goes for a big weight transfer on the initiation. Kind of pays off, kind of doesn't pay off. It pushes him way wide. He's going to go wheels off the edge of the circuit. He misses that first zone and then drops a wheel off the edge of the track now. Something to think about as he comes down into these outside zones. Flicks it across the circuit, needs to keep it clean now. As Pavel Grosz looks for that final outside zone, that final transition. Can he hold it together? He's got a wheel off the edge of the circuit again. And Pavel Grosz flirting with a 0 on that run.
He does very well to recover from that.
Yeah.
Like, he's gone wide, he drops a wheel, you think that's the end of that. And he does actually get it back together and get back on it again. I wonder will the judges be harsh on him being that wide as opposed to being shallow? That's the question.
But I think the car gripped up on the weight transfer and misses that so wide. I mean, he's way off the qualifying line at the moment. You could see how early he drops off the track.
And then somehow he makes the next zone, so he does quite well there, but it is an error, it is a mistake, and it's going to upset the car. Here is pretty good. I mean, he's where he needs to be, but how he got there is not how the judges want him to be, you know, dropping wheels off the track. This is pretty solid, pretty good towards the rest of the run. Gets out to the edge of the circuit. I like the the commitment all the way down here, and as you said on the last corner, does he drop a wheel off the end of the circuit? Yeah, I think he was pretty okay. It wasn't too bad, but is it perfect? No. Will it score? Yes. Where does it drop in? And it's all in that 60 to 80 mark now of
it's
where
all
you...
questions I don't have to answer, Dave.
Yes, it's a 58, not even a 60.
Just not enough.
Not enough from
There was too many mistakes in there. There was too many mistakes. There was moments of brilliance and there was moments of pure disaster. And
that's another big name out of qualifying. It's interesting to me how...
This track, though, did it last year to us. We came to this track and we were like, it's just a track. And then we just watched people fall apart. Big names couldn't make it round.
Yeah.
Cherba, he's in the show. 86, old car, back. New car, damaged engine. He says, well, I know this old girl. I've used her plenty of times before. And here we go. All four wheels almost locked up on initiation from Cherba. Absolutely screaming. He's going to get to that outside zone perfectly. Wow. That was clinical from Cherba. He's on a handbrake way early, though. Slowed that car down way before the outside zone. Judges will be critiquing that one as he makes his way through in front of the grandstand now. Looks for the final outside zone. The transition timed perfectly. Wheel on the outside edge of the circuit. That was a lovely run from Benediktas Cherba.
That is phenomenal. I don't think anyone's hit that course as hard as him. No. I'm not sure it was perfect, but nobody risked that much.
What's the initiation? You've missed it on that. It was there we go. Locks up all four wheels at one point as he threw that car in.
And it looked like it was just sponsored
one-handed. One-handed. He's just like, yeah, this is one hand. It's easy.
But this for me, look. Oh, wow, perfect. Now, as you said, had to transition a little early, had to make it work. We did make it work.
Yeah.
The only error on the track I could see is that
handbrake. Yeah.
That handbrake. But everything else, look at the fluid motions, plenty of aggression, plenty of flair, plenty of speed. I enjoyed watching it.
I did.
And if I feel it, surely the judges will feel it.
No, they don't.
No.
And 86
they don't have any
still
80.
Senseless robots.
So cold.
So cold.
83 on the board. It didn't really matter. We knew he had a big run in the bag anyway. But it was fun to watch. A Cherba with 2 runs like that, he'll be a contender.
Right, Joachim Andersen, car problems on the first qualifying run. The car shut down on outside zone 8. He had what we like to say 40, 20 foot away from success. Didn't make it happen. Well, he got the car fixed. He's back on the line. Through the gears he goes. Can Joachim Andersen, can that car keep it together and hold it down for one qualifying run to get him in the show tomorrow? Joachim Andersen, the Swedish driver, lovely line through that inside zone right to the edge of the circuit, almost a replication of what Cherba just did. No handbrake, let the car almost slow on angle, but it seems to be very shallow. Almost looked like it was cutting out, but it seems to be working still now as Joachim Andersen fires into that final outside zone. On the throttle he goes. Can it come together? It can across the line.
It's good. It was good. There was some mistakes in there, though.
Yeah.
And I think, from my perspective, the first corner, really good, right? So he gets all this speed and momentum, and I think he goes too much with it. I think when he comes down to the outer zone, as you said, I think he does pull the handbrake when he comes down to that outer zone 3. But at the same time, this is great. I mean, he's right where he needs to be on the track. He's set himself up perfectly. He's going through the inner zone. The outer zone, again, absolutely perfect. Now, watch the transition. I think he's carrying a little too much speed here. He handbrakes early, and then he puts full throttle down. That's a good way of doing it, but he misses the inner zone. So he gives himself no option.
And then he misses that outside zone because he's very shallow on angle. It was like the car misfired, maybe. It didn't want to react.
I think he just went through too fast.
Too quick, yeah.
I don't think he actually had time to transition because he was going too fast. Boy's too fast.
He's just too quick.
It's just too fast. Too quick for his own steering wheel.
What a problem to have.
He's too fast. Look how much rubber has been laid down on that corner. I reckon if we went down there after qualifying, our shoes would come off like a drag strip. A 78 on the board, 21st position. It's solid. As I said, we were critical, but he was so. I think that was gearing up for a 90 plus if he tidied those few areas.
He tidied them up.
And we move on to this beautiful car.
Oh, stunning.
GR86 of Juha Rintanen, brand new build. And you know what? I think there's a guy, he's sitting on a 73-24, won't be happy with that.
No.
I think he wants a top 5 here. I think he's going to have to go for it.
He's going to go for it. He's going to throw down. He's a man that likes a lot of speed, a lot of grip. Look at this. Look at the speed and the grip. He's absolutely firing down now. The way that car reacted, you can tell he's dialed it. He's turned up to 11 right now, and he wants to keep it right to the edge of the circuit, and he does. Now, does he keep it together? He does. With just a little handbrake in the outside zone. This is very nice for Rintanen. He wants a top spot. He wants to fight for that top 5, and he's going for it right now. Goes for the transition back on the foot brake in the outside zone, gets the car towards the wall. Job done for Juha Rittinen.
Do you know what I was just thinking while he was going through that track? I was like, this is exciting watching one car here. When we get to the battles tomorrow, it's going to be knife edge, because a lot of drivers doing everything a little bit differently, which I think they're all going to have to adjust to when they're head-to-head. Rinton doing a great job here. As he comes through this inner zone, look at the speed he's carrying through this section of the course and right to the edge of the circuit. No issues whatsoever for Rinton in terms of fulfilling those zones. Does drop a wheel over, but I think it could be forgiven. The inside zone for me there is almost missed. I think he just goes a little wide, and then he's a little too wide all over. But other than that, very solid run, very, very technical. I think you have one of the most talented drivers in the world, knows what's required. Even when he makes a mistake, he's able to adjust and correct that very quickly. Does a good job there. And I could just watch this car all day. It just looks amazing.
I love the livery.
Yeah.
For me, I love the livery. I love Juha's style for the last few years. The evolution of this Sparta, this whole livery has been incredible. And
very cool. Is it Roman Empire or Spartan Empire? Or Spartan? I've never had an empire, so just Spartan in general. 87 is enough. It doesn't matter. We're not historians. We are commentators for drifting. And what we're telling you is, Juha Rinton is in 6th place.
He is in the 6th place.
You don't come here for history lessons.
Well, we've got 2 more zeros left to go before everyone now has a score. This is a 0.
Has no
2.
Score.
So we've got this one and Dave.
Sorry, you done your math?
Yeah, I've done my math.
Wow.
I've worked it out. Juha Poitalaxco sits with a 0. I believe there's just a couple of Finnish fans in the crowd.
Few?
Just a few.
Few Finnish fans in the crowd. They're going to not want Juha Poitalaxco to go out here because he's got a 0, laser focused, has to get the job done here. He needs a big score, and that score is probably somewhere in the high 60s to be safe and go all the way to top 32. Here we go.
Well, it's a 64 he needs, and it's a 64 he's going to aim for, but he's going to try and reach those top 5 spots. This is a really nice line so far. He's going to go wide though. Does drops a wheel in the gravel. Has he DB'd it? That's a big question. He's on the handbrake early in the outside zone, and now he has to correct wheel up on the curve on the inside. He's going to miss that outside zone. Starts to fall apart a little bit for Juha Poitalaxco right now as he transitions for that final zone. Looks to get a wheel in it. He's shallow. He's going to fall out of it across the line. It's not good for Poitalaxco.
I don't think it's too bad, though. I think he's still got a lot of zones there. A lot of speed.
You're very forgiveful today.
Forgiveful isn't even a word.
You are forgiveful today. It's a new word I just created on the spot.
Within 5 minutes, we tried to give a history lesson on wrong information
and created a new word. If it makes it into the dictionary, I'll be happy.
Well, I don't think it will. What I'm trying to say here is I think he's pushing, which I think the judges will say is a good thing. Like he's
I don't know. I think
watch, he does get to the edge of the circuit, he drops the wheel short, but he gets here again. Look
at that handbrake track though. Yeah. And then he's up on the inside. He misses the other outside zone. Watch this now as he comes through. He's wheel up on the curb, misses the outside zone. It's scrappy at best. He's a wheel over there in the dirt, Dave.
I'm not sure I'm as forgiveful anymore.
Are you claiming your forgivefulness back? Two new words in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm thinking, oh, they're going to hurt him for this. And the shallow line here.
Dave, listen, you used to be the guy. What's happened?
I was being nice.
You were being too nice.
Look, 63. It's not enough, but it's still a decent score.
It would be a good score on any other day of the week.
I'll put it this way. This is a tough place to come.
It is a tough place to come.
And if you watch Juha Poitalaxco go out, you know how tough it is.
Yep. A scores a 0 and then a 63. Doesn't get in the show. That's how tough it is.
Kuba Pszczonski on the start line for Poland. Probably the most decorated driver on the grid. We know Robin Perez got a long way to go. He's at the early stages, but he's a Dakar champion, rally champion, Polish drift champion. Yeah. He wants to be European drift champion. That's why he's here. There's no other reason.
Nope.
And he's got to do that by trying to be the best driver here. And to be that, he currently sits in 5th place with an 88. He needs a 91 to be the top dog. Can he get it done? He's looking comfortable. Into that first corner he goes, big flick in, and that's really nice from Kuba Pszczonski because he's got the car on a rate of angle very quickly. He's going very wide here, flirts with the track, but it's oh so beautiful as he comes through. But a little bit too much angle there, he's had to adjust that. It's messed up his outer line. Now he's on the inside of the circuit, but he does recover well as he gets through the track. I'm not sure this is going to be a better score than his first run, but as he comes through into that last section, gets it done. Very good technical, tactical driver, very comfortable, but maybe not enough to improve on his first score.
Yeah, I'm not sure there was enough there, Dave, to improve on his first score of an 88.
I just love his initiation. It's so like, bam.
The car just flicks to angle, and I love it. I love the way the car, it's just so dialed, the way he flicks it. And watch this. boom, on angle, and he's on the throttle instantly.
But it's no adjustment really once he's on angle. He's kind of smooth through there. But then this is the bit I was like, oh yeah, like right to the edge of the circuit, brilliant. But then he comes back too early.
Yeah.
So it seems to be if you go too wide there and he transitioned too much angle, he's now, oh no, I'm not going to make it there. Now he does adjust the car quite well to get there, but he's just grazing that. And that isn't the right line. That would be very tough to chase in the chase position, because now you're getting squeezed on the inside of the track.
You can see him making that correction in the car as well. There you can see he knows exactly what he's done, where the car's positioned. Apart from that, he gets the rest of the track absolutely dialed, and you're right, the way his experience in motorsport allowed him to adjust back onto the qualifying line and fulfill what the judges wanted. But it is a hurt score, it is a 77, his 88 will be his higher qualifying score in a fifth place.
But he's looking strong. I'm going to just go out there and say he's going to be a problem for everybody tomorrow. He looks very comfortable, very strong, the car is very fast.
Right, Oran Nilsson said moments ago with Becky in an interview that he had nothing to lose. He had an 89, he wanted a 90, he's going to go out there and throw everything at it.
So the last time he did that, he ended up almost took off all four wheels off the ground. So hold on to your hats. Here comes Oran Nilsson, big flick into the first corner, absolutely sensational. He looks so comfortable using the left front brake to balance the car a little bit wide of that. Oh, he's got a bit of understeer there as well. Maybe he took a little bit too much pace out of the car with that left foot braking, but he's managed to recover it again. I'm not sure if this is going to trouble his 89. A little bit of adjustment there again, but this is very exceptional stuff from Oran Nilsson. We're being highly critical because we know he's capable of a 100-point run on this track, and I don't think that's it.
No. I think if it wasn't for that moment of understeer, that probably would have matched his first qualifying score.
I would be in agreement.
That was very, very good.
Like the wheel just jumps off the ground. It's so cool to watch.
He is so fast as well. Like, the rear of the car just cannot hold on.
What I love about this, there's a little bit of wobbling. It's not as fluid as the first one, but I think he's probably overdriving the car.
And the transition as well was too soon, and it put him on a wrong line, but nevertheless.
It was a good, this run is more than enough to qualify him probably. But we're trying to see, is he going to be top dog?
No.
And I don't think that's a top dog run.
No, I don't think it's a top dog run.
But is it an exceptional run? Is it a risky run? Yeah, it's an 80. I mean, this is how harsh we're being. But I mean, it's not. We can now figure it out. We've got to that point where we're saying he's not going to improve from his 89. He stays where he is, still a very top score. We move to the start line. Dylan Garvey, he's outside the top 32. No clutch.
A clutch that may or may not even make it off the start line.
That is a bit like a loaf of bread in there at the minute. It's just twisting and falling apart. And I mean, I don't know what they've done to it. He's got to really throw caution to it. The car is not going to do what he wants him to do, but he's trying to get into the drop zone. It's what's that, 64? He needs a 64.
Yeah.
Looks good so far. A little wide there, but he's making it work. Dylan Garvey up against it at the moment, the Irish rookie, having to work around the problems of the car, but he is working around them at the moment. He's doing a good job of transitioning to the center. Good line through here, so there's not many mistakes. It's not like he's throwing too much at it, but he's got a great line. He's on the edge of the track. That is not the worst run we've seen today. That is a very good run.
No, that is a very good run, and he only needed 4 more points to make it work, and I think that he may have just scraped himself into the show there. Dylan Garvey and the guys have a long night ahead of them potentially, but the car for the moment is working. Very nice.
You know what, Ian, let's look back at it. It's not far off what the judges want to see.
No, it's not.
There's not many errors there. A little wobble there as he comes down. He has to go on the handbrake a little earlier than he'd like to. But he gets all the zones.
I think it was a bit tame. I think it lacked impact.
It was again.
It was too controlled for me.
You know what's funny? I think he has 650 horsepower now. I could be wrong on this. I think he has the lowest horsepower car on the grid.
I think he does. Yeah, I think
650 horsepower. Where
are we?
What world are we living in? Where 650 horsepower is probably underwhelming. But that's the case. He said that himself. He's up against it this weekend. He said these faster tracks aren't going to suit his particular program and his car because he doesn't have the 800-900,000 horsepower. He said he prefers, like the likes of Poland, maybe Finland, Ireland suited him quite well. But he said if he qualified today, he would be over the moon. That would be a win this weekend. Well, we're about to find out if he has. And he has qualified. He's in 24th position with a 74. And that's a fair score, I think, for what was a tame run without many errors.
Well, he can't be knocked out. He's secured enough at the moment. Pontus Hartmann is in the show. I'm just looking now. I think everyone's in the show now. So this is it. Everyone's in the show, apart from Jack Shanahan, the only man out. Pontus Hartman comes off the line. He sits with a 69 at the moment. He's 30th. He would love to improve. He did good things at Mondello Park at round 1. And he had a brilliant time, and the smile on his face said it all. But look at the transition. Oh, that is beautiful, Dave, as he come down. This is incredible for Hartman right now as he fires through. Did he get that zone?
Oh, too snappy.
Yeah,
too
he didn't
snappy.
get the zone.
Yeah, too snappy on the transition. He threw it all away, and he was on for top spot
He
there.
was on for that one, Dave.
He just snapped through the transition, and it lost him all his momentum, and instantly. It's such a line-based circuit. The minute he did it, I went, it's done.
It's over.
There's no way of recovering from that. This first 2 corners
are beautiful.
You're talking 90 plus here.
Yeah, look at this. He was perfect on that inner zone. He was so wide. Dave held his breath for a moment.
I thought
there.
he was going in the gravel
there. He was
there.
going off. But this, for me, the line now into this outside zone was absolutely beautiful. Look at the speed. He comes through there. No correction on the steering.
This also is because, watch.
Look at the steering wheel.
Yeah, little handbrake there, and he's on it straight away, like early.
But where did it go wrong?
No, he comes out of here, watch.
Look, it was this transition.
Yeah, boom, big
and he mistimed
It's
it.
completely in the wrong area of the track altogether. So, I mean, that's not even the most
Because look, he
difficult part.
dials on the angle, misses that outside zone, and then he knows he has to transition, and he's like, it's nowhere right.
No, he knew it, he would know himself. He'd be like, what am I doing over here? This is the wrong place.
This is the wrong place, yeah.
But it doesn't, I think he's safe for the show, although he'll have a big competitor up against him if he stays in 29th. Which he will. He improves by 1 but stays where he is. So 29th means he will go up against one of the top qualifiers. Tough start to the day for Pontus Hartman, and it mightn't have been that way if he just held his breath a little, or held his nerve a little bit more. I held my breath. he should have held his nerve.
Well, Kevin Piscotty, the Hungarian driver, now sits on the line. 82. He is 15th position at the moment. He's comfortable. This is a guy that's just been growing and growing and growing in this championship.
Don't be surprised.
Every round, if he comes out now and throws down a 90-point run.
Don't be surprised if this is the big score. Piscotty fires a big, huge angle. That doesn't even make sense through that first corner. But he makes it work and gets the inner zone. This is definitely the most. Little wheel drop, holds it together. There's flames. This thing is going on, but he gets the line. It's almost the most unorthodox, flary run we've seen from anybody today, and he's doing a good job here, Kevin Piscotty. He's doing it all opposite but right at the same time, which doesn't make any sense as he gets that outer zone. Absolutely, that's probably the most, I would say, ludicrous run we've seen today.
That's the wildest run we've seen in qualifying.
There was a lot going on there.
There was a lot. The initiation, look at this.
I don't know how he managed to.
No right to throw that down at that angle.
It's the most angle we've seen anyone throw at that corner all day.
If it wasn't for the wheel drop, I think this could have been what we'd hyped it to have been.
It's barely a wheel drop. He does make it work, but way early on the handbrake there.
It made him transition. Yeah. That was the problem. And then he was all out of gear, and you could hear the car on the rev limiter. He had no more wheel speed to go, so he had to handbrake to extend it.
But then he just didn't handbrake there. He just left for brakes.
Left for brakes, yeah.
It's going to be tough in the battles because he's doing things in unusual places that make it actually work, which I'm not sure a chase driver is going to expect or anticipate, which is not a disadvantage, it's an advantage.
Yeah.
Because he's being braver in areas than other people are. I'm looking forward to the battles now.
Tomorrow.
Kevin Piscotty, I'll tell you what, another 82, so he equals his first score, and to me that is impressive with that error. So it goes to show how much he would have been rewarded if he didn't drop that wheel and transition a little too early. So that's an 82 and an 82.
But hold your horses.
Yeah, this is the big one now, because the championship very much for Jack Shannon probably hinges in the next minute and a half. Because if he doesn't qualify here today, he is way out in the mix, and he's got to qualify here because it's Jack Shannon. Last year put a 99 on the board, but Shanahan this year has a 0 on the board right now. All the pressure on, and he's got to make this absolutely perfect. He's going to go for probably a safer run, but it's not safe. He's going right to the edge of the circuit. He's got to adapt to that as he throws down very early handbrake from Shanahan as he transitions onto the inside of the zone very fast through that section, and he gets out to that perfect line there as he comes through that complicated twisty section at the end as he gets out to that outer zone. And this is where Shanahan will have no issues getting across the line. I think that's enough to get him in the show. Where that score falls, I have no idea. There was moments of brilliance, there was a couple of errors, I have no idea. Very fast though.
Very fast, very fast. The initiation for me was on point. Look at this, gets the wheel spinning straight away, flicks the car across the circuit, straight on throttle, no messing around. He got the car set up and hardly any input on the steering wheel. This though, just inches too wide. And it made him transition where he didn't really want to transition, hence the handbrake into that outside zone.
Probably a pretty big.
You can watch, as soon as he drops the wheel, he's like, I have to transition. There is no other option. And then you can see how far back he handbrakes for.
Yeah, I think he's going to know that's a little error.
Yeah.
But he does well to recover from that point and get back on the line.
He certainly
doesn't
does.
let it affect numerous zones. It only affects that
one zone, and
which goes to show the experience he has at, and I'm not going to say experience at making mistakes, but experience at recovering
from a mistake,
mistakes. But yeah, I mean, is it going to be the top qualifying run? I'm not so sure about that. I think it'll be an improvement, but I don't see it being a trouble for the guys at the top.
No, I don't either. And there we go. Score drops in 80 for Jack Shanahan, 19th position. He's in the show. That is it. Everybody else now, from now on out, is in the show. And he'll have a sigh of relief. Both the Shanahans in the show, but work to be done overnight. I wonder if Jack's feeling the pressure, or maybe the car isn't 100% for him this weekend.
I'm not sure. I mean, we've always watched Jack Shannon do very well in qualifying.
Yeah.
And then, sometimes the battles, he doesn't get all the way there. Maybe it's an opposite this weekend. He goes on, doesn't do well in
Maybe he
qualifying.
does one or the other.
Yeah, and he won the event last year, so you can't count him out. Next up, Dwayne McKeever. He is going to absolutely tear into this track. 86 on the board from his first run. He is a qualifying. He's spinning the wheels on the way up here. Absolutely firing into that first corner goes Dwayne McKeever as he puts foot to floor in that RB28. Screaming, he's going to go very wide here, but he makes it work. A little bobble, but it doesn't affect him as much as you would think. There's a little wide, drops the wheel off the circuit there as well. There's a couple of errors creeping in, but it is very fast, it's very aggressive, and it's very Dwayne McKeever right now. Oh, what a big wash and a shutdown.
Oh. You know what? On the transition, I thought I heard that car cough and splutter and not want to do anything.
They said they had issues with the fuel pump on that car, so maybe they're not quite solved. And that is an incomplete for Dwayne McKeever. It will be a 0 on the board for his second run, but his first run was an 86, so 9th is as good as he'll score.
I was trying to see if you could hear it, but there is no sound from this part. I mean, again, another wheel drop. You can see the way it made the car react.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good run, not a great run up to this point, but as he transitioned, you just see the smoke cloud from the rear of the car just completely disappear here. And when he went back on throttle, there wasn't much, there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing, no power whatsoever. Car shuts down, maybe an ECU trying to save the engine, something going amiss, fuel pump dying or something happening to try, and I think he'll be happy with that considering he already has the score in the bag. He doesn't, if it was a one and done run, he would be unhappy, but I think at this point he'll be happy that he got through qualifying. And remember, these guys will go back to the pits, they'll adjust all of these cars, and some will be busier than others getting things ready for tomorrow. But you can see, is that a bird? That's a bird.
That's
just
a bird.
flying around.
Yeah.
Majestically behind
the drone.
Trying to probably capture the drone. That could be interesting. So we're going to go down and have a quick word with Becky. Becky's with Jack Shannon. That was a nervy second run, Becky. He had to get it done, and he did.
Absolutely, Dave. He did get it done. You got an 80. You're in the show, Jack. But I know, looking at your face right now, it wasn't an easy run. Can you walk us through it?
Yeah, just the nerves got the better of me. I don't know what the story is. I don't know, practice been so smooth, then I was kind of too chilled out, and then I kind of started stressing about qualifying, and at least we're in. I think it's probably the worst I've qualified in about 5 years, so I'm not happy at all, but it is what it is. We can go through the car, I can relax, get my head in the game for tomorrow and see what we can do then, but yeah, the run was just sketchy, to be honest, I didn't think it was enough. I made the dirt trap and stuff, it was just a disaster from start to finish. I felt it just didn't feel right, but it was all my own doing, I guess, so we'd have to take it on the chin and go again tomorrow.
Jack, you're very hard on yourself, but at least you got that run and you're in the show. These are all positives. But this round for you is normally a very good one. Last year, it was a perfect event. But what is it about this track that can catch some drivers out?
It's just because it's so fast, and the cars are so hooked up now these days, on the initiation, the cars are so, well, my car is so sketchy anyway, the minute you flick and you snap the lock, anything can happen, because you're going so fast, one little mistake and that's kind of it, so, yeah, and obviously with the sun melting in our eyes, that's kind of why I dropped the wheel that time, I think, because I was concentrating on where the sun was going to be when I got to the point there, and then I just kind of wasn't focusing on where I was going on the track and dropped the wheel, so, to be honest, I was lucky I held it when I dropped the wheel. It kind of shot me, it just kind of steadied it up and got back on the handbrake and stuff, but yeah, to be honest, I probably would have knocked myself out because it was just shit. So, yeah, it is what it is.
Thank you so much, Jack, and good luck in your battles tomorrow. They've got a long night ahead of them to get Connor's car all sorted. As you can see behind me, the engine is on its way out, so good luck to that team. It's going to be a long one for them. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Becky. Great to have the insight from behind the scenes. And Jack Shannon disappointed with an 80.
It was the squishy bit between the seat and the steering wheel that let it down.
Yeah, and it goes to show that as experienced and as he is, he still can make mistakes.
Can you hear the cheers?
I can hear the cheers. You know why I can hear them? Laurie Hyman.
Right, let's talk about this quickly before I initiate, Dave. Second place in the championship, higher qualifier than the leader of the championship, Laurie Hyman, and nothing to lose right now, Dave. He's absolutely flying. Look at the line. He's right to the edge of the circuit. Laurie Hyman with a snappy transition. He makes it work. Big handbrake drag. The judges are going to penalise him for that, but nevertheless, he absolutely hooms through the circuit. The widest line, the cleanest line right now. Laurie Hyman, one more outside zone to go. He stands on the accelerator. The Finnish fans raise the roof, and Dave Egan, Laurie Hyman is here to party this year.
The funny thing about him is that, again, he doesn't make many mistakes. And again, another run where, look, I know it's qualifying. Let's just forget qualifying for a minute. If the guy can put 2 of those runs together back to back, this is what the threat is tomorrow.
Yep.
He's not 190 run, 160 run. He's on it from practice this morning right to his second qualifying run. He looks like he's comfortable. It looks like the car is well capable of this track. That's a phenomenal run. There's a couple of things that maybe might take it all the way to 100, but it's not far off. It's not far off exceptional. I think it's going to be... Is it enough to beat his own score?
I think it is. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to put my neck on the line and say that is...
91 plus?
91 plus.
Big statement for Wiancek if that is the case, because Wiancek has got to do something incredible. I mean, Wiancek is in second place.
The only thing you can take away from that run and critique it is the fact that... Oh my God, are you serious?
You are absolutely wrong. It was exactly the same as the first run, Ian.
The only critique is the handbrake in the outside zone.
Well, you talk about consistency, right? Exactly the same score in qualifying, 91-91. And that's going to worry this man, Peter Wiancek, because he's got 90 in the bag. He, I think, will be happy with that. He knows he's going into a very strong position tomorrow. But what he really wants to do is scare off Laurie Hyman here by putting in a monstrous run. Something that fear distills into every driver on the grid, and he's got to go for it here. He has nothing to lose. Big speed from Wiancek on the first corner as he hits that harder than anyone so far and faster than anyone so far. Absolutely lighting the back tyres off this S15 as he transitions through, but a little early, and he's made a little error there as he comes through. It's bleeding some points there as Wiancek transitions a little too early, and as he goes to the outside zone, I think he's going to have to settle with that 90 from the first run as the better of his 2 runs, but it's still a high score. But are we going to see Laurie Hyman now mount a charge towards this top of the championship, out qualifying the current leader? It looks that way to me for a vision. I don't know the score, but it looks to me that Wiancek doesn't have that inch perfect run there, and I think he's overdriven the car. He's gone a little too hot, too hard on it.
I think it was the transition. I think it was the transition coming out of that second outside zone. I think he threw the car on an angle, and then he knew that it kind of checked himself up a little bit, and to make that outside zone, watch this, watch the way he flicks the car. It's lovely, don't get me wrong, but it's too much angle, and then he has to dial it off, and he's on the handbrake.
But he corrects perfectly though, but he does correct perfectly, and I think he doesn't make a massive error, so I'm thinking it's still going to be a good score, but it might not. I don't know. Laurie Hyman, will Laurie Hyman out-qualify Peter Wiancek here, which means that the race is on. Because you do get championship points for qualifying. So I don't know where we sit after this. It's only minor points compared to the battles, but it will make a difference if Heinen out-qualifies Wiancek to climb back up towards the first place in the championship. And we go into tomorrow with it all poised and ready. We've got the Shanahans struggling in, but that doesn't really matter because they've done that before in one event. We've got Rovan Perez sitting at the moment in 4th position. He's just going to come through the whole pack of drifters as a rally driver and win the whole thing.
Destroy everyone.
You don't know. So it's an 82, and we expected it, but I said it's Laurie Hyman. This is the man right now against Wiancek. Wiancek and Hyman trading blows, 91 and 90. That's the fight. That's the story. And the Finnish fans are up there, and they're willing them all the way.
I mean, I have no words. I have no words. We've watched Laurie Hyman evolve as a driver, but now his moment has come alive. This is it, Dave. The qualifying result list is up on the screen. First place, Laurie Hyman with 2 back-to-back 91s. Wiancek takes second place with a 90. Oren Nilsson in third. Rovan Perez on his first round here comes in with an 89, Dave.
Yeah, and Jakub Pszczonski solid on both runs, well in 5th position. Rintanen showing experience, counts for a lot in 6th position, and Sherba in 7th. McKeever into 9th position. You can see as we go through it, these are the drivers. Conor Shanahan into 16th place, right in the middle of the mix there with just one run to get it done. Reichardt, very impressive, up in 13th. Jack Shannon, interesting to see him and Nakamura and Zalewski down the bottom end of the pack. That's interesting. And Ali McSheed scrapes in there on his debut in the championship. Dylan Garvey with no clutch at 25th. Karkoshik gets in, and Correa at 27 and 28. And you can see Alfred Grinrod just getting in there. Mika Kespikorpi just outside and not making it. These are the drivers we won't see tomorrow, but they've had all their own issues and their own problems through that qualifying session. It's a very interesting game now, where we see Laurie Heinen coming from relative obscurity last year to now challenging Wiańcek in qualifying. He's taken a little bit out of the sails and the wind out of the sails of Wiańcek here, but Wiańcek, I mean, we say this every time, and then he wins every event, so it doesn't matter. And Laurie Heinen will start against a rookie in Greinberg at the first round. Look at that, Shanahan Zalewski as the second battle out. That's one to look for. We've got Kalle Rovanperä against Victor Weitmark in there as well. Take a look through it. Randalou Nakamura, Wiańcek, Alex Halovnia. They're big battle for Wiańcek in the top 32, as Nielsen and Hartman, both on form, go up against it as well. There is a lot of huge battles lying on. Pascalti against Jack Shanahan. That 32 to me looks like a top 8 everywhere you look. And I think the championship, which we are so early into, will be dictated by the actions tomorrow, because it's all the same. It doesn't matter if you win the final or not. Every battle counts for the same amount of points, and we will kick things off back tomorrow with our top 32. And we've got to go down to Becky, having a word with Peter Wiańcek. Becky is the current reigning champion. He won round 1, but Laurie Heinen is coming for him tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely, Dave. It's been a good day for Mr. Peter Wiańcek. He's just got out of the car, sorted his curls out, and he's ready for the interview. Second place with a 90. Very good, but Mr. Laurie Heinen is becoming a problem for you, isn't he?
It's good, it's exciting. You know, I'm very happy for today. I'm just focusing on the qualification, and it wasn't perfect. It was that we went with a few mistakes, but overall second place. I'm happy with that, and now we need to focus on the preparation for tomorrow. Can't wait to see the bracket, and excited overall.
And how is the car looking? Because I know you had a couple of problems this morning. You actually had to switch the spare car. So is this one running sweet now?
Yeah, after changing gearbox, it's running sweet. So, so far so good. I can't complain. I think we are ready for tomorrow. Just a few more adjustments, and let's go from there.
Perfect. Good luck in your battles tomorrow. As we were talking about, Dave, this track seems to throw up so many issues with the cars because it is full throttle and it's taken its toll. I mean, you can hear there Peter Wiańcek's changing a gearbox. We're coming over here. You can see Connor, his engine, all the accessories are off it now. They're just preparing to take out the block. So these guys are going to be working full throttle all evening to get this car back on the grid tomorrow. You see Dad is getting involved there, taking off the pulleys. It's always a family affair when you come over to the Shanahans. Absolutely. So they're going to be busy doing that. Coming over to Dylan Garvey. Now, as you saw, he had clutch problems. He's currently looking around the pits to see if he can find a clutch plate for this. So at the moment, you can see they are all running around trying to find some parts. And that's the great thing about drifting. Everybody pulls together and they help each other out. So I'm sure that he'll get it fixed and put it on the grid for tomorrow. Now, if Dwayne is here he is. He's right here. Dwayne, I heard that you had a little problem, but it actually wasn't that serious. We were worrying it was going to be engine trouble, but it was just a bolt in the gear selector.
Literally, as I was trying to go back to second, usually for the last corner, I was like, why will this not go back in? And then at that stage I gave up. I goes, no, it's too late, I've messed up. I went back to third and the gear stick was just flapping about, so literally a bolt come out. So it's as simple as that.
That's great that it's only a simple problem, because I know it's been quite the road to get you here at Drift Masters. You actually had a fundraiser to get your car to this round and the rest of the season, so it's really exciting to have you here.
Yeah, really so happy to be back on the grid this year, and thanks to all my sponsors and especially Drift Games, and they've all got me here. It's unbelievable. The support I got was unbelievable, so I'm so happy. I didn't have the best practice sessions this morning, so whenever I got one practice or one qualifying run down, I was just happy with what and even whenever that happened in my second run, I wasn't even that annoyed. I was like, oh well, I'm in. I don't care. I'll try and push a bit harder than my horn.
Brilliant, and good luck in your battles tomorrow. It's always good to see smiling faces. Obviously, this sport is extremely hard on our cars, so they're going to be working for the rest of the evening. But what a fantastic qualifying session. We have Laurie Heinen, who's becoming a big cat amongst the pigeons for our championship contenders. Peter Wiensek in second place, and Oren Nielsen. I mean, what a comeback. Last year, he had one of the biggest moments that we saw in 2022, and he's back. He's in third position, and as I said, more smiles on faces. So, guys, make sure you join us here tomorrow. We're going to be live with our top 32 at 1:45 p.m, all live on Red Bull TV. Make sure you join us, strap in for the action. It's going to be a big one. Take care.